Who could imagine this? The room is in complete silence. Only the computer light is on. He passed out after work. He was having a beer and gaming like he always does. But when he woke up, he realized he was no longer in his room. He was inside the game world. The girl with silver hair screams for the enclosure to be careful. She warns that even stronger demons are surrounding them on all sides. With red eyes, the tough guy declares he will take care of everything. He charges forward with his weapon. He dives off the cliff like a meteor of fire. He heads straight for the horde of monsters below. The tough guy lets out a war cry. He brings his heavy blade down hard on the stone monster. The creatures with red eyes bare their teeth. They glare back, full of bizarre fury as they try to withstand the blow. The tough guy's strike is so powerful it cleaves the stone monster in half, opening a crack of light that splits the giant apart. The impact is brutal. It shatters the creature's body, scattering rock fragments everywhere as it is obliterated. The pieces of the giant tumble down heavily. They hit the ground with a loud thud, spreading debris all around. What remains on the ground is pure chaos. The remains of the creature are mixed with blood among the rocks and smoke. Amidst the dust and the fierce wind, the warrior stands alone in the center of the crater. He is exhausted, hunched over, trying to catch his breath. A sinister red aura still burns around his body. The warrior remarks that the demonic realm is no joke. He had to face high-level demons right from the start. With a focused look, he admits that the path to the great demon will be much harder than he imagined. That said, he already feels the weight of the situation as the fire burns in the background. They look at the chaos and know they will get a huge scolding from Melissa because of this mess. The warrior faces the destruction head-on. His aura shines intensely as he firmly holds his axe in front of the fire. Amidst all this chaos, Melissa lets out a desperate scream calling for Kadim. The bitter Melissa appears, full of swagger, berating them and saying she warned them not to go out, running alone like this, while tightly holding his weapon. The armored warrior simply calls her name, Melissa. The blue-caped warrior charges fiercely against the stone monsters in his path. His gaze is serious. Holding his weapon, we discover he is the hero. Gale warns them to save the scolding for after the fight. The top priority now is to deal with these monsters. As she prepares her flame, the redhead wonders how Gale can be such a perfect hero. It's frustrating. The girl with silver hair offers a prayer. She asks for the fighting spirit of Atala to accompany the group. A mystical light shines between her hands. She confesses she is worried about Mr. Kadim. She feels he is being too hard on himself for everyone else. He should take better care of himself. A heavy impact crushes the monster's head. It shatters everything with absurd force. The man in golden robes appears with his hammer. He tells Cyril not to worry too much. He stays calm amidst the destruction. Gordon reassures the girl. He says Kadim must have his reasons. Cyril admits he might be worrying unnecessarily. He suggests they first finish off the monsters, then talk to Kadim. Cyril likes the idea. From above, Kadim watches the monsters being swept away by explosions. He introduces himself as Kadim as the whole group gets ready for battle. The guy keeps it real. He is the vanguard of the heroes group. He is entirely focused on defeating the great demon. In addition, he is the great warrior of Atala, the god of combat and the wild nature. And here's another detail. He drops the bombshell that he is a transmigrated being in this game. The atmosphere changes completely with the weight of this new reality. The main story of this game is quite simple. No complications at all. The place is pure chaos, with rivers of lava cutting through rocks, sharp bridges and lost souls at the bottom of the abyss. A hero receives a divine revelation to defeat the great demon. He gathers his allies and finally conquers evil. The world is infested with bizarre monsters, like dark armored knights and multi-headed creatures that spread terror. A bunch of heads from bizarre monsters, filled with horns and red eyes, they emerge from total darkness. With gruesome smiles and sharp teeth, many would love to venture with these heroes. But for a modern guy, who has never even killed a chicken, facing this endless order is too heavy. A brutish warrior turns into a canteen in one go, liquid spilling over his chest. The reality is that this world is way too bizarre, with lethal monsters appearing from every corner. The guy confronts various demonic creatures. Meanwhile, they are sinister. It's as if, throughout the place, a unique skill appears. The Blood Berserker. If he drinks demon blood, he gains a wicked bonus for a limited time. The guy screams in rage with a red aura on his face, finding it all too cruel. Energy explodes in black and red trails, creating a heavy and dark atmosphere. With glowing red eyes, the guy advances, with stone arms. He thinks he just needs a little more to reach his goal. He continues the massacre, surrounded by a red aura, focused on the idea that everything will be fine if he simply kills everyone in his path. Consumed by hatred, he decides that if things are like this, then this damned world doesn't matter anymore. As he clears a path, with eyes red with fury and covered in blood, he vows to leave it all behind once and for all. He has completely lost it and lets out a maniacal laugh, as this sinister red aura takes over everything around. The beast is now giant, with stone fists and heavy armor, staring down whoever remains on the ground with an intimidating gaze. Among these beasts, he only wants one thing: to get out of this damned world as soon as possible. He wants it to happen soon, even if it's a day early. It has to be as fast as possible. He needs more speed. The shout of "faster" echoes as he plunges deeper into chaos. The guy is insane, standing on top of a mountain of monsters that he himself has destroyed. It's a total massacre under this red sky. The monster is bizarre, with red eyes and sharp teeth. He feels the impact as the sinister red aura takes over everything. The trail of destruction doesn't stop. In the midst of darkness and blood, the swift movement of the one attacking is the only thing that stands out. The creature with horns and red hair. He moves forward with a bizarre smile on his face. The monster with red eyes is caught off guard by a sharp blow to the neck. The guy is furious. He starts shouting at the demons, screaming that he will devour them all. As he crushes the enemy with a sinister look, he promises to finish each one of them off. Completely out of control, he emits a strange scream. He warns that he will drink the last drop of blood from that wretch. He crushes Kadim with a giant stone hand while screaming her name. Amidst the chaos, an intense light descends from the sky. They scream desperately for Kadim to stop and wake up once and for all. With his face transformed and red eyes, he stares into the void. Someone whispers his name in shock, confronted by his new appearance. Almost out of strength, she murmurs the name Kadim as a light shines in her chest. Kadim transforms into a giant under the lights, leaving the girl on the ground stunned by such power. Kadim, fully transformed and bleeding, extends his hand and tries to call Melissa's name. Seeing that bizarre claw, the shock is complete. It's hard to believe what is happening. The warning from the Berserker skill appears. Drinking demon blood gives a buff, but the demon energy slowly corrodes sanity. He wonders if he has reached the level of not recognizing his own friends. That phrase, once just a description of the game, has become a sinister reality. The guy is in the middle of a total massacre, surrounded by monsters and bizarre energy. The trail of destruction shows that he has lost control. Now that the game has turned real, it has become a madness that eats away at his mind and consumes him entirely. He feels like he is losing control. The demon blood, which once was disgusting, now has a sweet taste to him. He stares at his own reflection in the red water, and realizes that things have changed forever. This thirst for blood is driving him insane. It's getting harder to hold on to sanity that explodes out of nowhere, and without warning. He wonders if he can stay lucid until they finish off the big demon. The reflection in the blood only confirms that his time is flying. If he doesn't get a grip and ends up losing it, what will become of him? He needs to act soon. Before madness takes over completely, his focus is one thing: to end the great demon. He repeats to himself that he must kill them all. No one can be left alive. The thirst for blood is bizarre. He wants to kill and devour everyone, but the girl's scream in his back brings him back. Cadinho. The trail of blood cuts through the air. It shows that the damage was severe. Even though she is hurt, she says she is fine. She tells him not to blame himself. He protected everyone all this time. Now it's their turn to protect her. Carrying the girl on his back, Kadim apologizes to Melissa. He walks through the rubble, calling for Kadim. The ally assures him that she and Gordon will do everything to help. They will keep him from getting lost in all this madness. Gordon warns that Kadim also needs to fight against the madness. He must protect himself until the end. He cannot let the chaos take over his mind. With a smile, the big guy tells him not to worry. If needed, he will bring his friend back to sanity with a beating. Gordon asks if they have already rested. He steps among the flesh. He warns that if the break is over, it's time to move out. While Kadime prepares, carrying the ally on his back, the blonde in armor extends his hand. He says they need to defeat the great demon together to save the world. Kadime is all broken and bleeding. He carries the girl. As he sees the outstretched hand, they seal the agreement. They continue their journey even with their bodies and minds wrecked by exhaustion. After a long time, the journey finally reaches a crucial point. The blonde screams with all his might for Cadinho's name. His expression is desperate. The red-eyed guy thrusts the spear with all his strength, catching the opponent by surprise. The red-haired monster is shocked. It loses its voice from the precise impact. The warrior spins menacingly with his weapon. A hurricane of fire strikes the dark creature head-on. The blonde looks up, exhausted, and lets out a sigh. He says it finally happened. The red-furred beast freezes in shock when something dark explodes from its neck. A sinister impact pierces everything with force, destroying what it encounters. The girl in the red cloak watches the trail of destruction. As the sound of the wind echoes through the desolate place, she clutches a huge book. Her gaze is lost. She wonders if it is all truly over now. Suddenly, a heavy hand rests on the girl's shoulder. It brings some comfort in that scene of destruction. The man in white says calmly that, by the grace of Elga, it seems the worst has finally passed. The redhead looks shocked. She barely finishes her sentence. She feels that it has really ended. But then a light appears out of nowhere. It startles her completely, leaving her speechless. The light brightens everything. It reveals them standing in the middle of that rocky, empty path. Supported on the ground and confused, one question arises. What is happening? The girl with white hair screams in despair. She wants to know where Mr. Kadim is. Heavy steps shake everything. A giant, dirty silhouette appears behind a massive weapon. The blonde lets out a desperate shout. He tells Kadim to stop right now. He does not understand how someone wants to enter that place without knowing what is inside. Kadim freezes and falls silent, just standing there. He slightly turns his face. His serious look shows he is processing what was said. He breaks into a little smile and speaks the truth. It was an honor to be there with everyone, truly, and not just through a screen. He says goodbye, referring to the group as his comrades. The silhouette moves away. A hand tries to reach out, while someone shouts for Kadim to act now. A cry of no echoes. The light explodes in front of the hand, trying to grasp everything. His hand falls, powerless. His body tumbles down the rocky slope, testing only a weak glimmer that vanishes in the darkness. He drops to his knees, his clothes tattered. He feels the full impact against the stone ground. Alone, at the edge of the cliff, he watches beams of light pierce through the heavy clouds. Silence takes over. Fallen and weak, the white-haired man can only whisper the name, Kadim. Someone moves away in the darkness, leaving only a trail of glowing footprints. The sound of footsteps echoes in the emptiness. Those strange lights continue to mark the path. The man realizes that nothing has changed. The darkness remains exactly as it was when he crossed it the first time. The guy becomes thoughtful. He plans what he will do first as soon as he can return. He decides that his priority is a cold beer. After that, he just wants to sleep like a rock. The guy swears he will never touch a medieval fantasy game again. He feels bad for not being able to say a proper goodbye to his friends. He understands he needs to face reality. He will never see any of them again. Kadim, the great warrior of Atala, is gone forever. Looking ahead, our protagonist realizes that this is the way back to reality. He believes that by crossing this door, he will finally be free. But something bizarre happens. He jumps with wide eyes and sweating cold. He lets out a nervous laugh. He wonders if this is just a dream, because it cannot be happening for real. His face is soaked with sweat, and he shows a bizarre smile, completely in shock. He seems to have lost his grasp on reality with what he just saw. A bright cross appears in the darkness, intensifying the tension of the moment. He laughs out of nowhere, a bizarre ha-ha, with sweat dripping, and his mind is gone. He loses control and emits a strange ha-ha-ha, laughing loudly with his whole body shaking. An absurd flash bursts out of nowhere, lighting up the darkness with an intense energy. He bursts out laughing as New Game Plus appears, signaling that a new beginning is coming. The system announces that the game is rebooting, and a bright light takes over everything. The flash finally fades, giving way to a clear blue sky with a few scattered clouds. The view opens up to an immense green valley, with mountains on the horizon and stone cliffs. Everything seems to have returned to normal in this new beginning. A crowd is walking down a dirt road. In front, a knight leads the group, followed by several soldiers and a bunch of people who seem to be an escort. The sound of metal clanking accompanies each step. The hands of these people are all chained in iron cuffs, making it clear that they are prisoners on this journey. The march continues with the guards watching. The sound of chains echoes down the dirt road. One guy shouts that he is innocent and blames the baker's son. Meanwhile, the old man admits that he only stole a bronze ring, and he didn't even know he had a silver necklace there. The guard loses patience with the chatter. He shouts, telling the prisoners to shut up for once. They only click their tongues while the soldier watches every move with his spear ready. The guard grumbles to himself, finding it a drag. This bunch of trash loves to chatter all the time. He is caught off guard when one of them calls him, asking for permission. The prisoner swears he has truly been wronged. The guard loses patience and immediately asks what the prisoner wants now. Desperate, the man swears he never sold demonic items. He insists they set him up. He begs to speak with whoever searched his bag. The guard says nothing, just stares at the prisoner in silence. After hearing all that venting, he vented that sometimes people incriminate the innocent just to inflate their own achievements. The knight on horseback is stunned by the kid's audacity. He admits that even though he's young and doing these crazy things, a sacred knight still commands a lot of respect. He knows that if he falters, his own head is on the line. He bites back his anger at such boldness. The knight asks if the guy is doubting a sacred knight. The man, terrified, denies it right away and says of course not. The soldier tells the man to go back to his place. He assures him that if he is innocent, he will be released without trouble. The man simply accepts and says he understands. He walks away in silence while the guard keeps his eyes on him. It's a pity, but with the sacred knight around, he is unlikely to survive. The best hope is for him to be born with a better status in the next life. The guard decides to change the subject, setting aside the merchant's story for a moment. Soon behind them, the prisoners appear in handcuffs. A common man, looking worn out, followed by a bizarrely muscular giant right behind him. How did they capture this barbarian? The guy is enormous and all shackled in heavy chains. The guards lead the group across the field, the sound of chains clanking with every step. The young man looks around, completely lost, wondering what the hell is happening now. He feels this body is familiar, but he realizes with a heavy weight that all the power he had accumulated before has simply vanished. He senses the madness and guilt. The ones that overwhelmed his mind have vanished completely. Through the message of new game, Moas understands he has restarted the game from scratch. However, he still isn't grasping what's happening. He recalls that the game never began this way in real life. A big muscular guy arrives and greets the bearded man with a casual, "Hey, what's up?" He opens his hand and shows a root or herb he just picked. The chained man offers the root to the big guy. He suggests chewing on it to pass the time as they walk. The young man says nothing, just observing the situation with a serious and suspicious look. The old man shares that some barbarians helped him in the past. The big guy reminds him of those times. He says it's not much, but it's all he has to give back. Even chained, the big guy holds the root the old man gave him. The old man asks how someone that size got captured. The big guy just replies, "I don't know," while continuing to walk in chains. The elderly man accepts the answer and ponders, looking at his new companion. The young man comments that the knights and priests of the empire are too aggressive towards heretics. He thinks that believing in another god shouldn't be a sin. The big guy asks if there really is an empire on the continent, shocking the elderly man for never having heard of the Lucanian Empire. He asks if Lucanian wasn't a kingdom in the center of the continent. The old man explains that he has heard it being called that, but it was a long, long time ago. The young man starts to wonder if he has fallen into a parallel world where things are just a little different from what he knew. As they walk in chains, the big guy asks where they are going. The old man responds that the destination must be the capital of the empire, the holy capital of Lucan. He explains that upon arrival, all prisoners will face the judges of Elga, dark figures waiting for the group. The man warns that he must face the Inquisition. The dark-skinned man even relaxes, relieved he won't be killed right away. The elderly man is shocked and asks what's so relieving about that. The old man warns that the Inquisitors are insane, addicted to torture. For them, a heretic like the young man is just a new toy to play with. He continues, terrifyingly saying they will drive nails into the young man's gums and then pour molten iron, boiling straight up his nostrils. The knight in white armor slams the hammer down on the lord. Without giving the poor man a chance to defend himself, the blow lands squarely. The lord falls to the ground, feeling the full weight of the attack as he gasps for breath. The blonde knight shouts to everyone that anyone who insults a knight of Elga must wash their sins with death. With a smirk, he warns that he has one more thing to say. The sound of hooves striking the ground announces that the knight is approaching closely. On top of his horse, the blonde stares at the big guy and asks if that barbarian caused all this commotion. The knight warns that if the dark-haired man doesn't want to end up like the other, he'd better bow his head and beg for mercy right now. With a mocking grin, the blonde adds that if he begs nicely, he might just walk away with his life. The dark-haired man merely smiles and starts to laugh, unfazed by the guy's pressure. The blonde becomes furious and asks how a mere heretic dares to mock him like this. Losing his patience completely, he screams that this is blasphemy. He charges forward on his horse, pointing his shining spear. The tip of the blue spear gets very close, yet the dark-haired man doesn't flinch, keeping his gaze fixed on the weapon about to strike his face. The dark-haired man opens a smug smile, showing he has everything under control. The blonde is taken aback and doesn't understand, freezing at that unexpected reaction. Even chained, the dark-haired man clasps his hands together and begins to concentrate a bright blue energy between his palms. The blonde lets out a groan of pain and starts to tremble violently on his horse. He becomes desperate and screams to be set free, grinding his teeth in pure agony. The dark-haired man responds with a "since you insist," and firmly grips the tip of that shining weapon. He uses his brute strength to push the knight, causing the horse to rear and leaving the blonde completely unbalanced. Overcome with rage, the blonde calls the man a heretic bastard and roars that he will give him the final judgment right there. The blonde's eyes widen and he begins to sweat profusely, completely losing his former composure. The dark-haired man leaps high and comes crashing down on the knight, seizing the chance to deliver a heavy aerial attack. A coffee humano =browser code to =browser code. An absurd impact hits the ground. Dust rises as the soldiers watch. The dust settles, revealing the giant kneeling over the knight, who is utterly defeated. Even the warhorse has fallen, unable to withstand that absurd impact. The blonde knight lies completely unconscious in the grass, his armor shattered and unresponsive. The big guy with brown hair stays quiet, observing everything in silence. The blonde knight tries to rise, furious. He calls the man a filthy heretic and questions how he dared. The blonde knight is outraged that someone had the audacity to harm a sacred knight. The brown-haired man realizes that, as a sacred knight, the blonde wouldn't die from that blow, even as a novice. The tip of the spear glimmers against the blue sky as it is raised high. The blonde lifts the spear with all his strength, leaving the big guy in shock. The giant freezes, unable to finish his sentence due to sheer surprise. The blonde invokes Elga, the master of eternal light, making a grand display with this summoning. On a pillar of light, the blonde asks for permission to finish off that lackey of filthy demons. With a furious look, he warns that he will judge his opponent as a heretic, in the name of Elga. The blonde releases an immense energy, preparing his spear for the attack. With total focus, he charges forward, moving like lightning toward his foe. The brown-haired man freezes up, feeling that the blow is something absurd. He looks at the incoming attack and admits he cannot dodge. The blonde, clad in white armor, goes all in and dives straight into that flash of light. He brings the heavy spear down, hitting the man and sending chains flying. The impact carves a path into the ground, throwing the man far away and destroying a wooden cart. The blonde knight simply watches the devastation from a distance, but the giant does not give up. He stares at the knight and clutches his chest, where a blue energy starts to glow intensely. The knight in white armor is stunned to see that the giant is still alive after that heavy attack. He walks toward his opponent and states the truth. The man's resistance is as brutal as his appearance, even with reset abilities and only the blood berserker remaining. The guy can't believe he's struggling against a guy like this. He looks at his trembling hand. He thinks that if he at least had a low-level demon there, he wouldn't be suffering so much. He wonders how to get out of this. A strange smell starts to emerge in the air. He freezes when he smells the blood. He questions if it's what he's thinking. Heavy footsteps echo on the dirt floor as someone approaches with total confidence. The knight in white armor recognizes the barbarian's strength. He warns that the barbarian's path ends here. Even with a smile on his face, the blonde in armor says that the enemy must receive the forgiveness of God Elga through death. But his bravado fades immediately. He is in total shock at what he sees. The blonde covers his nose, feeling nauseated, and asks what that horrible smell is. He remains bothered while the brute lets out a strange laugh. The blonde makes a sound of disgust. He asks if the brute exhaled before dying, since he won't stop laughing. With a smile on his face, the giant gets real. The god Elga they adore seems to have chosen him, not the rookie knight. The giant unleashes all his strength in a brutal blow. smashing the wooden surface with a dry, violent impact. He holds up the decapitated head of a green monster by its hair. He displays the bloody creature, with its tongue out and a completely lifeless gaze. The armored warrior watches the monster's head he just tore off, covering his face as blood still drips to the ground. Up close, the guy's physique is absurd, highlighting an X-shaped scar right in the middle of his chest, glowing with an intense blue light. They exhale in relief, keeping a confident little smirk on their faces. The guy lifts the massive head of the monster by its hair, his eyes shining as blood drips down. He squeezes the monster's head with his hands, crushing the skull. Blood from the beast splatters all over his neck and clothes, staining everything. After the blow, the guy raises the decapitated head and drinks the blood pouring from it. He gulps it down, getting messy in the midst of that red aura. Silence fills the place. The knight in golden armor and the soldiers only watch. They stared at the scene completely in shock. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. The blonde knight felt disgusted. He could not comprehend that the guy had drunk demon blood. He thought the guy had lost his mind. He said the man was too filthy to even get close. The knight shouted, calling one of the soldiers. The soldier stuttered in fear. He pointed his spear and ordered his subordinate to finish the job. He demanded to end that filthy scum once and for all. The brute with a red aura held a severed head. The soldier approached but hesitated completely, trembling in terror. The soldier stammered, "Die," as he tried to confront the monster. The soldier went all in with the spear. He screamed for the monster to die, but the guy's giant hand already locked onto his face. The hand began to crush everything. It squeezed hard, shattering the soldier's face in a shower of blood. Desperate, the soldier begged for mercy while being held by his face as if he were nothing. The soldier stuttered, pleading for pity while being held firmly by the neck. The hand crushed the man's face as he attempted to plead one last time. Under the brutal pressure, the blonde soldier totally went into shock. He was paralyzed by the fear of what he was seeing. With a red gleam in his eyes, the man crushed the soldier's head with his hand. The man realized it was only an inferior demon. The effect was merely a bonus of strength, but for him that was enough to escape this cursed procession. With red eyes, he shouted at the top of his lungs that this power was more than sufficient. He let out an insane scream as the red aura exploded. It showed that things were about to get serious. The guards were in shock. One of them even choked in fear, trembling under the pressure. The mustached soldier was sweating cold. He could not finish his sentence, stuttering from pure dread. Finally, he screamed, calling the guy a monster while desperately backing away. The other soldiers just watched the chaos unfold. Their spears fell to the ground, clattering as they abandoned the fight. General panic took over. I shouted, "Run!" My voice echoed, making everyone flee as fast as possible to save their own skins. The commander yelled for no one to retreat. He ordered everyone to form ranks and capture the prisoner. Since the guy is unarmed and all bruised up, trying to contain the panic, he threatens, "Anyone who flees now will be punished severely under military law." The blonde watches intently. He calculates that he just needs a few more spear strikes to finish off the enemy. Suddenly, the prisoner reacts with a brutal blow. The soldier stumbles as blood gushes out. The armored soldier slides harshly across the ground, kicking up dust upon impact. The blonde lets out a groan of pain. He braces himself on the spear to avoid collapsing on the ground. He looks at the remains on the floor. He wonders if that is really the head of the demon. Cold sweat begins to bead on his forehead. Heavy thuds echo all around. His eyes widen in shock, paralyzed by what he just witnessed. A bizarre giant with glowing red eyes charges forward, shaking the ground with each heavy step. The armored blonde cries out for Elga, the master of eternal light. With shining eyes, he asks for permission to annihilate that traitorous servant of the demon as his agent. The guy becomes completely consumed by rage. His eyes shine with sinister power. He orders the monster to fly away, hitting with incredible force, shining brightly as he dominates the battle with his sword. The blonde charges in, screaming with hatred that this strike is for Elga. The impact is heavy, causing an explosion of light. A sinister shadow with red eyes emerges behind him. The blonde declares that it's the end for the barbarian. He tells him to ask for forgiveness from Elga in the next life. But suddenly, a dark voice cuts him off, calling him a novice. The barbarian resurfaces, covered in blood, asking if that's all the blonde has. The guy goes into shock, trembling and sweating cold. He lets out a whimper of dread. The blade strikes his muscular arm with force, making blood spurt as flesh is brutally pierced. Even all beaten up, the dark-haired man concentrates bizarre red energy in his fist. He prepares a heavy counterattack against the knight. The strike lands hard and sends the blonde flying. Blood and shards fly everywhere from the absurd force of the impact. The sound of blows echoes through the sky as the beating continues without pause. The dark-haired man mounts the knight and unleashes a flurry of strikes, frenetic, punching the guy on the ground with all her rage. The dark-haired man glares at his opponent with a fist dripping blood. Meanwhile, he hears a desperate plea to stop. With his face swollen and full of blood, the blonde admits he was wrong. He begs for forgiveness just this once. Fallen and battered, the knight stutters, "Please." As the dark-haired man stares at him, he turns his back and walks away. The blonde is left just thanking for being spared. Even beaten and bloodied, the blonde snarls in hatred. He calls the other an ignorant barbarian. He vows to seek revenge for this humiliation. Silence takes over. The weight of that threat hangs in the air as the scene ends. The blonde lies there on the ground trying to catch his breath. He breathes heavily, his face covered in blood. He swears vengeance in the name of Elga. But suddenly, he lets out a surprised, "Huh?" Someone approaches, dragging a weapon on the ground and making a tense noise. The blonde goes into shock upon seeing a giant shadow covering his bloodied body. He groans in pain, trembling uncontrollably. As blood drips down his face, the man mocks him, finding it bizarre. He is still praying for God to lift him at a time like this, while clutching the weapon in his bloody hand. The big guy prepares for the final blow, holding the spear amid a sinister red aura. He wishes for the blonde to meet his damned god in the afterlife, while the poor soul, all bloodied, desperately pleads for more time. "You reckless brat," shouts the bruiser. As the sound of impact cuts through the air, the blonde ends up on the ground, the spear piercing his chest. The job is done. The warrior of the red aura stands tall, covered in the enemy's blood. He remains silent, his face all dirty with blood. Turning around, he sees a group of soldiers coming in his direction. The sound of footsteps echoes already. Panic is everywhere. The soldiers scream desperately for everyone to run away now. As he catches his breath, the man remembers the valuable lesson he learned in his first match. The soldiers run non-stop, completely out of breath, trying to escape. One of them looks back, sweating cold, terrified of being caught. The soldier thinks he is finally safe for making it this far. But his relief lasts only a moment. An arrow pierces his neck, making blood gush out. He collapses instantly. The strike is swift and causes blood to spray everywhere. It hits the guy's body, giving him no chance to defend himself. With his eyes rolling back, he falls backward as the projectile completes its journey through his neck, sealing his fate. The impact is precise, splattering blood all around. The flesh is sliced with a brutality that leaves no room for error. With bodies lying on the ground, the order is clear. Leave no loose ends, ensuring the job is finished completely. Hiding in the bushes, the soldier trembles in fear as he watches the guy standing in the field. Cold sweat drips down his face. He covers his mouth to suppress a whimper, terrified of being caught. The red-haired man turns his blood-stained face, casting a sinister look towards the target. He charges forward with a crimson aura, delivering a sharp strike that slices through the air. The attack rips through the sky like lightning, crashing into the forest with a deafening roar. One of the soldiers falls to the ground, coughing up blood as he struggles to let out a cry of pain, a spear piercing through his neck. Someone calls out to the guy from behind, shouting, "Hey buddy!" The gray-bearded man with handcuffs remarks it was impressive to see him finish off that scumbag of a holy knight. The prisoner tries to make small talk, asking to have the handcuffs taken off. But the guy with the red aura isn't interested in chatting. He throws a powerful punch right to the prisoner's face. The impact is so strong that the prisoner's blood sprays everywhere. In this brutal scene, the onlookers are in complete shock. Everyone is covered in blood, bewildered by what just happened. He steps forward with the red aura, recalling the lesson from his first move. The crowd recoils in fear, stepping back, scared of what's unfolding. With glowing red eyes and a blood-soaked body, he charges ahead, determined to leave no loose ends. Panic reigns, and shock is evident on the faces of those who remain. They watch in horror, eyes wide open, completely paralyzed by the terror of what just transpired. The chained man descends into total panic. Raising his hands, he screams without understanding why this is happening, or what they did wrong. The poor guy begs him to stop, but he just raises the weapon to finish the job, without mercy. The guy tries to stammer a plea for help, but the blade pierces him, without mercy. He stands there, back turned, in silence. That bizarre red aura envelops the area. The guy remains there, surrounded by the bodies of those who crossed his path. The field has turned into a scene of total massacre. Blood is scattered everywhere, under the twilight light. He thinks that if he left the prisoners alive, they could talk. In the worst case, an elite unit of holy knights would be sent just to hunt him down. He can't afford to take that risk. He grips the spear tightly, fully determined not to leave any loose ends behind. The other guy falls into despair and loses his breath. Chained, he can only gasp in fear. The prisoner remains curled up on the ground, trembling from head to toe, holding his own head, completely overwhelmed by the dread of what's to come. He lets out a desperate scream as the threat approaches. The blood on the blade beside him makes it clear that his fate has already been sealed by the executioner. The warrior, covered in blood, stares at the prisoner and warns him that this is the last one. He adjusts the spear with a cold look, ready to settle the score. Then he grips the spear hard and shouts that this is a huge injustice. The blood-soaked warrior looks down at the man. He remains on his knees, trembling in fear. The prisoner panics and begs on his knees, swearing he is innocent and asking to be spared just this once. The young man stares at him coldly and bluntly asks why he should spare his life. The guy cries desperately, saying his family is waiting for him at home. He swears he is innocent and that he was framed. The warrior admits he seems innocent, but keeps it real. That's not a reason to spare anyone. With a cold stare, he tells the guy to die already. The guy panics, stammering, desperately screaming he can be a guide. On his knees and terrified, he pleads with the bloodied warrior, asking if he doesn't need a guide. The warrior looks somewhat confused and asks if the guy really wants to be a guide. The man confirms that he is a merchant from Montana. He knows everything around here. The tough guy then decides to ask some questions. The subject agrees immediately, feeling nervous. The protagonist feels puzzled. He says he remembers Lucanian as a kingdom, not an empire. He asks if it has always been this way or when things changed. The guide is completely confused. He responds with a shocked, "Huh?" The guide thinks, if this barbarian didn't come from the lands beyond the mountains, different from others, this people might have lost contact with the world for centuries. The guy gets irritated. He asks why the guide isn't answering or if he knows nothing. The guide realizes and explains that they are in the year 248 of the imperial calendar, nearly 2.5 centuries after the kingdom of Lucanian became an empire in the hands of the founder. The protagonist finds the new calendar strange. He asks what year it would be in the old counting system. The guide does the math and states it would be the year 1130 in the old system. The protagonist is shocked to see that the calendar he knew is now considered a thing of the past. He begins to fire off questions about the continent, the faith of Elga, and the demonic kingdom. The guide is completely lost, bewildered by so many questions at once. The guide explains that despite Lucanian uniting everything 300 years ago, things have changed. Now the continent is all cracked and divided among three major powers. The faith of Elga took advantage of the chaos to grow and become what it is today. As for the demonic kingdom, no one has ever returned alive from there. So what happens in that place is a total mystery. The guy is blown away by the news. He asks incredulously if it's true that no one has ever managed to return alive from that sinister place. The blonde interrupts his thoughts and calls him by name, gaily. The knight calls for Melissa, the red-haired girl holding a big book. Melissa then calls for Gordon, who seems relaxed with his eyes closed. The young woman with white hair appears serene when the name Sirio is mentioned. She has a shining scar on her chest. Her body is marked by battle. The warrior asks if those names have been heard before. The mustache guy stutters, nervously saying he has never heard of those names. But soon the realization hits and he asks, in shock, "Wait, Melissa?" The dark-haired man feels he has heard that name before. While the other guy is unsure if it was Elisa or Melissa, he is certain he knew someone with that name. He cannot accept that the heroes who defeated the great demon have been forgotten. He wonders if this world is truly a continuation of his first play. The dark-haired man remains silent, just staring into nothing with a serious look. He questions why the demons are taking over everything. But the kneeling guy can only stammer that no one knows the answer. Some people say all this is divine punishment. Uga would have been angry about how much the world has decayed. Others say it's the fault of a crazy archmage who opened a portal to another world. There are those who swear this is a sign that sinister evil will descend upon the world at any moment. But the truth is that only God in heaven knows what is real, as says this chained man. The guy is all wounded and has a blue mark on his chest, but he says nothing. Out of nowhere, the blood-stained sword is driven into the ground with force. The brute walks past, leaving the man behind, confused about what is happening. The warrior stops at the top of the hill and observes the vast valley below. As the sky gains hues of late afternoon, from what the merchant said, he realizes he is on the continent. About 300 years after the first play, it's not enough that he was kicked out of his original world, leaving behind that entire previous life in front of the computer. Now he has been kicked out of the world where he had just settled. To make matters worse, all the knowledge he possesses is hundreds of years out of date, and there are the companions he said goodbye to just a short time ago. To this world now, they are nothing more than a handful of dust. Having to relive all these massacres again is a burden he did not want to carry. Chained and bloodied bodies show that the atmosphere has become heavy for these people. The empty stare and the metal around the neck reveal that for this one it truly was the end of the line. Blood-stained clothes and bodies on the ground show that the massacre here was severe. Finished, he wonders if it is worth continuing to live off demon blood, holding on to sanity in the face of a pillar of light. He wonders what the guarantee is that he will return to reality when he reaches the end of the story. Once again, he fears that some god will bless him with a new game, level 3, and that afterward level 4 will come, trapping him in this cycle forever. He closes his eyes for a moment, exhausted and with his face marked by battle. Even with his body all beaten up, the guy doesn't stop. He grips firmly the pieces of the wooden weapon he just broke. The man with the goatee is startled and completely confused about what is happening. A sharp blade appears out of nowhere and stops right at his neck, shining in the light. The warrior, covered in blood, grips his broken spear tightly and prepares to act. The chained prisoner panics and asks, stammering in fear, what the man intends to do. All hurt, the guy reflects that starting the journey would bring many attachments for him. If it's to find his end, there's no better moment than now. He grips the weapon's handle with his bloodied hands, ready for whatever comes. He just hopes that what comes after death isn't a dead-end room with a game over sign. He slowly closes his eyes, leaving everything behind as silence takes over. The blade cuts his neck, finishing the job as blood runs down the metal. In the middle of nowhere, the question arises, what would he do after defeating the great demon? He stands there, contemplative, considering that maybe he should start teaching some wizards. As a redhead appears carrying a scroll, he finishes the thought, maybe even build a tower or something like that. Out of nowhere, a flash cuts through the darkness, as if everything just made sense. The guy opens his eyes wide, sending that sharp look of someone who already knows what to do. The hurt guy straightforwardly asks if the other has heard the name Melissa. The guy, somewhat scared, confirms that he has. He says he's not sure but thinks that was the name of the first master of the Tower of Wizards. The big guy wants to know where this Tower of Wizards is. The guy, terrified, explains that it's in the city of Vestana, right at the eastern edge of the Alliance of Free Cities. He warns that since they are in the center of the Empire's territory, the journey will be long. Even if they leave now, it will take at least 2 months to get there. The young man stays silent, processing the news of this long journey. He lets out a small smirk. He seems ready for whatever comes next. The redhead grumbles about what she heard. She thinks that bastard won't even let her die in peace. The warrior demands to be taken to the Tower of Wizards by the fastest route. The man panics, saying he has a family to care for. He thinks he can't waste time just being a guide. He grabs the man and says he will offer the most precious thing he has as payment. The guide, trembling with fear, asks what that would be. The warrior looks him in the eye and declares that the payment will be his life. The guide can only scream in pure terror. A blood-stained blade is plunged forcefully into the dirt floor. The brute orders the boy to find the key. He tells him to take off the shackles and grab what he needs quickly. They are about to bail at once. The young man nods, still somewhat shaken. A sword and a wooden staff lie on the ground, ready to be taken. The brute examines the sword and says at least it's usable. It's not a blessed weapon, but he plans to use his unique trait to forge something decent with it. The Holy Knight's spear is the most tempting. However, since it was consecrated by a priest of Elga, it will reject anyone who isn't its rightful owner. The man imagines how nice it would be if he could have brought the axe he used in his first gameplay. It would make his life so much easier right now. Sighing with relief, the guy simply thanks for still being alive as he walks with his backpack. He wonders what his master is doing. The assistant freezes in shock upon seeing that bizarre monster head. Job well done. The items are stowed away, and the sword goes back to its place. The large warrior decides it's time to leave. He announces that they can go. They journey through the open field towards their next destination, the Tower of Wizards. The ground is marked all over while the path through the field remains empty and silent. Several black birds cross the gray, cloudy sky right above them. A body and a severed hand are left behind as crows circle the spear stuck in the ground. The birds begin their feast, one holding a piece of meat in its beak. The soldier observes the body and notes that it took days to appear. Finally, they found Linton Palipus, but the guy was already the knight. He warns that everyone was massacred. From soldiers to prisoners, everyone is dead. He asks what they should do now. Someone calls for Lady Halia, who appears focused in her white and gold armor. He orders Amanda and Aiden to search for any clues. She says they can't just go to the Archbishop and inform him that Linton is dead without more details about what happened. The knight sends someone knowledgeable, but Halia can only think about how stupid Linton was for getting involved in this. Staring at the battle star, she wonders what kind of scum would have the courage to kill a sacred knight, and to think that one of the Archbishop's guys ended up like that, thrown on the ground. He doesn't know what kind of trash did this, but he sends the message. They will pay dearly for what they did. The full moon appears between the dark clouds, lighting up the sky while the atmosphere remains heavy. Below, the dense forest spreads across the overcast sky, keeping that air of mystery amidst the darkness. In the middle of the woods, the warrior rests peacefully by the campfire and his gear. The firewood crackles lightly as the flames gradually fade. In the middle of nowhere, the dark-haired man is still fast asleep, resting his muscular body near the fire in his backpack. The crackling embers are the only sound heard. Near his clothes, one can hear heavy breathing from someone running a mile a minute through the bushes. The commotion doesn't stop, and exhaustion hits hard, with the sound of quick footsteps echoing while the vision blurs. He continues, the wanderer running desperately through the forest, but he lets out a sigh of relief for finally managing to escape. Fear is still etched on his face, and the only thought in his mind is that he needs to disappear from there and go as far as he can. He already felt that fleeing the Empire alone was too dangerous, so finding a travel companion seemed like a good idea. But there is a small problem in this story. In Duncan's mind, this partner is the type who devours demon corpses and massacres dozens of people alone. The guy is a true bloodthirsty monster. He is a barbarian, and from what Duncan has seen in recent days, this guy is sinister. Shivering with fear, Duncan offers jerky and potatoes to the big guy, trying to be nice, but the guy doesn't say anything. He just stands there, in that heavy silence. Donka stammers, asking if he will lie down there. He says he will make a fire to warm up. The big guy continues in total silence, not saying a word. He tries to make small talk about how the guy ended up in the Empire. Then he realizes it's better to stay quiet. The barbarian's silence is frightening. Donka notices that the barbarian hardly opens his mouth and only accepts essential questions. No matter how much he tries to read the guy, he can't figure out his intentions. He feels that the big guy is more of a beast than a person. Living with him is like performing in a circus. It's like sticking your head in a lion's mouth every single day. The workload is a wreck, sweating buckets and barely able to breathe. He reflects that if it were just that problem, he could find a way to manage. But there is a but in this story that complicates everything. The guy looks back with disdain and tells it like it is, complaining that the other is too slow. The merchant is suffering under the weight, outraged by the barbarian's bizarre speed. There he is, boasting about being a traveling merchant, known for being fast and never tiring. The merchant is exhausted, sweating profusely and unable to utter a single word. He points the way, and the barbarian is already gone. When the merchant catches up, the guy says a little something and takes off again. The barbarian stands there, glaring at the merchant with an intense gaze until he arrives. The guy's stare is so tense that it feels like he will crush his skull if he delays. The guide is worn out and thinks that if he weren't the guide, they would already be far away. He wonders if the guy's legs are made of steel, as he is almost collapsing at this pace. The situation is dire. He is sweating heavily and feels like he's going to die if this continues. The guy is sweating cold and only thinks that he needs to find a way to escape soon. Time passes and night falls, with the moon rising to change the mood of the journey. The scene opens in a dense and silent forest, with a giant mountain looming over the dark sky. The guy is desperately running through the woods, completely out of breath and trying to escape from something. He thinks he got lucky earlier than expected. Outside the dark forest, he believes that the pursuer won't be able to follow anymore. track the path he took. Worn out and sweating profusely, he can't handle the pressure. He begins to sob in pure despair. He regrets leaving the backpack behind. Inside it is all his fortune. It has everything. A candle, soap, a blanket, and even an ancient ring that could start a booth in town. Fear takes over. He knows that if he tries to go back for his things, he risks waking that beast that is sleeping. It's a shame, but he concludes that nothing is more valuable than his own life. He has to accept the loss and keep moving to save himself. Exhausted, he wonders how far he has run, since he is completely lost, but at least he thinks it will take a while for the other guy to find out where he went. He finally made it. All sweaty, he celebrates that he is finally free, but the peace is short-lived when someone asks where he is rushing to. The shock is complete. He is stunned, sweating cold, and can't believe what he is seeing. He stutters, not understanding how this is possible. The muscular warrior appears in front of him and bluntly asks if he is running away. He repeats the question, wanting to know the reason for the escape. The dark-haired man stares at him with a heavy gaze and asks if he doesn't want the promised payment. The man shakes with fear and stutters, trying to say it's nothing like that. He throws himself on the ground and screams that he committed a crime worthy of death. He regrets forgetting that the other saved his life in the past. He begs for forgiveness just this once, while the big guy stares down at him in silence, saying nothing. The big guy lays it out. He doesn't want excuses, he wants a reason. He knows that if he doesn't resolve the cause, the other will end up fleeing again. He stares at the guy and demands that he explain quickly why he decided to run away. The guy stutters, completely worn out and sweating, confessing that the big guy's pace was too fast for him to keep up. He admits that if he continued at that speed, he felt like he would simply pass out and die. The warrior listens in complete silence. He is sure he is now a dead man while he remains there, fallen and worn out. The other just stands there, staring in absolute silence, without saying a single word. The big guy gets up and tells them to go back, leaving the other confused. He warns that from now on, he will walk a bit slower. Meanwhile, the guy at the back can only react with surprise. The big man moves away under the moonlight. He walks with heavy, determined steps. The other guy stands there not understanding anything, looking like a wreck. A campfire burns brightly in the darkness. It illuminates the place while the wood crackles. The big man watches the fire in silence. The other guy has already passed out and sleeps heavily. He lies there having a bizarre nightmare. He stutters for help. He says it was all a mistake. He tosses and turns, sweaty and anguished. Nearby, the muscular dark-skinned man observes everything in silence, with a serious expression. The guy reflects that this fast pace is a habit from his first play. Back then, he felt hunted all the time, living in pure urgency. He remembers that the demon realm was a hostile and dry place. There was never food or water that lasted. Resting or relaxing didn't even cross his mind. He evolved by drinking demon blood. He lived in fear of madness consuming him. He and his allies saved every second. They would even skip eating or sleeping to avoid wasting time. He lets out a long sigh as if finally catching his breath. Unlike the demon realm, this place is much calmer now. There's an abundance of food and water. Even if madness might return one day, for now everything is under control. Time passes and the sky changes colors, bringing much deserved rest. Moreover, there's now a reason to slow down. This traveling merchant has become quite a useful guide for the way. The merchant explains that there is a lot of trouble at the border. This creates a detour through a less watched area. The warrior listens in silence. The merchant accepts the decision and the warrior agrees to follow that path. He decides that following the guide's suggestion is the best course of action. The warrior reflects that his mental map is over 300 years old. He knows that without a guide who knows the current terrain, he would get hopelessly lost. The guide explains that the holy knights hunt heretics and demons mercilessly. He warns that a barbarian like him won't find peace until they reach the alliance of free cities. The warrior finally understands, because he didn't cross paths with any demons across the continent. He realizes that the holy knights are cleaning up the area. He understands that the blood will spoil. He needs to find some fresh blood soon, just in case. Night falls in the forest. The wind blows cold between the trees under the moonlight. He jumps at a noise. There's someone else there with him. Suddenly, he stumbles upon a village hidden among so many trees. His companion notices it seems like a pioneer settlement. He suggests asking for food and shelter for the night. He doesn't say anything. He just observes the place with a watchful eye. The guy finds it bizarre that there are no lights on. He is shocked by the silence. It's dinner time, but the gate is wide open with no guard watching. The guy asks if the village is abandoned. The big guy says they'll have to go in to see what's going on. He is worried and asks if the guy is really going to enter. He fears monsters or demons scared the people away. The village is in bizarre silence, with strange noises coming from the houses. The guy is shocked and asks if he's really going inside, boldly. He grips the sword's hilt, processing this story about monsters or demons in the area. Without hesitation, the big guy draws his giant sword against the starry sky, while the other just watches, anxious. The dark-skinned man flashes a sideways smile. He says this is very welcome news. The sky is overcast and the atmosphere is heavy over the village. The sturdy one steps firmly and advances. The backpacked ally follows right behind, looking very worried. Cirilo looks around, anxious, and asks Cadinho if there's no one there. He thinks it's strange because the place doesn't seem like an abandoned village. Cadinho steps firmly and stops in front of a dark entrance. The guy just observes, ready to see what's inside. Kadim freezes in silence, staring seriously at what's in front of him. Cirilo doesn't understand and asks why he stopped so suddenly, worried. Kadim stands at the door with Cirilo. He notices one detail. Only that entrance is open. The guy becomes alert. A brutal stomp on the ground signals something coming at them. The creature jumps, letting out a bizarre scream and charges towards them. The monster widens its eyes. It is completely shocked by what it saw. Kadim cuts the creature in half. There is no mercy. Blood sprays out with a dry thud. The creature collapses, dead. Kadim steps firmly to ensure the job is done. Cirilo lets out a scream of terror. He jumps back, horrified by the creature on the ground. A heavy green paw steps down, coming straight from the darkness. 3 more green creatures appear from the shadows, armed with axes and clubs. They are furious and ready to attack. Cirilo stutters in fear, seeing more monsters. Kadim realizes something is wrong. These creatures are usually docile. If they are aggressive, someone is controlling them. Kadim smirks and says they have arrived at the right place. The guy is confident. The green creature jumps, screaming, charging with the club raised. Kadim delivers a brutal cut. The blade shines and tears through the air. The guy is focused on wiping out these creatures. The creatures freeze. They are shocked by what they saw and cannot comprehend anything. Kadim prepares to strike and pulls out his sword. The guy is ready to slice them all. The green creature rushes in, screaming with the machete. It is furious. Kadim delivers a brutal diagonal cut. The creature's blood sprays everywhere with the force of the blow. The monster's head flies away. The guy sliced the creature without mercy. Kadim locks the blow and sparks fly everywhere. The guy holds steady without flinching. The green creature screams like a madman and prepares the axe. It charges straight at Kadim. Kadim moves too quickly. The guy is focused and ready to pounce. With the blade covered in blood, he drives the knife straight into the creature's chest. Blood splatters everywhere, and the monster is finished. The creature lets out a bizarre sound, completely confused, as its hand trembles near the blood. It does not understand what just happened. The monster goes crazy, letting out a deafening scream, its eyes red and its face covered in blood. The creature roars out of pure hatred. Kadim stares at the dead monster with a cold gaze. The guy is covered in blood but does not blink. After the carnage, Cirilo trembles, witnessing the massacre, and asks if the creatures are really dead. Kadim simply stands there among the sliced bodies. Cirilo asks, shaking all over, if the fight is finally over. Cadinho looks serious and gets real. He still isn't sure of anything. A bizarre scream cuts through the air. Cirilo nearly dies of fright. Vadim wastes no time and points his sword, ready for the next round. A green rough hand grabs the wall with force. The creature is coming. The creature appears holding Melissa. She is gagged and trying to scream. The monster glares at everyone with pure hatred in its eyes. Cirilo is in total shock upon seeing that the creature is holding a little girl. He can't believe what he's seeing. The green monster lets out a bizarre scream in everyone's face. It has blood in its eyes and is ready to tear anyone apart. The bloodied blade flies through the air with force. The cut is quick and there's no time for anyone to blink. Kadim hits perfectly. The sword pierces the creature's head and blood sprays everywhere. He destroys it in one blow. The knife embeds in the creature's forehead and it freezes instantly, the iron piercing its skull. The monster collapses and releases Melissa. She falls to the ground while the creature finally goes limp. Cirilo is worried and asks what Cadinho would have done if he had hit the girl. The guy doesn't even stop walking and continues firmly towards the bodies. The radio grabs the girl and gets real. That was never going to happen. He trusts his aim too much. Kadime approaches the girl, who is trembling in fear. He places his hands on her shoulders to check if she is okay. The guy grabs the ropes and tears them apart with his hands. He frees Melissa from that situation in one tug. Cadinho reaches down and grabs the ropes on the ground. He doesn't waste time and starts cleaning the area. Kadime looks at the little girl with that serious gaze and gets real. Hey girl, he wants to know if she is okay. The little girl is trembling and crying from fear. Kadime looks at her and gets real. He has some questions to ask. Kadim says he won't hurt her if she responds, but the girl screams in terror. Cirilo tries to calm the girl with a doll, swearing they are nice. He offers a dry licorice root to the girl. He explains that it's sweet. If she keeps sucking on it, the girl puts the root in her mouth and starts chewing it. She still has tears in her eyes, but it seems the candy is helping. Cirilo warns that the monsters have vanished. To keep the little girl from worrying, Kadim sees the scene and tells the truth. The guy is good with kids. Cero lets out an awkward laugh and says his son is the same age as the girl. Admin says nothing. He just stands there in his silence. The little girl bites her candy and starts calling for her mother, all teary-eyed. Kadim finds the talk of mama strange, but Cyril jumps in to calm her down. He promises they will find her mother quickly. The little girl cries and drops a bombshell. Her parents abandon her. The atmosphere becomes heavy instantly. Kadim goes into total shock at what he heard. Cyril is stunned too. He stutters, unable to believe that the ones who tied up the girl like that were her own parents. Kadim remains in a heavy silence. He looks into nothingness and finally understands the situation. So that's what was happening. A scream slices through the air calling for Lenny. Kadim is confused and just looks to the side to see who is coming. Amid the chaos, a woman rushes in despair. They try to hold her back. A guy yells for everyone to shut up, terrified that goblins might still be around. The woman runs and hugs Lenny tightly. She screams, asking if the little one is okay. The girl stands frozen, seeing her mother there. The woman breaks down in tears, relieved. She keeps thanking the heavens for finding her daughter alive after all that trouble. The listeners arrive and come face to face with the carnage. They freeze, seeing the pile of dead goblins. They ask what the hell happened there. The bearded guy stares at everyone and asks if they caused all this mess. Kareem smashes the head of a beast with one hand and replies with a dry no. He raises the bloodied blade and states the truth. Look at my sword, it did this. The guy is tough and doesn't even blink. Kadeem stares at everyone. He says the story must be known, but he wants to hear why they tried to sacrifice the children, especially to a demon. The guys freeze in silence, heads down and without courage. The forest was filled with goblins. Since the ancient land was bad, the people set fire to everything to live there, and the beasts fled in fear of the flames. But then things got strange. It's only recently that the remaining goblins in the woods appeared. They started to attack the village with everything. The creatures were brutal. The body count kept rising. With so much destruction, the people couldn't just stand by and watch. They gathered the men to deal with the goblins, but inside they came face to face with a sinister figure in the back of the cave. They encountered it, a red creature, muscular and with a bizarre demonic face. It was terrifying. The man admitted that they didn't have the strength to confront that demon, and the goblins, unable to handle the pressure, gave up and surrendered to the creature. The creature didn't kill anyone, but it sent a message. Next week it would come to the village. Everyone knelt in fear of the red demon and its goblins. The demon gave a bizarre order. Each household had to deliver the most useless child as a sacrifice. The creature is pure terror and is not playing around. The man freaks out when he finds out they took the other children. He screams, asking if the people have completely lost their minds by delivering children not even 10 years old to the creature. The bearded man replies furiously, "And who were we supposed to give? The grown sons or the engaged daughters?" The other tells them to get out of there, but the man says that if they leave now, everyone will starve. Cadinho clenches his fist tightly and exhales. The man is furious at what he heard. Slamming his hand on the table, Cadinho crushes the wood, leaving everyone in shock. The men freeze in fear. Kadime stares at the man and directly asks about the creature. That thing, how many horns did it have on its head? Audio stutters, confused. He gets real. The creature had no horns at all. Kadime falls into tense silence. The man is just processing everything. Alright, show the way. Kadim grips the hilt of his sword tightly, ready to resolve this issue once and for all. The Audion is stuttering, sweating cold, and not understanding anything. He asks where the man wants him to take him. Kadim doesn't blink and gets real. Where do you think? The man is ready for the hunt. He looks decisively, with a steady gaze. The destination is now singular, where it saw the demon. Audion stutters, completely confused. He states it again. The creature had no horns at all. Where's the catch? Without horns, the creature is just a pathetic demon. He thinks if it's a primordial type, he decides it will be easy to deal with. Beauty shows the way. Kadim grips the sword's hilt tightly. He is ready to settle this issue once and for all. The stutterer hesitates, acting cold and confused. He asks where the guy wants him to take him. Tadim glares at the man. He asks where he thinks they are going. The tough guy already has his hand on the sword, ready for action. The destination is clear, the demon's lair. The man speaks plainly, with a look that says he is not joking. A torch shines bright in the darkness. The fire crackles as they move through the forest. Kadim advances with the stutterers. The jungle ahead is tense. They are not moving confidently towards the beast's lair. The stutterer hesitates and states, "There is no money, the village is in misery, and the people barely survive." Dima is straightforward. He is doing this out of necessity and does not want a penny for payment. The stutterer stutters, unable to believe his luck. He thanks the mercenary profusely for the help. Kadim grabs the axe and informs them he will take it instead of money. He says he only has one weapon, and the stutterer releases it immediately, stepping firmly on the ground. The man announces that they have finally arrived. The group stops in front of a sinister cave. The stutterer speaks honestly. The demon is inside, hiding. Kadima freezes in silence. The man holds the axe tightly in Karubro. Everyone hesitates and warns they will take off. The guys stutter in fear of the goblins and flee right away. The merchant panics and shouts, "What? All these people came just to be guides?" The guy is stunned by the revelation. Kadim tells them to stop and warns that cowards only get in the way. He challenges the merchant to come along. The man stutters, but Kadim is direct. He wants someone to hold the torch while he kills the demon. The merchant is shocked. He stutters, not understanding anything because that was not the plan. Kadim moves into the darkness silently. The merchant follows behind, holding the torch nervously. The merchant is shocked and asks why the tough guy didn't give everyone a scolding. He says the men handed their children over to the beast and are now running away like cowards. Tadim looks at the man with a sinister gaze and asks bluntly, "Have you ever faced a live demon?" The merchant stutters, sweating cold. He admits he has never seen a live demon, only some corpses in the black market every now and then. Kadim speaks plainly. With a dark look, he warns that anyone who stares a demon in the face never comes back the same. Kadim tells it like it is. Fear breaks anyone, only despair remains. Few face the beast. You can't expect courage from ordinary people. The merchant can't swallow it. He asks how someone can hand over their own child to die. He says even animals care for their young. Kadim lays it out. To survive, sometimes you have to swallow a lot of dirt. He says you can't judge these guys. They just wanted to stay alive, with no other way out. The merchant feels bad. He comments that to the children it must seem like the whole world has abandoned them. The guy is visibly shaken by this thought. He speaks firmly and asks, "What's the point of living if you throw your humanity in the trash just to survive?" The merchant looks back, confused, calling out to him. He feels the atmosphere has thickened. The guy's mind has cracked. It's been too much blood. He wonders if the NPC has more morals than he does. Kadim faced nothing. The tension builds. He doubts he will have a normal life when he returns to reality. The merchant is worried he said something foolish. He speaks up and asks if the guy thinks the kidnapped children are still alive. Kadim freezes in silence. He closes his eyes and doesn't say anything, feeling the weight of the question. Kadim tells it straight. If the demon were stupid, it would have already killed the children. But since the beast is one clever bastard, it surely kept them alive. The merchant ponders and asks if it isn't the opposite. At that moment, the guy freezes and shouts for the boss as he sees danger coming from the darkness. The merchant screams for the boss. Kadino raises the axe, ready to bring it down. The guy screams again, but Kadino doesn't blink. He is focused on what's coming. The merchant lets out a bizarre scream of terror. He freezes and grips the torch, terrified. Kadim swings the axe down with all his strength. The blow comes down hard, slicing through the air with tremendous force to crush the enemy. Kadim swings the axe down brutally, cleaving the air in a sharp, deadly stroke. The merchant doesn't understand anything and lets out a "huh" as Kadim extends his hand, focused. The beast stomps heavily on the ground, emerging from the darkness. The footsteps are heavy and shake the earth. The monster groans with the axe embedded in its forehead. The merchant stumbles and screams. A goblin takes a dry axe strike to the forehead and staggers. More goblins with red eyes emerge from the darkness. It's an entire battalion. The creatures let out a bizarre scream and charge at the group. The merchant panics and shouts, not understanding where all these beasts came from. Kadim doesn't flinch. He tells the guy to keep lighting the way with the torch. Kadim steps firmly and advances with full force. He tears the goblin in half without mercy. The creature lets out a bizarre scream as the blade pierces its chest. Kadim lets out a shout and crushes everything in sight. He locks the arm of one goblin while another flies away, sliced and spraying blood everywhere. A brutal grip. Kadim squeezes the goblin's arm so hard that its veins bulge. The goblin is completely trapped in his hand. Kadim crushes the head of one creature while another, terrified, watches. He is unstoppable amidst the bloodshed, metal clashing with metal. He freezes in shock at what he sees. Kadim spots the stalagmites with those stones in the way and suggests using the sword with full force. The creatures snarl and make bizarre noises. They are frothing with rage. Kadim wraps a leather strap around his hand to secure the sword tightly. He doesn't want the weapon to slip away at any cost. When the moment arrives, the creatures let out a bizarre scream and charge forward. Kadim holds the sword firmly, ready to face the unending battalion of goblins. Kadim swings the sword in a quick cut. The metal slices through the air completely. The blade hits the creature squarely, delivering a brutal cut, and blood sprays everywhere. Kadim is unstoppable. He slices through one goblin after another, mercilessly, as blood flies all around and he crushes the horde with sheer brute force. Kadim turns his face quickly, sensing something. He has a sharp gaze ready for whatever comes. Kadim assesses the situation and states the truth. He will have to use the axe too. He grips the handle tightly and cleaves the goblin's head in half. Blood sprays far. Kadim becomes a meat grinder. Armed with sword and axe, he slices through goblins non-stop as blood pours everywhere. A total massacre. The blade narrates the skull of a creature, and the other one takes a sharp cut. The creatures don't even have time to react. Before they turn into ham, Kadim cuts the creature's head right off, ruthlessly. Blood blasts everywhere. The head drops to the ground and the guy steps right on top of it. It's over. The merchant is sweating cold and lets out a groan of pure shock. The guy is frozen. My God, he did all this alone. The merchant looks at the ground covered in goblin heads. He is face to face with the massacre Kadim created. The goblins scream and retreat. The creatures are terrified. They are fleeing, sir. Blood drips from the weapon as the creatures run in panic. Kadim, covered in blood, warns that they are going after the creatures, just as he ordered. It's on. They will surely head straight for the demon. The merchant raises the torch, and the two move deeper into the cave. Kadim is not stopping now. He wants to finish the job. They advance, and the merchant notices something strange. The narrow path suddenly opens into a huge hall. Kadim realizes the walls have been dug out to expand the space. The merchant freezes and asks if this is the goblin's base. Kadim lets out a creepy laugh. The guy is all covered in blood and seems to be enjoying the moment. Watch out, there's a demon nearby. Kadim says the truth, and the merchant freezes. He warns the guy to keep his distance but not to think about running away. Kadim reminds him that the goblins may hunt him in packs. If any get close, he is to use the torch and burn the creature without mercy. The guy freezes and sharpens his gaze. He senses something strange nearby. He makes a quick slash that cuts through the air completely. The creature stomps hard on the ground and readies for combat. 3 deep cuts tear into the guy's chest. Blood flies, but he holds the axe tightly, not retreating an inch. The creature jumps up to finish him off. Kadim is on the ground, covered in blood, and a goblin screams desperately for its master. The creature stares at Kadim and has never seen the guy around and quickly realizes he isn't just some ordinary fellow. The demon lets out a bizarre laugh. It finds everything amusing and is enjoying the massacre. Kadim senses that something is off. This is different from what I was told. The guy realizes that the creature is not what he expected. Horns. Kadim sees spikes growing from the creature's head. The demon is changing shape right in front of him. Tadim is covered in blood. He shouts, "What the hell?" with anger. He grips the weapon tightly. Kadim faces the red creature, which is all bloody but continues to hold the weapon steady. The monster shows its claws and prepares to strike. What the hell? Kadim is furious seeing the horns growing. He realizes that the creature is evolving into an intermediate demon. Things just got crazy. The demon grins widely and says it loves Kadim's face. The creature enjoys his hate. The monster becomes a blur and attacks with full force. Maximum speed to kill the guy. Kadim barely sees the creature coming, it's so fast. A brutal hit. Kadim blocks the demon's strike with all his might, but the monster continues laughing at him. The demon laughs and says it likes humans because they are weak and obedient. It positions its claws against Kadim's weapon and sparks fly everywhere. Kadim feels tense. He admits he lost sight of the creature for a second and only defended himself out of pure instinct. The guy knows the monster is too fast. Kadim blocks the blow and realizes the creature is too strong. This is not an ordinary demon. The monster's agility is bizarre and the guy needs to get it together. The demon glares. It is furious because Kadim has killed too many goblins. The creature has a grudge against humans and orders the guy to beg for mercy now. An ordinary demon can die to 12 untrained men, but against an intermediate, even an elite team can't guarantee victory. This creature is on another level. Kadim, in silence, is covered in blood. The guy is focused, feeling the weight of the creature. The demon stares closely at him with a bizarre smile and says, "I'll give you a chance." The creature thinks it's the master of everything. The monster points its claw and warns, "Don't use that arm." Kadim is all battered and bleeding, but he keeps his eyes on the creature. The monster tells Kadim to tear off his own arm and eat it all, even the bones. It says that if the guy devours every piece of meat, it will let him live. What a sicko. Kadim realizes he's in bad shape and can't handle a demon like this at its peak, but he sees that the creature's horns haven't fully grown yet. It's now or never. The demon is raging at the guy's delay. "What you are doing won't cut it. Why don't you listen to me? The beast has lost it." Kadima grips the sword with her bleeding hand and speaks the truth. She sees a team. "You have been making too much noise since the beginning." Kadima stares at the beast and tells it straight, "I don't listen to a bag of blood like you." The guy is all messed up, but he doesn't bow his head to the monster. He slashes the leather bag without mercy. Blood pours out immediately. The demon freezes. It senses a strange smell and is confused. This smell, is it the beast? It's in total shock. Kadim turns the bag and drinks the blood without mercy. The demon freaks out and asks why a human has that. The guy is gulping it down. The blood bag falls to the ground. The rest of the liquid splashes around. Kadim tosses it aside right after the gulp. A red aura rises and the heart races. The guy is completely changing with this blood. Kadim lets out a bizarre scream. The guy is burning inside. His eyes shine bright and his whole body is tense. As the transformation happens, the demon freezes and just watches. The beast feels that the atmosphere has changed. It prepares its claws, unable to understand what is happening. Kadim's eye shines a bizarre red. The guy is covered in blood, exuding a sinister pressure as the transformation hits hard. The blood is old, but it's taking effect. Kadim knows it won't last long. He decides he needs to end this nonsense right now. The beast goes into shock. It cannot accept feeling fear from a human. The demon refuses to back down. It has gained new power too. The monster goes crazy with rage. It snarls that it will kill the guy and screams, "Die!" The demon charges up with everything. The beast comes drooling, its claws ready to tear the guy in half. Where is it? The bag thrown away. The beast is treacherous and should have fled. It wonders if the monster has become dumb just because its horns are growing. Now the beast descends with its claw, aiming to slash the guy. It's a quick and heavy strike, coming straight at Kadim. Kadim has shining eyes and is focused. He declares, "Now I can see its movements." The guy is ready for a counterattack. Kadim swings an axe upward with all his might. The impact is dry. It catches the demon by surprise mid-air. The guy has bizarre strength now. The demon lets out a terrifying scream and starts shaking. The creature feels the pressure and becomes completely lost. Kadim looks at the axe and realizes the weapon is at its limit. The guy is focused. If this continues, the axe will shatter soon. But Kadim doesn't care. If it breaks, he'll use the sword. If the sword goes to waste, he'll solve it with his bare hands. The creature growls with rage. It readies its claws to tear Kadim in half. The demon is furious. It screams that it's unforgivable to be challenged by a human. Kadim stomps hard and charges forward. The guy has blood in his eyes and is completely focused. The demon freezes in shock. Kadim is already in its face with weapons ready and a sinister pressure. Kadim delivers a powerful blow. The guy has blood in his eyes and strikes with heavy force. The blow lands, tearing through. The demon screams as it is mercilessly shredded. The creature is in deep trouble. It stomps hard to avoid falling. The impact was brutal, and the demon is trembling all over. The monster freezes in horror and thinks, "What power is this?" The creature is shaking at its core. Kadim does not relent. The guy comes in with the axe and sword to slice the creature now, delivering a solid hit. The impact is immense and the pressure explodes everywhere. It hits squarely. Kadim unleashes an absurd strike. The impact is so strong it shatters the ground and sends debris flying. The guy has blood in his eyes. The creature freezes in shock at such destructive force. It doesn't understand how a simple human can cause such damage. The demon lets out a bizarre crack and adjusts its teeth. The creature feels the weight of the blow and can't even react properly. Kadim doesn't flinch. The guy faces the monster's claw head-on, with blood in his eyes and total focus to finish the job. Kadim takes a brutal hit to the chest but doesn't move. The guy has blood in his eyes and withstands the blow firmly, ready to continue the massacre. The creature is thrown far and drags its claws on the ground to avoid falling. The demon lets out a bizarre wail of pain while Kadim faces it, exuding smoke of pure rage. Kadim spins with all his might and delivers an absurd cut. The guy is covered in blood, but he doesn't stop for anything. It's pure brute force against the beast. The demon freezes in shock and doesn't even see the blow coming. The beast is completely lost with Kadime's speed. Now the beast is about to feel the weight of the guy's hand. Kadime spins with everything he has. The guy flies low and the red aura explodes everywhere. Whoa! Kadime lets out a scream and focuses entirely. The guy has blood in his eyes, determined to kill the beast. He senses the danger and yells that things are looking bad. He realizes the situation has become too dangerous for him. The beast stomps hard and runs away. It moves quickly to try to escape Kadime's aim. Total explosion. Kadime wrecks everything and sends the stones flying far away. The guy remains steady in the midst of the chaos, blood in his eyes. Kadime stands tall with a sinister aura. The beast collapses to the ground, all messed up, and can only shriek in pain. The demon freezes in terror. He stammers, "What are you?" The beast is trembling. Kadime stares at the monster. The beast asks, "You're not human, right?" The guy looks sinister. Kadime has blood on his face and a terrifying gaze. The guy steps firmly and advances. He has blood in his eyes. The beast freezes with fear. He thinks, "There's no way he's human. He's a monster in disguise." The demon sharpens its teeth, terrified. The beast lets out a bizarre screech. Kadim remains standing, covered in blood and with a sinister aura. The guy is unstoppable and ready for more. The demon tries to escape and climbs the wall with all its might. It uses its claws to climb quickly, while Kadim watches from below, ready to hunt the beast. The beast is being crushed. It realizes Kadim sees all its moves, and that charging directly won't work. The demon screams in panic and shouts for everyone to bail. He is terrified and is shocked by what he sees. The guy with the torch is desperate and shouts for the monsters to back off. Meanwhile, Cadinho just observes everything from a distance, quietly and completely still. "Stay away. Do you want to be on fire again?" The guy threatens the monsters with the torch, but the goblins just laugh. The poor guy is terrified. The fire crackles loudly. The torch shines brightly in the darkness. The beast looks with hatred and quickly devises a plan. If that fire goes out, he finishes off the monster. A solid hit on the ground. The blow comes full force and sends blood flying everywhere. Kadim, covered in blood, sees the beast fleeing and heads that way. The monster knows the plan. Kadim grips the weapon's handle with his bloodied hand. He is ready for the kill. He tightens his grip on the axe with all his strength. Now the beast will see what it's made of. Kadim speaks the truth. "It's obvious what you want." He already figured out the beast's plan. Kadim looks fierce, drenched in blood, with red eyes. He prepares the axe and goes for the kill. Kadim stares down the beast with blood in his eyes. He warns, "I won't let you do as you please." The guy is fierce and not letting his guard down. Kadim charges at the monster. He is pure blood and radiating a sinister red aura. The red beast can't handle the blow and is sent flying. The monster realizes Kadim is quick on his feet. He knows that if he tries to aim straight, the beast will dodge anyway. Kadim is aware of the enemy's agility. Kadim is possessed. He speaks the truth. "In this case, I have to do this." The guy is bloodied and ready for all or nothing. He grips the axe tightly. His hand is raw flesh, but the grip is firm. Now the beast will feel the weight of the blade. "I'll shatter the ground beneath your feet." Kadim shouts and exerts force to attack. The guy has blood in his eyes. He delivers the blow with full power. The impact cracks the entire ground and sends the red beast flying. It's total destruction. The red beast screams in shock. He is completely stunned by the guy's maneuver and can't even react. Kadim swings the axe down with all his might. The impact is brutal, destroying the ground with tremendous force. The ground explodes and stones fly everywhere from the force of the blow. The beasts freeze in place. The torchbearer panics at the sudden explosion. The red beast flies far from the hit. He is thrown backward, and stones scatter everywhere. The monster can't handle Kadim's strength. The ground fully explodes. The whole cavern trembles with the impact, sending debris flying everywhere. It is total destruction. The blow cracks the ground. Rocks and dust fly everywhere. With the impact, the creature is in trouble. It covers its eyes, agonized. "Damn! Dust got in my eye." The monster complains, blind. It stomps with all its might. The ground shakes and dust rises with the impact. Kadim appears in the smoke, all bloodied and with a sinister aura. The creature freezes in shock upon seeing the guy in front of it. Kadim slashes the creature's face in half. The monster can only let out a cry of pain. With the impact, the creature howls in agony. It hurts so much. Kadim shows no mercy. He keeps forcing the blade to finish it off. Kadim looks at the damage and states the truth. "Now you have a very pretty face." The guy mocks the creature as blood drips down. The creature screams in rage, "I will kill you." The blade is embedded in its face and blood flies. Kadinho is stunned. The creature is still alive. He can't believe the monster took a direct stab to the head and is still standing. He grips the weapon handle tightly. His hand is raw and covered in blood. But the guy tightens his grip to prevent the creature from escaping. Kadim is fed up and complains, "What a drag." The guy has blood in his eyes. The creature howls in pain with the blade in its face. It hurts. It screams, desperate. But Kadim continues to crush without mercy. Kadim finishes the job. He splits the creature's head open with a brutal cut. The monster didn't stand a chance and blood sprays everywhere. The creature collapses, dead, on the ground. Cadinho stands there, all worn out, just watching the monster's body. Finally, this fight is over. The creature makes strange noises as its head cracks open. Blood is everywhere, and the monster screams in total agony. With the wreckage, the final blow crushes the monster against the ground. The creature's body explodes in a burst of blood and light. It's all over for it. Tadim feels the power returning. He is completely drained but realizes that the bath has finally activated. The guy lets out a relieved breath. Thank goodness there was time. I almost had to face an intermediate demon without any buffs, he thinks, exhausted. Cadinho hears a strange noise and freezes. He widens his eyes, not understanding anything. The creatures are dying of fear. The goblins tremble and make weird noises. The goblins calm down with a dead demon. The evil energy vanished completely. But Kadim, all covered in blood, feels that the problem is not over. He grips the sword tightly. The guy is ready for whatever comes next. Kadim slices the creature in half. Blood splatters, and the monster is done for. Kadim speaks the truth. These guys have turned into monsters. He will take them all out before leaving. The goblin screams in fear. He sees his partner's head rolling and goes into total shock. The creature yells and takes off. Kadim notices one of them is running away. Kadim drives his sword into the goblin's head with full force. The guy is covered in blood and already focused on the trail. Kadim turns his face immediately. He hears a crack and tenses up to see who is approaching. A goblin appears holding a torch. The creature is trembling like a green stick in front of him. Kadim focuses on the goblin with the torch. He readies his sword to finish the last one off. It's the last one. Kadim charges forward to complete the job while someone screams for him. The guy is desperately shouting for his Kadim. He is sweating cold and terrified. Kadim freezes instantly. His eyes widen in confusion at what happened. The guy is trembling like a green stick, sweating, because a bloodied sword is pressed against his neck. The creature is in total shock. He glances sideways in panic. Sweat keeps pouring down and the guy can barely breathe, waiting for the worst. Kadim holds the sword up to the man's face. The guy shakes in fear with the blade against his neck. Kadim is speechless. His eyes widen as he sees who is in front of him. The guy asks if Kadim is okay since he looks extremely pale. Kadim wakes up to reality and can only apologize for the mistake. The man warns that the children must be deep inside the cave. Kadim states the reality. They will kill the rest of the goblins, save the kids, and get back to the village quickly. The guy agrees instantly. He is all dirty and scared but understands Kadim's message. Kadim steps into the cave, dragging the creature's corpse across the ground. The other guy follows closely behind, with the torch lighting the way. The children are back. The villagers are in shock and can't believe what they are seeing. Everyone starts thanking the heavens for the miracle. It's the biggest crying fest. Parents rush to hug their children. They ask if Saren, Amelia, and Roni are okay too. Everyone thanks the great Elga for the rescue. They thank the mercenary a lot. The people are stunned seeing the dead beast on his shoulder. They don't even know how to thank him for saving them. An elderly lady holds Kadim's hands, all emotional. She invites him to have stew at her home. She says he worked hard and deserves a meal. Kadim says to give the food to the children who came back. He says the little ones must be starving. They cried all night without sleeping a wink. Kadim tells the merchant to eat with the kids. The guy asks what Sir will do. Kadim simply replies that he needs to rest first. He's completely exhausted. The man looks back and sees Sir Kadim walking away. He stays there carrying his things while the warrior goes to find a spot to fully collapse. The boy is in total shock. His eyes are wide open and his face is all dirty. He receives a hug, but it seems his soul hasn't returned to his body after all that suffering. The man remains silent, just observing. He is all dirty and seems to still not understand anything. The poor guy is completely stunned. He stutters, unable to believe, wondering what the hell is in front of him. Kadim and the torch guy face a bizarre scene. The crowd is on the ground, freaking out and shouting about death and valleys full of worms. The atmosphere is too heavy. The people are in total shock, holding their heads and screaming. One person freaks out, talking about birds that pluck out eyes, while another begs not to be abandoned. Everyone has lost their minds. Kadim says that everyone has undergone brainwashing. The merchant freezes in fear. Kadim confirms they repeat things until their minds break completely. The boy panics, chewing his nails. He only hears that his parents abandoned him. He's completely shattered. The boy loses it. He hears he is the most useless in the world and goes into total despair. The boy is utterly terrified, screaming in horror. Heavy brainwashing. Kadim speaks the truth. No priest could endure this mental massacre. The boy screams non-stop, his mind destroyed. Kadim tells it like it is. You can't even call it brainwashing. The parents abandoned the kids. The beast recorded this in their minds so no one would ever forget. Abandoned by those who were their world. These little ones will never be normal. The guy freaks out, unable to believe it. Lies. Why would the demon do something so cruel? Real chaos. This is the nature of demons. Human suffering and despair feed these creatures the most. Asa Eritano. The guy freezes and falls completely silent. He is in shock from the evil he just heard. The guy finally understands what Kardim said. He asks if the children would have died if the demon weren't so clever and cruel. The guy insists and asks if the parents can't save the little ones with regret and love. He mentions that sincerity can move even the heavens, hoping for some hope. Poor thing says it might not be impossible. But then he immediately adds a but that cuts any hope. He doubts that parents who abandon their children to save themselves once are capable of acting differently now. The guy freezes. He feels the weight of all that evil as he carries the kid. He turns his face away. Perhaps the atmosphere is bad, but he needs to keep walking. The guy steps forward with the kid on his back, crossing the gates. The ally just watches the departure with a look that shows he's deeply shaken by everything that happened. Everyone is shocked by the group's exit. "What? Sir, you're leaving already?" they shout, not understanding why the guy is leaving so quickly. The guy asks Cadinho to rest and leave only tomorrow since he's still unwell. But Katie immediately declines, saying that some witness must have already spilled the beans about what happened. Katie gets real. Killing soldiers and prisoners can go unnoticed, but erasing a sacred night is a different story. They won't let this slip away in any way. The guy gets startled and remembers what happened. He realizes that barbaric monster killed one of Elga's sacred knights. The beast is in total shock. Cadinho looks seriously at me and lays it out. If things go south, they are already on their trail. They need to get out now. Crows fly low as the sacred knights arrive at the scene. They come face to face with a trail of death and the body thrown on the ground. The atmosphere is tense. The woman goes silent, just staring at the destruction. She is in shock from what she saw. Around me, she drives the blade into the creature's neck. Black blood splatters everywhere. The monster screams in pain. The guy pulls out his sword and slashes the creature's throat. The beast is done for. It's over for him. Kadim holds the creature and collects the blood in the vial. The crowd around can only watch in shock. The vial is half full and already useful for emergencies. He has completed what he came to do in the village. The red beast is smashed to the ground with full force. The impact is brutal, ending any chance for the creature. One of the guys approaches Kadim and asks what the mercenary will do with the demon's body. They are watching what remains of the beast and order it to be burned. "I don't want the body." The crowd freezes and lets out a "what?" The people panic. The guy killed himself to hunt the beast and now wants to burn it. They thought it was for money, but he only wants the blood and to toss the rest away. Kadim stays to himself, finding the situation great. Meanwhile, the bearded man is already planning to sell the creature's body for big cash. Kadown warns, either burn it now or the smell will attract worse things. The guy goes cold at the thought that any creature eating the remains will become a monster. Kadim stares at the people with a heavy look. He asks if they really want to be attacked by furious goblins again. The villagers freeze. The bearded man stutters, unsure of what to say, denying that they want to go through that ordeal again. The guys start dragging the dead beast. One of them stutters, saying they would burn everything right now. Kadim just observes the commotion. Melissa calls out to the guy and asks if he is a mercenary. Kadim turns to see who it is. An elderly woman approaches with a tray of items. She thanks him for saving the children and says the villagers gathered some presents. She asks him to accept everything. Kadim is silent for a moment. He looks at the items and promises to make good use of them. Kadim puts on his boots and tightens his belt. The guy gears up quickly to hit the road. "This is quite useful," he says to Jimmy. He announces that it's time to take off and leave. The guy's chest is marked. A giant scar crosses the muscle, and the pain hits hard now. Kadim lets out a groan of pain, and the old man behind him doesn't understand anything. The guy complains that this cursed wound was his fault. That holy night, the guy's body recovers fast. The wound from yesterday is already closing, but the one from 10 days ago won't heal at all. He is bothered by this. The weapon is blessed. Kadim realizes that it wasn't an ordinary spear. The strike was unique, and the mark won't disappear. A spear is embedded in a fallen body. Ravens fly around, and the atmosphere is sinister. Someone calls for Lady Hylia. The armored woman turns her face, very serious. Knight Edan says he searched everywhere but found no important clues. Lady Rhea sighs and calls the guy pathetic, right to his face. He tells the guy to stop looking at the scene aimlessly. She wants him to quickly figure out the intentions of the culprit. He sees that they even killed the prisoners. The plan wasn't a rescue. It was pure carnage. The equipment was intact. Nothing was stolen. She realizes that things are very strange. He stares at the mutilated creature. What kind of profane group would do such a thing? Aiden asks if she has any idea who did this. Who is this gang that caused all this destruction? Alia loses her cool and calls the guy an idiot. She tells him to stop stalling and find the clues using the logic she just explained. She continues berating him and says there's a reason he has been stuck at paladin rank for so long. The woman is furious. Idone is really upset inside. He thinks she is arrogant and doesn't know anything either. But since she is tough, he can't even complain. This is Elle Movio, the paladin arc. The woman steps on the dead creature, sword in hand, showing that she is in charge of that mess. She is not just any paladin arc. She climbed ranks by crushing 20 demons alone. Pure carnage. The youngest paladin arc in the empire. Her genius is terrible, but her skill is real. The woman is fierce, and Dan is angry but admits that it is frustrating. He knows a simple paladin like him can't keep up against someone of her level. She lets out a sigh and says there's no way. The guy gets startled and doesn't understand her reaction. She tells Eden to quickly grab the sacred relic that the Archbishop, Herenso, gave them. The guy is in shock at the order. "Are you talking about Damien's twin mirrors?" Aiden asks desperately. He begs her to reconsider. It has not even been 10 years since the other mirror broke. The twin mirrors of Domian, or the future, exploded when they saw a creature too strong. Now only the one that shows the past is left for them to use. She is startled. She said the item is to be used if the quest stalls. "You want to tell the Archbishop that you don't know how his nephew died?" She screams in his face, "It's Dan!" He freezes and says nothing. He tells her to stop messing around. The mirror will not break unless a big demon appears in front of them. Aiden hands over the relic. "Here it is," he says, passing the mirror into her hand. He kneels and grabs the mirror. Aiden watches closely behind. The girl begins the ritual with the relic. Now the mirror shines brightly. The light explodes from the relic and activates the thing completely. The light bursts from the mirror, and the vision of the past begins to appear for Helia and Aiden. The thing shines incredibly bright. "Who is this? A barbarian?" they ask in shock. The guy is drinking demon blood directly from the creature's head. "What a bizarre thing is this? A sacred weapon? What sacrilege?" Someone screams. In the past, a voice desperately implores him to stop, but the guy is out of control. He runs, he yells. The voice in the vision loses breath and is in total shock. She doesn't understand anything and asks what bizarre thing she is seeing. Rodinho is totally insane, with shining eyes and a face covered in blood. The guy lets out a scream. The mirror can't handle the pressure and explodes into 1,000 pieces. The sacred relic is gone. It's Diengagasia. The mirror is destroyed. She is in shock at the broken thing. It activated. If the mirror only breaks with a big demon, the guy they saw is an absurd level monster. Aiden panics at the bizarre sight. He warns that they need to get to the sacred capital now and tell everyone everything. Helia doesn't blink and speaks honestly. If the culprit has already appeared, why on earth would they go back to the capital now? Helia warns that the quest continues. Aiden loses it and shouts, "What?" Not believing that the girl really wants to stay there after that bizarre sight. She grips the sword's hilt tightly. The girl is ready for a fight. She won't back down. She prepares herself and charges forward. The girl has blood in her eyes and will not retreat a single step. That demon in human skin. She gets real. She swears she will take that creature down with her own hands. The guy is by the river, deep in thought. He reflects that he could have lived his life trusting no one, and ended up crazy. He remembers his 8-year-old son at home. The guy cannot stop worrying about the village children. He shakes his head to brush away the gloom. He needs to regain his focus right now. He grabs the water jug and decides to get motivated to see his family again. The guy knows he can't hesitate if he wants to please the barbarian. He heads back to the camp and sees the cauldron cold by the fire. He approaches quietly while the barbarian lies on the ground resting. "I've waited long enough. I'm making dinner now, sir," he announces. But the guy soon finds it strange and wonders why the cauldron is lying that way. The guy lets out a hum and feels uneasy about what's happening. "Sir, what happened?" the guy shouts. The cauldron is sweating profusely and shaking on the ground, suffering terribly. The guy panics. He cries out that the cauldron, which crushes demons, can't be like this. The barbarian merely moans in pain, sprawled on the floor. It's a complete shock. The guy sees the wound on the cauldron's chest and goes into shock. He asks the barbarian what happened to cause this. "Damn, I should have noticed earlier." The cauldron curses himself, sweating cold. The guy finally understands the nature of that blessed weapon. The spear glows. The cauldron realizes that its blessing only harms demons and wouldn't affect a human, but for him it's deadly. The guy is a berserker who gets monstrous by drinking demon blood. He admits that taking that bizarre substance has heavily affected his body. The ally regrets leaving the village and says he should have rested. The cauldron cuts the talk and warns that this chest wound won't heal with rest. The cauldron asks how the moon was last night. The guy feels a bit confused but remembers it was a slanted waning moon. The cauldron sweats cold but feels relieved. He realizes he hasn't lost his chance yet and that everything depends on tonight. Strange noise in the sky. The ally jumps in shock. Cadinho is still there, all messed up. The guy freezes. He recognizes the sound. He wonders if it is what he thinks. Howls and growls in the jungle. The guy and Cadinho lock up. The darkness closes in. A furry paw crushes the ground. The beast appears. The wolf growls, drooling. The ally freezes. By blood wolves. Cadinho sounds cold and takes a deep breath. He faces the beast in pure silence. The guy grips the axe tightly. Cadinho already draws his sword. "It's now." He stays back. Cadinho gets real. The ally stutters, worried about him. But the guy doesn't even flinch. Cadinho is cold, worn out. He feels this cursed world will never leave him in peace. The guy faces the pack, those damned mutts. He growls. The beast charges at him. Cadinho raises the axe, sweating and ready for a fight. "You could have come to visit a little later." He gets real with the beasts, even all messed up. The beasts snarl horribly and show their teeth, ready to pounce. Cadinho is exhausted and tries to catch his breath to avoid collapsing. Wolves surround the camp. Cadinho draws his axe and prepares for combat. The other guy shakes, holding the torch. The beast jumps at him, growling fiercely. It shows its teeth and comes at him to bite. Cadinho swings the axe with all his strength. The blow cuts through the air with brutal force. The axe slices the wolf's neck cleanly. The beast screams in pain, and blood flies everywhere. The beast takes a harsh blow and blood splatters. One is down, but the rest of the pack keeps coming. Cadinho gets angry because he missed his target. His vision is all blurred. The guy can't aim properly anymore. The beasts jump forward, shrieking violently. They show their teeth and charge in. Cadinho is exhausted, sweating cold and holding the sword as best he can. The guy is at his limit but doesn't back down. Dima grabs the wolf and readies the sword. The beasts scream, and the guy faces them all. He brings down the blade with force. The cut is swift. The beast doesn't see where the blow comes from. The beast bites the guy's arm hard. The bite is fierce, and the wolf won't let go. Kadino endures the bite and holds the beast's head. He exerts himself and throws the wolf away. Kadim stares at the creature with blood in his eyes. The guy is sweating cold, but he doesn't lose focus on the target for a second. He grabs the wolf by the neck and the beast chokes. Kadim is already preparing the blade to finish him off. The beast bites hard. The snap of the impact is dry and the hit stops. Kadim clicks his tongue, pissed off. The guy is exhausted but keeps staring at the beasts. He crushes the animal's head without mercy. Blood splatters everywhere, and the wolf falls dead immediately. Kadim takes a deep breath to catch his breath. He is surrounded by dead beasts, but the rest of the pack is still there, just waiting for the right moment. The beasts snarl fiercely and begin to encircle him. They bare their teeth and come for him. Kadim realizes they hunt in packs and are regrouping. He is exhausted and knows he won't last long against so many. Don't get close. Someone screams out of nowhere. Kadim jumps, startled, and understands nothing. The guy shakes the sticks with fire and tells the beasts to disappear. He is terrified, but tries to keep the wolves away. Kadim opens the jar forcefully. He knows that drinking this now is like taking poison, but the guy is out of options and will face the beasts. They snarl and show their teeth, just waiting for the right moment to leap at his throat. Kadim tips the jar and downs the liquid without mercy. The guy is sweating cold, but swallows it all at once. The empty jar clatters to the ground. The rest of the black liquid splatters in the dirt, and now things are going to get serious. Kadim radiates a sinister red aura and grows gigantic. The guy is pure hatred, and the dead wolves on the ground show that now things will get real. The wolves gulp nervously and freeze instantly. They bark confusedly because they feel the atmosphere has changed and fear hits hard. Kadim opens his eyes and has blood in his eyes. The guy is pure hatred. He plunges the blade mercilessly into the wolf's head. Blood flies and the beast is done for. The guy holds the torches, terrified, while the wolves encircle him. The beasts snarl and prepare to pounce. The wolves jump fiercely at the guy. He panics as the beasts advance to bite him. The guy is in total shock at what he is seeing. He freezes. He can't even react. The blade cuts the creature's neck mercilessly. Blood splatters everywhere, and the wolf is done for. Kadim charges and starts tearing into the wolves ruthlessly. He spins the blade with all his might. The creatures fly away as they try to bite him. He realizes that the buff's effect changes depending on the blood he drinks. He feels the strength rising and knows this time it will be different. The wolves scream loudly and charge at Kadim. He doesn't even blink and prepares for a fight. While the red aura shines brightly, Kadim has blood in his eyes and is fully focused. He stares at the beasts without any fear. He launches into the attack with everything he has. Increased agility. Kadim becomes a blur and tears into the wolves. The creatures explode into pieces, with no chance to react. That damn demon was too fast. But now Kadim gets it. The effect is exactly what he expected. The wolves scatter. The beasts flee, escaping the massacre that Kadino has started. The guy is stunned and shouts, "Lord, they are fleeing." He can't believe the pack is retreating. Fleeing. Kadim is suspicious. He senses something is wrong, that the situation is different. A giant paw slams into the ground forcefully. The impact is brutal and shakes the earth. Kadim is huge and exuding hatred with that red aura. The ground keeps trembling from the shocks, and his ally is terrified behind him. A giant wolf, all scarred, appears growling menacingly. The beast has glowing eyes and looks like it wants to swallow Kadim whole. The guy stammers, warning that there is something bizarre about this creature. The wolf is twice the size of the others and has blood in its eyes. Damn, is this the leader of the pack? Kadim wonders, sweating cold as he faces the beast up close. Kadim realizes it has gone bad. His strength is almost gone, and he starts to sweat profusely. Just at that crucial moment, the huge wolf leaps at him. Kadim braces his weapon to endure the impact, while the red aura shines brightly. Kadim holds on as best as he can. He wonders what power this is. He feels the beast trying to crush him with sheer weight. He is startled and his eyes widen. The guy realizes that the situation has soured completely. Kadim coughed hard and tried to recover his breath. He was soaked in sweat, holding the pieces of the weapon. Feeling his body reaching its limit, he let out a groan of pain and bent over, almost falling. The ally back there was in shock seeing Kadim in this deplorable state. The ally panicked and shouted for Kadim. He asked if the guy was okay, seeing that the boss was almost passing out. Kadim was on his knees at his limit. The ally yelled for him to wake up, because the paw of the Lobo was right in front of them. Kadim was gasping heavily, clutching his bloodied chest. The guy was at total exhaustion. The Lobo snarled in his face. The ally froze, seeing that the boss was nearly unconscious. Kadim looked up at the sky, completely battered. He thought the conditions must have already struck. The ally shouted, "Sir, why are you looking up? The wolf is right in front of you." Kadim froze with wide eyes. He was in total shock at what was happening. Kadim's eyes widened, sweating cold. His heart raced as he realized it was midnight. The moon had disappeared completely. The guy stared at the sky and awaited what would come next. The ground exploded with an impact. A white light split the earth apart. Kadim shut his eyes, sweating profusely, and called upon Atala, the undefeated master of 10,000 soldiers, to place the blade in his hands. Kadim cried out for a blessing for the warrior, thirsty for a fight. He wanted to bathe in the blood of his enemies. The allies were left floating, not understanding anything back there. On the night when the eye that watches everything disappears, he baptized the sword with a name stained in blood. Kadim was focused and the blade shone brightly. The light exploded from the sword and blinded everyone. Kadim held the blade tightly as the glow cracked the ground. The lowbound froze in front of him, not understanding anything that was happening. The lowbound made a dumbfounded face and let out a bark of confusion. The beast was completely lost. The guy was in shock and yelled, "What is that?" He was sweating cold at what he saw. Kadim was on his knees, all battered and bloodied, holding the sword firmly. A giant column of fire exploded behind him as the guy prepared to unleash havoc. A voice asked what name he would give to this sword. In the midst of the fire, Kadim felt the weapon vibrate. He remembers the weight from the first time he played. He is already choosing the name of the blade. Kadime faces the blade with blood in his eyes and shouts the name, Mosquito. He decided this will be the sword's baptism. Kadim holds the sword firmly in the middle of the flames. Bruised and cut up, the guy has a bizarre look. He is ready to charge with everything. The blade shines and a red flash explodes in the middle. The power is bursting forth. A symbol appears on the white blade as the fire burns. The weapon has fully awakened. Kadime stares firmly and speaks out loud. He activates his unique ability to name things and prepares himself. The guy has blood in his eyes. Radim is on his knees, all messed up, but he holds the sword tightly. The fire explodes behind him and he prepares to wreak havoc. A voice asks, "What name will the guy give to this sword?" In the middle of the fire, Kadim stares firmly, his eyes shining, and declares a name, Mosquito. He decided this will be the baptism of the blade. Kadim holds the sword firmly in the middle of the flames. Bruised and bloody, the guy has a bizarre look and is ready to charge with everything. The red symbol shines on the white blade, amidst the flames. The sword has fully awakened and is ready for action. The Lobao lets out a bizarre roar right in Kadime's face. The creature is furious and the guy prepares for what's coming. He jumps back, shouting desperately for Seer. He is terrified, holding the torch in his hand. The sword crashes into the ground with force. The impact cracks the earth and raises dust. Jardim holds the knife firm and faces the danger. The Lobao leaps onto his back, releasing a bizarre roar. The guy doesn't blink, he is ready for combat. The creature stomps hard, making everything shake. Kadime runs to position himself while the giant wolf glares at him with hatred. The creature is a gigantic monster. The special effect is activated in an instant. The system confirms the creature will strike. The blade shines like sinister red energy. The power flows through the entire sword as it transforms. Fadinia grips the sword's hilt tightly. The blood swirls in his hand and the symbol glows on the blade. The guy is ready for the kill. The system warns, vampirism. The ability is active and now the creature will attack. The system alerts that life has increased and the wounds are healing. Kadim takes a deep breath and says, "Now this feels right. I feel like I will survive." The guy seems renewed. Loban looks at him and lets out a bizarre laugh. The beast is thirsty for blood. Kadim knows it's still not enough, but he stares at the beast with hatred. He calls the bastard for another round. Audio filled with blood in his eyes. Blood flies everywhere. Loban receives a sharp blow. The beast feels the weight of the guy's hand. The sword splits the wolf's head in half. Blood sprays everywhere and the beast feels the force of the blow. Tadim grips the weapon tightly, covered in blood. The guy has a sinister look. He won't stop until he takes everyone down. The system alerts. Life restored and wounds healed. The cut on the guy's chest vanishes in the blink of an eye as he fully regenerates. Kadim looks at the body and is taken aback. Even the fatal wound from the blessed weapon has closed completely. The guy is as good as new to continue the brawl. Kadim is surrounded by dead wolves and blood everywhere. The guy grips the sword and says, "What's up?" It was actually good for these beasts to show up. Loban lies on the ground with his face covered in blood. The beast is done for. Kadim glances at the ancient writing and guesses the name is Mosquito. The effect is vampirism. He strikes the beast and immediately recovers some life. However, the weapon is low level and the healing is weak. To recover fully, he would need to slaughter dozens of monsters. And if the enemy has no blood, the sword becomes trash. Kadim sighs in relief. He closes his eyes and decides that for now that's enough. All covered in blood, Kadinho realizes it would create a special effect without spending materials. It's an insane advantage. By hitting the targets, he gains weapons with new effects every time. Kadima grips the sword with bloodied hands. He knows that waiting too long only brings problems. A lesson he learned from his first life. The guy peeks behind the wood, terrified. He stutters, "Is it over?" The guy is in shock seeing the wolf leader dead and the rest slaughtered. He cannot comprehend how Kadim is still standing, since the barbarian was in terrible shape and should have fallen long ago. He tries to ask if Kadinho is okay, but he freezes immediately. The guy notices that the bites have disappeared, and even the cut from the Holy Night closed. Out of nowhere, he doesn't understand how this is possible. Kadinho faces the traveling merchant. He asks dryly, "Why didn't the guy flee?" Soon the merchant freezes in total shock. He lets out a "huh," not understanding anything. Kadinho gets straight to the point. If the guy had fled when the wolves attacked, he wouldn't even be able to follow. The merchant only responds with a "huh," still not understanding. The guy becomes thoughtful, trying to process what he heard. He lets out a "huh" and has a look of confusion. Then he lets out a scream of terror and freezes in fear. The merchant stutters, "If I fled, I would become wolf food." Kadim realizes he still thinks about running away, but the guy desperately denies everything. The merchant realizes he hadn't even considered fleeing. He was all worked up about the wounded barbarian. Kadim tells the guy to keep watch. He is dead tired and wants to sleep. Kadim turns his back and leaves. The merchant only stutters. "Ah, yes, sir." Kadim delivers the message. "If you flee while I sleep, you'd better disappear. If it catches you, it will rip out your guts to make a rope. The guy is sinister. The merchant is stunned. He wonders if it's a joke, but seeing it's from a barbarian, he knows the talk is serious. The guy is terrified. Night falls. Only the sounds of creatures in the woods are heard. The merchant cries by the fire. The guy is scared to death by Cadino's threat. The merchant wakes up exhausted in the sunlight and groans. He's just a shell of himself. He warns that it will take 10 days to reach the alliance. The south is vast and takes time to cross. Kadim asks if they will pass through the border without trouble. Kadim gets straight to it. He prefers to avoid crossing paths with another holy knight if possible. The guy wants to steer clear of trouble with these people. The merchant says that's why they came this poorly monitored route. He warns that the current risk is the bandits, not the knights. The merchant insists that bandits are nothing to Kadim. The barbarian is left in doubt. The guy thinks for a human, nothing. But for this barbarian, the merchant warns there's a castle named Montana along the way to get food. It's so far that the faith of Elga doesn't even reach there. He explains that the roads of the alliance are well kept. The guy shows the map and says that it's through the shortcut. They're soon on the Golden Road. From there to Vistana is quick. No delays. Kadim realizes the road leads straight to the coastal city in the east. He knows the journey will be tough, but it's still much better than in the old days. 300 years ago, the east was only about fights among small kingdoms. People closed ranks, and nobody accepted outsiders, especially not a huge barbarian who could cause a ruckus out of nowhere. Everyone is wary of him. Kadim remembers that even Melissa treated him like an insect at first. She didn't understand anything. The barbarian asked to travel with them, and she was just surprised. She took notes. The guy looks like an ogre, and he might be a monster. Melissa thought he was a dangerous criminal. The prejudice from the sorceress was heavy. Kadim recalls what Melissa wrote about their first meeting. He smiles a little, thinking this useless memory popped into his head out of nowhere. The merchant warns that the Alliance of Free Cities doesn't really bother with people like Kadim these days. He tells the barbarian not to worry about it. Kadim tells the guy to stop pretending and stop talking nonsense. The merchant swears it's true but looks confused by the barbarian's reaction. The merchant looks to the road and sees an armed group ahead. They're standing there making a lot of noise. Kadim asks the merchant what he thinks about that scene up ahead. The guy stutters, frozen, not knowing what to say to the barbarian. From their clothes they look like bandits, but the group scolding them is different. The merchant admits he doesn't understand what's happening there. Where? I installed the tongue. Getting involved will only lead to trouble. He immediately tells the merchant to turn back and take another path to avoid confrontation. The hooded guy is startled and goes into total shock. He freezes right away. The group sees both of them and shouts for them to stop. Everyone jumps at the sudden approach. The guy clicks his tongue, annoyed, complaining that this is a hassle. He didn't want this trouble. Heavy footsteps on the ground. The men charge forward towards Kadim without mercy. With a firm hand on the sword's hilt, the guy prepares to draw steel and slice through everyone. He grips the weapon tightly. He is ready to cut down whoever comes at him. Kadim draws his steel and faces the crowd coming towards him. The guys charge at him. The merchant Kadin remains silent. The look on the guy's face is sinister. He is ready for anything. The hooded figure freaks out and lets out a bizarre scream. The creature's eyes shine and he completely loses control. The guy claps his hands loudly. The crack is sharp and he prepares for what's coming next. The hooded guy splits his lip and mocks. Did you see that? They said he wouldn't come. He tells everyone to rush him. Now Kadin looks confused, like a deer in headlights. The guys shout that the cowards are fleeing. Tell them to run and inform their idiot chief. Everyone laughs seeing the guys flee like rats. The gang thinks Kadin is their tough leader, but the hero doesn't understand this nonsense. Radim stands firm and warns. I'm going to ask just one more time what you're doing. The hooded man apologizes and thanks the help of the barbarian. He starts mocking. You should call him Horned Fury of Agam. Radim sighs and tells the truth. That's not Horned Fury. He won't help anyone. Either get out of the way or die. Everyone freezes immediately. The hooded guy is in shock and asks if he really isn't the brave warrior. The guys fall completely silent. The shock is so immense that no one speaks. The man stutters. Then what are you? He grabs the handle of his weapon, ready to fight. The hooded guy freaks out and yells, asking who he thinks he is to confuse everyone. He curses Kadin, filled with hatred. The merchant screams in fear. Kadin remains quiet, staring at the crazy man with a sinister look. The hooded guy loses it and screams that he is a nobody, who appeared out of nowhere to confuse everyone. He demands to know how Kadin will pay for this nonsense. Kadin notices the guy changed instantly upon realizing he's not who they thought. He wonders if the gang thinks they have the upper hand just because there are more of them. The bald man spots the hidden guy and asks if he's a porter. He looks at the huge backpack and immediately gets greedy, wanting to know if there's anything valuable inside. The crazy man tells the guy to come closer to check the backpack. The poor guy freezes in fear while the bald man stretches out his hand. I won't eat you. I already said to come here. The crazy man screams, completely losing it. Cadinho just stares in silence. The guy looks up and says, huh? He doesn't understand anything. The bald guy with the scar loses his cool. He complains that the guy confused everyone. Now he demands money to compensate for the lack of backup in the fight. Cadinho remains silent. He just glares at the lunatic with a very sinister look. The bald guy gets irritated because they won't let him search anything. He changes his tone and makes a new proposal to Cadinho. The gang calls the guy for a fight. They want him to pretend to be the furious horn to scare the enemies, saying it will be easy. The guys tell Cadinho to act like the Furious Horn. He just needs to yell that he's a big barbarian in the fight, and that's it. No one will suspect a thing. The bald guy won't steal the backpack if he helps. He blames Cadinho for the mess and states the truth. If the guy is a man, he must own what he did. The bald guy mocks and asks if Cadinho is a woman. He jokes and questions what he should do for being so rude. Everyone bursts out laughing. The guy says he can't tell the difference between male and female. The lunatics tease that Cadinho is frozen in fear and will cry. The merchant sweats cold. Cadinho is silent, and the thugs are losing their cool. He wonders if the guy is holding back to avoid trouble with this gang. The bandit with the sink on his shoulder says, "It's decided, buddy," thinking the guy is on his side. Cadinho shoots him a cold look. He is on the verge of losing his patience with these lunatics. The bald guy pushes friendship, says everyone must introduce themselves, and asks what his name is. Barbarian buddy. Cadinho warns that he will gladly say his name and draws his sword. In a flash, he strikes swiftly. Cadinho slices the bandit mercilessly, and the lunatic only lets out a "huh?" as blood sprays everywhere. The bald guy's head falls to the ground and rolls away. The guy was sliced without any chance. Everyone freezes at that moment. The guys are confused, shocked by what just happened. The lunatic freezes and lets out a scream of terror. He is in total shock. The bandits go crazy. The budget has lost its mind and died. The loader simply sighs. He already knew things would go wrong. The bandits surround the guy. They know who they have messed with. One screams and warns that Cadinho won't leave alive. Not by any means. Cadinho grips his bloody sword and responds, "My name is Kadim." He doesn't even blink at the gang. Kadim tells it like it is. He is the great warrior of Atala. He looks at everyone with a heavy gaze. When the mood shifts, a butterfly lands gently on a trunk, with the bright blue sky in the background. The butterfly rests on the axe handle. The atmosphere is peaceful in the middle of the forest. A hand suddenly grips the axe handle. The butterfly gets startled and quickly flies away. Kadim brings the axe down hard on the guy's head. Blood sprays and the entire gang is sprawled out on the ground. The guy shows no mercy. He looks at the mess with the bloody axe resting on his shoulder and simply mutters, "Rum." The axe is a wreck. The blade is all chipped and the handle is loose, shaking everywhere. The creature wasn't even meant for a fight, and the guy still went all out. Ignoring the remains of the tool at his waist, he figures he needs to get a real axe as soon as the group reaches a castle. The guy freezes and shakes intensely. He's breathless from sheer terror. He panics. He calls out for Gavin, Medin, and Morg, asking if everyone is dead. He trembles like a green twig with a little knife in hand. Kadim slowly turns his face. The guy doesn't even blink after he's sliced everyone up. The bandit leaps back and screams. The guy is in total shock, filled with fear. He tries to retreat, but his foot slips in the dirt. He faceplants into the ground, letting out a kelk. Kadim tells it like it is. The guy doesn't need to worry about his ankles anymore, and he won't even have to use the axe again. Kadim steps hard on the guy's back and warns. Either he answers everything or he'll be without a spine. The bandit screams in pain. Kadim states the fact, they are criminals, and what's the deal with those who fled? He wants to know who the so-called Furious Horn of Agon is. The bandit just groans in pain, remaining silent. The guy is totally messed up on the ground. The loader explains that Agon is right in the center of the Alliance of Free Cities. Kadim listens intently. The city has the biggest arena of them all, filled with mercenaries chasing money. The Furious Horn is a legendary barbarian who has won the championship many times. Kadim ponders and asks if they mistook him for that barbarian. The loader confirms that he did. This is probably it. The loader thinks it's strange. The guy is so famous that even the big shots from the city can't easily see him. Even with a lot of money, he would never come to a place like this. The thug freaks out and shouts that his boss has been tight with the barbarian for a long time. He swears that if the boss asks for help or something, the Furious Horn will drop everything to come save them. With his face on the ground, the guy still tries to intimidate. He just waits for the Furious Horn to show up. The guy is terrified, but he won't shut up for anything. Kadim steps hard, and the thug screams that they are done for. The guy swears that everyone is dead. The thug curses the Black Hammer gang. He says they stole the territory of the Blood Cave gang. That's why the boss called his buddy the so-called Furious Horn for help. The loader looks at the thug and states the truth. "Man, you got played big time." The guy is confused and says, "What?" The loader explains that if the boss was friends with the Furious Horn, he wouldn't be robbing in this dead-end place. The barbarian could just give him a few bars of gold to open a shop in town. The thug looks dumbfounded, not understanding anything. He starts connecting the dots and stutters. He doesn't want to believe that the boss tricked everyone. Kadim knows the bill will come due. He decides to attack first to avoid an ambush. He plans to raid the thugs without mercy. The goal is to grab supplies and score a better weapon. Cadinho man, the loader states the truth. He will finish off the rest of the gang and demands to be taken to the hideout now. The thug is confused and panics. He stutters, all locked up, trying to say he can't do this at all. Kadim steps hard onto the thug's back. Total pressure, and the guy feels the weight of the boot. The thug screams in pain and surrenders. He yells that it's enough and begs Kadim to stop already. This is the hideout of the Blood Cave gang. Two guys watch the entrance. One is near the fire and the other leans against the rock. They are just lounging around inside. The boss sits on a red throne, looking laid back. He is surrounded by chests and barrels, thinking he owns the place. The gang leader is lounging in the throne, looking completely bored. The guy has a scar on his face and doesn't even move. With the arrival of Kadim, the guy introduces himself as Graham, the leader of the Blood Cave gang. He acts wild, claiming to be like a brother of the famous Furious Horn of Agon. Graham shouts that he became famous in the Agon arena. This guy boasts that he was a brave gladiator, full of pride. Pure lies. He admits that the Furious Horn doesn't even know he exists. He was just a mediocre gladiator, who retired with 1 win and 4 losses. Graham sighs and confesses he lied about the messenger just to make the thugs stop bothering him. He knows the Furious Horn would never come to this hole to save his skin. The guy wonders where he went so wrong. He just wanted to live a simple life. But now everything has fallen apart. He remembers his idiot thugs who believed all his lies. He was just fine being a small-time crook in this hellhole, and that was good enough for him. The guy gets pissed and blames the Black Hammer gang. Those bastards should have stayed at the border instead of coming to mess with him in his territory. Graham mutters that if the Furious Horn showed up, he'd be finished. A thug comes running, shouting the name of the Barbarian, and the boss doesn't care, thinking it's just another annoyance. The thug screams that the Furious Horn is nearby. Graham is utterly shocked and lets out a "what?" without understanding anything. The thug yells desperately for the boss to save him, but his words are cut off by a sharp thud. Graham is confused, repeating the cry for help and the noise he heard. Cadence attacks the thug's head with a swift blow. The guy lets out one last scream as blood splatters everywhere. Graham is in total shock. He stutters, unable to believe what he's seeing, realizing everything has collapsed for him. He freaks out at the sight. He notices the Barbarian's clothing and Kadim's monstrous physique. The guy stomps forward menacingly. Graham is paralyzed. He wonders if it's really the Furious Horn of Agon as he sees the axe dripping blood. Everything has fallen apart. Kadim appears, covered in blood, and says, "What's up?" He stares at the crazy guy and bluntly asks if he is the boss. Graham freezes and goes silent. He goes into shock and just stutters, asking who this guy is. Kadim, blood-soaked, says. Then he bluntly asks if the guy is the boss. The guy has a sinister look. He's all marked and covered in blood. He stares hard at Graham. He's seen the real Furious Horn before. He knows this guy is no joke. Where did this barbarian come from to destroy the gang out of nowhere? If the guy reached the throne, it's over. Grove, wake up. The henchmen outside are all done for. Only the trail of blood is left. If Gara admits that even if the guy isn't the Furious Horn, he is definitely a very dangerous bastard. He clicks his tongue and punches everything in hate. The guy is furious about the situation. He shouts and charges with everything. He decides to attack first to see if it solves anything. Kadime just watches and asks if the guy is really going to fight barehanded. He finds the idea interesting and isn't even shaken. The guy is furious, his eyes are shining. He grits his teeth and charges with rage. Kardim is startled and lets out an "uh-huh." The guy came at him too fast. He gets hit immediately. Kardim is too quick, and the blow lands hard. The Greymon throws himself on the ground and begs for his life. He calls Kadinho Big Brother, and kneels right away to avoid more punches. Grant tries to buy his life with a chest of treasure and calls the guy Big Brother. Kadim, with a sinister look, tells him to stop the nonsense. Right away the guy corrects himself, pointing to more items at the back of the cave. Kadim sees the desperation and thinks this is indeed the attitude of someone who wants to live. Remembering his own past, Grama tries to negotiate, but freezes upon seeing the sword rising. He desperately asks why the guy is lifting the weapon so high and feels that the end is near. The guy falls into total despair and pleads for him to reconsider. He even offers to pay tribute every time Kadim visits the cave, just to try to save his own neck. Grama panics. He realizes that Kadim won't hear anything and gets pissed. The guy survived brutal arenas only to die this pathetic way. But suddenly the guy freezes and lets out a "huh?" He widens his eyes, shocked. Gra looks at the axe and freezes. He realizes that it is Grandma. He panics and screams, offering the treasure map. He tries everything to save his neck. While facing the crucible, Granbera activates the map that shows where a dwarf throwing axe is located. He plays his last card to try to save himself. Kadime freezes and repeats, "Dwarf throwing axe." The guy is intrigued by what he just heard. The grass quivers and confirms. The axe is a dwarf relic, made with the souls of the craftsmen. The guy tries to save himself with words. Kadim tells him to spill the beans. Grandpa realizes he's got the mercenary hooked. You can't even find something like this in the black market. Bram says the blade never dulls. The axe flies on its own just like a bird to hit its target. The guy assures that the thing is incredible and that Kadim will love it. Kadim knows that India isn't just hype. Besides the high stats, it has a special effect that leaves human weapons in the dust. Only something blessed can approach the level of that axe. Therefore, getting the dwarf equipment was almost an impossible mission. The thing is truly rare. Just like in every fantasy game, there are dwarves and elves around, but they are minor races and almost never appear in the story. In the game it was a piece of cake, but in reality it's different. Dwarves hate humans and don't sell anything. There's no chance of getting such an item easily. If the bandit spoke the truth, Kadime won't miss the opportunity. He needs fierce weapons to stop relying so much on demon blood. Kadime gets real. Where is the map? Graham stutters and says he'll only spill if the guy promises to spare his life. The guy knows this is his only chance to survive. He won't give up the gold that easily since the map is what's saving his neck right now. Kadinho finds humor in the audacity. He says it's funny that a little bandit thinks he can negotiate with him. The guy isn't falling for the nonsense. A swift strike. The blade cuts through the air in a quick motion. He charges to put an end to the nonsense once and for all. The blade pierces the guy's chest in the blink of an eye. Graham doesn't even see where it came from and can only let out a huh, not understanding anything that just happened. Barra screams in pain with metal in his chest. Kadima coldly warns that if it's about negotiating, he has tricks up his sleeve too. The bandit is done for. Kadima warns he will stab the guy until he talks. He tells the thug to hold on until he turns into a rag. The grass chokes with fear and shakes with a steel lodged in its chest. In the hideout of the Black Hammer Gang, a guy screams, swearing he saw everything. He begs them to believe him. Two guys argue. The bald one says the other is just talking nonsense. He asks the boss to trust him. The partner gets furious and tells him to shut up. The hammer crushes the ground. Boss Dara commands them to stop. That's enough. The big guy with an eye patch sits on the throne and stares at the two. He asks, so what are you guys saying? It's Kriva. The boss of the Black Hammer Gang is taken aback. He asks if the so-called Horned Fury of Agon really came to the border to help the Blood Cave Gang. The guys tremble and confirm everything, stammering. They are terrified of the boss. Krevin stares at them and questions if this story makes sense. He hasn't bought the talk. The henchmen plead with the boss to believe. They swear they saw a giant barbarian the size of a bear with a group. Grevin just listens in silence. Grevin realizes these idiots saw something to be talking like this. He remembers the rumors that Grandma and the so-called Horned Fury of Agon were close, but he thinks it's nonsense. It doesn't make sense for a legendary champion to help a petty thug. To him, the guy just hired some random barbarian mercenary to put on a show and bluff. But, just to be careful, Kriven gets anxious. If it really is the Horned Fury of Agon fighting, things will get ugly for him. Boss, it's an invasion. A henchman barges in shouting. He warns that the Blood Cave Gang is charging into the hideout. Kreva is startled and wants to know how many there are. The henchman informs him it's just two, their leader and another guy. The guy is sweating cold from fear and reveals the other is a giant barbarian everyone thinks is the legendary Horned Fury of Agon. Everyone flips out. The guys can't believe this creature wants to fight alone. Kreven keeps to himself, just observing his subordinates' confusion. Kreven frowns. He doubts it's real, but he knows that if it's true, things will be tough for him. He is Van Saka. You can't confront directly. He orders the goof-offs to the back of the barricade and the rest to hide in the bushes to set up an ambush. The guy grips the weapon's handle tightly. In high tension, he orders everyone to shoot the arrows as soon as he gives the signal. The giant hammer slams down hard, making a loud noise. The creature is heavy and ready for destruction. Kreven rests the hammer on his shoulder with a serious look. He gets real and says it's time to check if the barbarian is truly that legendary. Kreven adjusts the hammer on his shoulder and thinks out loud. If the guy is indeed the legendary, Furious Waterhorn, things are going to get intense. Graham groans in pain. Cadinho moves steadily through the woods and warns that they are almost at their destination. Grandma is cold sweating and asks if the guy will really enter the hideout of the Black Hammer Gang. He is terrified. Kardim stares at the crazy guy with a heavy look. He wants to know if the map is really there or if it was all just talk. Grandma stammers and says the map was in their territory, but they lost everything to the guys. Kardim just stares at the crazy guy in silence. The guy is cold sweating and gets real. They are facing a giant gang. He thinks that coming in like this wide open is asking to get screwed. Cadinho asks about the number of enemies. Brown, terrified, lies that there are 100 cruel guys. He thinks that with so many people, the warrior will chicken out and run away. Cadinho thinks deeply. He believes that 100 is too many for a little border gang. The guy is assessing the size of the problem. Grandma agrees, desperate, and suggests running away to get reinforcements and come back later. The guy is scared to death. Jimmy doesn't care. He says he will tire himself out killing, so it's better to run back before sunset. The guy is incredibly tough. Graham freezes and blurts out, "Huh?" The guy is pale with fear from what he just heard. The two sides meet, faces in the cabin. Kreven wide open right at the hideout's entrance. Kreven and Cadinho stare closely at each other. A heavy atmosphere. The looks between them are pure hatred, and neither backs down an inch. "I didn't expect to find you like this, Grandma," Kreven yells, wanting to know what the hell the guy is doing in his territory. Brown laughs in Kreven's face and keeps it real. The question is dumb. He yells to everyone that today is the end of the Black Hammer Gang. He introduces his buddy as the great champion of the arena. He calls the guy Furious Horns from Agom. But Kadim doesn't understand anything. Everyone freezes immediately. The guys are stunned and wonder if this guy is really Furious Horns from Agom. The shock is complete and no one moves a muscle. Graham smirks wickedly. He wants everyone to focus on the barbarian. This way he can slip away while the fighting breaks out. His plan is to vanish and let Kadim handle it alone. Kadim asks what the guy is doing and grabs his hair tightly. Graham lets out a groan of pain as he is shaken. Kadim tells everyone that this is not the Furious Horns. He states clearly, he doesn't want to fight, he just wants the item he came for, and that's it. Kadim stares at the guy and says it straight. There doesn't need to be any bloodshed between them, right? The guy just wants to settle things peacefully and without any fuss. Kreven flashes a mocking smile. He already knew this guy wasn't the real Furious Horns from Agom. Now he feels the situation has become easier for him. Kadim shouts to everyone that this is not the Furious Horns. He shakes Graham and warns, "I just want his item and I'm not in the mood for a fight." The guy looks firmly and speaks truthfully. He says he's just giving a heads up, but there's really no need for bloodshed between them now, right? Kreven smiles, thinking he already knew everything. To him, the guy is just a mercenary that Graham paid. Now he is trying to jump ship to avoid dying in this trap. But one thing puzzles the villain. Why is the guy so calm? If he's not the Furious Horns, he wonders why Kadim hasn't realized he's in deep trouble. The giant hammer smashes down on the ground. A bizarre impact kicks up dust. The guy prepares his crossbow to shoot. He's focused and ready to fire. Kraven flashes a sinister smile and readies his blade. The guy wants to see blood. Everyone circles Kadim, all buzzing with excitement. The guy finds himself surrounded by armed psychos and simply says, "And now?" The situation has soured. Trevin pretends to help and asks which item Kadim wants. He even offers his goons for backup, acting all charming. Kadim speaks plainly. He wants a map. The guy warns that he doesn't need help and tells the gang to clear a path. Everyone is confused. A map? The big guy freezes, total shock. He can't even hide his surprise. The guy pulls out the old map with an X marked on it. "Are you talking about this?" the guy asks. He totally freaks out. He is in shock and stutters. He doesn't understand how the other got the map. He is sweating bullets from the revelation. Kraven realizes that the grain hid the map. He said a thug found the paper on a stone. If there are so many people after it, the treasure must be extremely valuable. Kraven smirks and asks if Kadim came after the map. The guy feels like he owns the situation. Kadim is startled and widens his eyes. He didn't expect the map to be right there. Kraven bursts out laughing and tears the map apart. The guy doesn't care. Graham freaks out and asks if the guy is crazy for tearing the map. The paper becomes trash. Kadim just stares, already biting his own beard, grinding his teeth in pure hatred. The guy throws his head back, trembling. He stutters that this is complete madness. Kraven lets out a burp and challenges Kadim to grab the map now. The guy is feeling confident. He gets real. That is, if you can, of course. Haha, the villain is laughing hard. Kadim stares at the villain and accepts the challenge. He says that if that's what the guy wants, he will do it with great pleasure. The grain behind is just sweating from fear. The guy gives a sinister smile and warns that he is in a hurry. He wants to take the map from the villain before it reaches his stomach. Things are about to get intense. Kleven freaks out and orders an immediate attack. He shouts for everyone to shoot and not let Kadim get close. The villain is desperate to stop him. One of the thugs smiles and already pulls the trigger of the crossbow. The mechanism clicks and the shot is coming fast. The thug lets go and the crossbow fires. The projectile flies straight at the guy. Kadim focuses on the danger. The guy is right there, handsome, and his eyes don't leave the incoming arrow. The guy tries to yell for everyone to run, but suddenly a hand grabs his neck. He stutters and freezes, not understanding what happened. Kardim is already there and holds the dude tight. The villain freaks out and screams desperately, seeing that things have really gone south. A rain of arrows cuts through the air with force. The projectiles fly quickly toward the album Cladamusa. The villain uses a human shield. The guy takes several arrows. He screams in pain as blood flies. The creature is really messed up. Grandma goes crazy and screams, unable to believe what that bastard did. The guy is in total shock from Kadim's maneuver. The villain screams in pain, but Kadim remains silent and cold. Brown is stunned. He thinks the guy is completely insane for treating his boss this way. Gran is in shock. He can't believe the guy used the other as a human shield, without mercy. The creature is sweating cold with such coldness. Gran screams to aim where the body is exposed. He orders them to reload quickly and shoot together, to settle the score once and for all. The henchman struggles to reload the crossbow and curses in hatred. The guy is sweating cold trying to grab an axe. He swings the air hard, the blow comes heavy and no one can dodge it. The guy is startled and freezes. He looks down, unable to believe what is happening. The blow hits squarely and blood splatters everywhere. The other guy back there is in shock watching the carnage. He hears the snap and the arrow strikes directly in the guy's forehead. Blood flies everywhere and he collapses instantly, not even understanding what hit him. Jimmy stares at everyone with a sinister look. With his hand all covered in blood, the guy is focused and won't stop until the job is done. The henchman freaks out and tells everyone to duck because the barbarian is throwing an axe. He is furious that that bastard has already unleashed his rage. The creature screams in pain and begs him to stop, but Kadim does not care. He uses the guy as a human shield and lets the arrows come in fully. An arrow pierces the guy's hand completely. He lets out a groan of pain as blood splatters everywhere. The creature goes berserk and curses Kadim with every name. He screams in desperation, begging to be killed already. But Kadim is unfazed and remains cold. Grandma flips out with the archers and screams that shooting separately won't do any good. He tells those idiots to stop firing right now, before he freaks out. The guy completely loses it and yells for everyone left to advance. He orders a full charge against Kadim, shouting at the top of his lungs for them to attack. Everyone rushes in screaming. Kadim holds the wounded guy while the army advances. Kadim tightens his grip on the creature's neck. The guy screams in pain as he is choked, with no mercy. Kadim smashes the guy into the ground. The guy screams and blood flies. Brutal beating. Kadim drops the flask. There are too many people. The mosquito heals almost everything, but it can break badly if you're careless. Kadim is bloodthirsty. He warns that he will end everything quickly in his way. The guy is determined to settle the score now. The bearded man freezes. He doesn't understand what the guy drank. He wonders if it was alcohol or water. The crazy guy was just thirsty. Kadim feels an absurd euphoria, much greater than when he took the whole flask. His body boils with sinister red energy. The guy grips the sword's hilt tightly. He is ready to unleash hell on everyone. Kadim stomps firmly on the ground. The guy is charged with energy and ready to break everything. The guy's gaze is sinister, glowing in pure red. He is bloodthirsty, ready to destroy everyone. Everyone charges in, bloodthirsty. The guys shout that the gang leader messed up at the wrong time. They tell a guy to stop pretending to be dead. The guys freeze. One of them stutters, not understanding anything. The barbarian simply disappeared from in front of them. Kadim slits the guy's throat and blood flies. The other crazy guy freezes at that moment. Two more lose their heads. One screams for his own head and everyone panics, wondering where the barbarian went. The demon blood buffet activates. Kadim stomps hard on the ground. The impact is brutal and the red energy explodes with agility. The guy becomes a blur and slashes everyone. There are cuts everywhere and no one sees where the blow comes from. Kadim is unstoppable. The guys panic. One screams asking why Kadim is so fast. The other complains that when he blinks, someone is already on the ground. The blade cuts through the air in a red blur. It's a blow too fast for anyone to see. The guy doesn't even see where it came from. Kadim slices the guy's throat in a blur and blood splatters. The guy is in total shock as he is cut down. Another gets a nasty cut on the face. The strike is too quick and the guy only feels the trace of the blade. Kadim doesn't stop and continues the massacre mercilessly. Kadim slashes another one. The guy takes a clean cut and blood flies. It's too fast. The madman didn't even see he was hit. General panic ensues. One screams that another has fallen and orders a reaction, but the other retorts that he can't even see the Cadinho. The leader only observes the slaughter in silence. As the troops are being ground down, the guy is in total shock. He doesn't understand what he's seeing. He can't believe that a barbarian has the divine power of Elga. Where did this madman come from? What a monster. Kadim looks sinister, all covered in blood, with a heavy red aura. The guy has become a killing machine. He swallows hard, sweating cold. He's terrified by what he sees. The leader shouts for the fools to prepare their weapons and bring them to him. The guys are startled but quickly obey. The guy readies the crossbow and sets the bolt in position. He's ready to fire. The leader aims firmly. He knows that no matter the speed, Kadim always leaves an opening. When the dying troops stop and the space widens, it becomes easier to hit the target. The leader aims the crossbow. He sees the Cadinho attacking. It appears, roots its feet, and then turns its back to hunt the next target. The guy is a beast, all covered in blood. It's now or never. The guy screams and pulls the crossbow trigger with all his might. He won't miss this chance. The leader fires. The bolt flies whizzing toward the Kadim. The guy is desperate to silence the noise once and for all. The bolt comes straight for the Kadim. The guy is in the midst of the carnage and doesn't even notice the projectile coming at full force. He senses the danger and jumps. The bolt is almost glued to the guy's neck. The leader flashes a bizarre grin and screams that he got him. He is convinced that the bolt finally hit the Cadinho squarely. A good arrow slicing through the air with all its might. The attack comes too quickly. The Cadinho is caught off guard. The arrow strikes his neck and the guy freezes in that moment. The bald man with the scar breaks into a wide smile and shouts that he got the guy. He believes the plan has worked. The Kadima's eyes widen as the weapon grazes his face. The creature nearly got crushed. Now the scarred guy freezes too. He is in shock at what he sees. Kadima holds the arrow with his bare hand. The tip pierces his palm and blood drips down. Kadima doesn't even blink. He grips the arrow and snaps it in his hand. And he stares. An enemy. In complete silence, the guy has blood in his eyes. The bald man freaks out. He can't believe the guy caught the arrow with his hand. Pure madness. He is terrified, not understanding what kind of madness this is. Kadim steps firmly on the ground. He advances mercilessly, stepping over those who have already fallen. The guy is a monster, bloodied and with a sinister look. Kadim moves forward and instills fear in everyone. The hooded man warns, he's coming this way. The big bald man freaks out and orders the crossbows to be prepared. Now they must not let him reach the boss. The guy orders everyone to advance and attack at once. He moves too quickly. There are only traces of light cutting through everything in the blink of an eye. Kadim slices through everyone. Blood flies everywhere, and the guys don't even see the strike. He cleans up without mercy. Kadim has blood in his eyes, all dirty. The guy stares down his enemies with absurd hatred. He will not stop for anything. The guys lose their minds. The hooded guy screams that he won't stop. The bald man realizes that the crossbows only irritated Kadim and that the target has changed. This is bad. The bald man shouts, wanting to know about the crossbows. The other stutters that only 3 are left. The big guy tells everyone to listen carefully. He will share the plan now. The guy already grabs the weapon's handle. He prepares to pull the thing and charge forward with everything. A giant stone hammer slams down hard. The weight of the thing is absurd and makes everything tremble. The scarred bald man swings the hammer with all his might. He puts all his strength into trying to crush Kadim at once. A brutal stomp cracks the ground. The foot descends with sinister red energy, locking the movement forcefully. Kadim becomes a shadow. The guy advances with the sinister red aura, charging forward with everything. The bald man sweats cold. He knows that Kadim will arrive in an instant and that even his hammer won't suffice. The scarred bald man is sweating profusely. He glances sideways, terrified of what is coming. Kadim's foot stops next to the fallen weapon. No one says a word. The silence is total. Kadim emerges with a sinister red aura and glares at the bald man with blood in his eyes. The enemy is alarmed, realizing that the beast is coming at him with everything. The bald man freaks out and brings down the hammer with all his might. He screams at Kadim, Take this and call that guy a damn barbarian. It's the final blow from the crazy one. The hammer explodes on the ground. Dust rises bizarrely. Kadim is startled by the impact. He lets out a groan of pain. He realizes the ground is giving way. He understands things have gotten serious. The bald guy freaks out. He curses everyone, calling them idiots. He yells for them to shoot right now. He is desperate to finish off Kadim. The guys fire their crossbows immediately. The arrows fly, cutting through the air, trying to hit the target any way they can. Kadim sees the enemy's cheap trick. The guy has blood in his eyes. The bald guy wants this done quickly. He tightens his grip on the weapon. Now a treacherous shot. An arrow flies quickly to catch Kadim by surprise. Kadim catches the arrows in mid-air. He thinks the trick is trash. The bald guy shouts for the barbarian to try and hold on to what's coming next. Kadim grips the arrow in his hand. The guy has blood in his eyes, staring at the enemy with absurd hatred. He won't let this go easily. The bald guy fires the crossbow with all his strength. The arrow shoots through, trying to hit Kadim any way possible. The beast is desperate to kill the guy. The bald guy laughs and challenges Kadim, asking what he will do if the shot comes straight at him. The crazy guy believes he has won this. Or will the shot hit him directly? Kadim bends with the impact, and a sinister red aura explodes. The guy truly felt the blow. Now Kadim bursts forth in a sinister red aura. The guy has bizarre hatred in his eyes, and looks like he's about to snap. The bald guy is in total shock. He feels cold and freezes, seeing that it's all falling apart and Kadim is coming at him with full force. Kadim slams through the bald guy with a brutal hit. Blood flies, and the crazy one didn't even see where the blow came from. The bald guy lets out a groan of pain. He is in total shock, feeling the damage. Kadim immobilizes the bald guy, and the crazy one screams in pain. The guy is defeated in the midst of that sinister red aura. The bald guy is in total shock. He doesn't understand how Kadim survived the direct shot from the arrow, trembling in fear. Kadim bites down on the arrow, shredding the wood with his teeth. The guy is filled with bizarre hatred. He spits the metal tip on the ground with force. The beast is unstoppable. The bald guy freezes and sweats cold. He can't believe that Kadim caught the arrow in his teeth from so close. The guy is in total shock. Kadim warns that he will deal with his subordinates and will be back soon. He tells the guy to wait quietly. The beast has blood in his eyes. Everyone is screaming for help. They shout to run away. The bald man shakes in fear in the silence while he hears the slaughter. The sword slams into the ground. Kadim is back to finish the job. Kadim stares at the bald man with that sinister red aura. The guy sweats cold and says he knows it's too late to talk. But the guy has lost his bravado. He begs, "Spare my life, please." He is dying of fear. Kadim says he won't kill the guy. He will just gut the man to get the map back. The beast is too cold. The bald man freaks out and screams that he doesn't need this. He swears he has memorized the whole map just to avoid being cut up. The fear of dying hit hard. The guy gives everything away. He says there's a deep hole under a stone in Molden Castle. Inside, a black chest hides an ancient treasure. Kadim is suspicious and asks why the guy didn't take the prize himself. He wants to know if the bandits were too scared of the Lord's punishment. The bald guy stammers and reveals that Molden is surrounded by hundreds of soldiers. That's why they fled from the border. The guy is trembling. Kadim cuts the talk and says he doesn't care about the guy's problems. He wants to know who is attacking Molden and why. The atmosphere is too tense. The guy reveals that the army belongs to Viscount Adlin. The excuse is to kill the Lord of Molden for a pact with a demon. But there's more to it, or the church would have intervened. Kadim frowns. He thought it was just about grabbing the map and leaving, but now he sees that things are deeper and the situation is turning into total chaos. Kadim warns that he will check the map to see if it's a lie. The bald man panics and screams, asking why he is doing this, since he already spilled the beans and told everything. Kadim is blunt and tells the truth. He doesn't believe anything that comes from a thug. He glares at the guy with blood in his eyes and remembers what he heard earlier. The beast is too cold. Kadim warns that he will take the map anyway. The bald man just goes silent, sweating cold in fear. The guy is frozen. Damn! The man grumbles as the fire consumes everything in the forest. The situation got ugly. Kadim throws the remnants of the map to the merchant. He tells the guy to figure it out and put it all together. The paper is all torn up and covered in blood. The merchant asks where the bandit hid the map to make it look like this. Kadim tells the truth, in the stomach. The guy almost dies of disgust upon hearing this. Kadim explains that the bandit swallowed the map and challenged him. He went in and pulled everything straight from the guy's stomach. The merchant just accepts the situation, pale with disgust. He finishes the bloody puzzle. He says the map matches what the bandit said. The paper is a mess, but it still works to guide the group. At least the guy didn't lie. If the map is real, then the trouble at Castle Molden is also true. Kadim is silent, just processing the information. For a demon, right? Where is it? Write down the name. The creature has realized things got serious and stares into nothing, ready for whatever comes. Night falls in the village. Total silence. Only the lights from the houses shine in the dark. The guy trembles and swears it's true. He says no one has passed through the village lately. The creature is desperate. The guy panics and swears nothing happened, just some injured people on the job. He begs them to believe him. As the atmosphere of dread settles in, someone shouts for the Holy Knight. The blonde in armor stands firm, ready for action. She asks if the guy has the courage to swear what he just said in front of Elga. She wants to see if he holds up his story. The blonde is troubled by what the guy just said. She looks at that crowd of frightened people and repeats his words in her mind. The atmosphere is heavy. She wants to know if there isn't a single drop of lie before the Lord of Light. The blonde stares intently and says, "Do you swear this in front of Elga?" Now the tension rises. The guy stutters and confirms that's exactly it. He is sweating cold from nerves, while the woman beside him stays silent, frozen in fear. The blonde focuses her gaze on the woman and speaks plainly. She wants to know if the woman has the courage to swear all this is true. Her gaze is pure ice. Kadim stated the facts. If anyone shows up in the village asking for him, no one speaks a word. The warning is clear. No talking about a demon appearing. If they ignore the warning and spill the beans, there will be consequences. Kadim remembers the promise. He will return for the general atrocity, and there will be no one left. His gaze is pure hatred. The woman lowers her head and swears it's true. She is sweating cold from fear. The blonde finds it strange because the target's tracks came this way. She glares at everyone and asks if no one passed by here. The guy stutters and swears by Elga that it's true. He says no mercenary passed through the village. Both are dying of fear. The blonde throws out a bait. "I never said the target was a mercenary." She did. She caught the lie in the air and the tension thickened. The woman freezes instantly and goes into total shock. She realizes the game is up. The blonde just stares and tightens her grip on the sword's hilt. The metal creaks and the atmosphere becomes heavy. The woman freezes and starts sweating cold. Her heart races because she knows the game is up. A scream of terror cuts through the silence. The blonde jumps and the villagers nearly die of fear. Something is happening nearby and everyone is frozen. Another bizarre scream echoes from the houses. The blonde stares into the darkness and asks, "What is that sound?" She gets alert because danger is right in front of them. The woman panics and tries to downplay it. She swears it's nothing and begs the blonde to ignore the scream. Her fear is palpable. The knight doesn't buy the excuse. She narrows her gaze toward the houses, sensing trouble. She knows they're lying. Total silence. Things just got serious. The blonde freezes and her eyes widen. She can't believe what she sees. The guy is on the ground, all twisted and drooling. He groans in pain and it looks bad. The blonde states the truth. The guy is possessed by a demon, a fierce one. The woman panics and denies everything, swearing it's just a childhood illness. The blonde steps forward and advances. She faces the scene with a cold stare, completely resolute. The woman lunges and grabs the blonde, screaming desperately. She begs the holy knight to stop and cries for mercy. The blonde raises her glowing hand and begins the prayer. The villager stutters in fear. She pleads for mercy for the possessed, and light illuminates everything. She focuses her gaze and shouts, "I consecrate this lamb." The light explodes and engulfs everything. The armored hand touches the guy's head and the light bursts. The ritual began. The glow engulfs the man on the ground. The blonde remains firm, while the Audion just looks shocked. The Audions freeze with the brightness. The woman feels a warm energy and says it's something sacred. The guy is in shock at what he sees. They shout for Marone. The guy stays unconscious, breathing deeply as the magic works on him. The blonde gets straight to the point. The kid is saved from the demon the devil planted. The mother grabs her son and cries with relief, screaming for her baby. She assures that from now on the boy's soul will never suffer from the whispers of the devil. It's forever. The woman looks relieved and tries to thank, but her voice barely comes out due to so much emotion. Fire explodes in her face. The woman freezes and says, "What?" Things went crazy, sword up and fire everywhere. The mother goes into shock, and the atmosphere becomes heavy. Things really went wild. She warns that whoever was tainted by evil does not stay alive. The boy must be sacrificed to cleanse the sin. She's going to kill the kid. The woman freezes and cannot believe what she sees. Marone's head is there on the ground burning. She doesn't understand anything, because the boy was in her arms moments ago. She lets out a soul-tearing scream. The reality hits and the woman descends into total despair, crying and screaming in pain. Her world has collapsed. The blonde tells the woman not to worry. She killed the kid only after expelling the demon. Now the boy rests with Elga. Total emphasis. But there's a catch. Those who do not believe broke the oath and will not have peace. The sword is already at the mother's neck. The blonde gets real. If she doesn't want to rot in eternal darkness, she better spill the truth now. She holds the sword firmly, ready to sweep the floor. She feels the evil spirit and wants to know where that barbarian went. The blonde freezes and looks for the guy, sensing something went wrong. Night falls and the sky fills with stars. Above the forest, Radim is standing with his arms crossed by the campfire. The ally is next to him, all beaten up and exhausted. The guy thanks Cadinho for taking out 2 gangs. They got food and extra supplies, so much that they couldn't take everything and left the rest behind. But the guy didn't find the elite weapons that Kadime wanted. The Protinia just stays silent, staring into nothing with that unfriendly face. Kadime stares firmly and asks, "Do you know anything about Lord Molden?" The guy wants answers now. The ally finds the demon baron strange. He heard rumors, but insists the nickname isn't due to a pact or rule. The ally remembers a merchant who loved Molden and thought the place was great. He speaks the truth. If the lord were a greedy piece of trash, the guy wouldn't miss it at all. Kadime isn't falling for that and says it proves nothing. He warns that many demons give everything just to take it back and watch people suffer in hell. The atmosphere got heavy. Kadime decides that the only way to get a dwarf weapon is to go after it himself. The guy is focused on solving this on his own. He has only a sip of blood and a sword. He doubts he can get past hundreds of soldiers in Molden's castle with just this little bit. Kadime is in his own zone. The ally approaches, hesitant, and asks permission to ask something. Kadime just stares at him, waiting for him to speak. The ally gets real. Didn't you call yourself the Great Warrior of Atala? He wants to know who earns that title. That's only for the brave who serve Atala. Kadime stares coldly and asks why he doubts. The guy freezes and says he heard that someone named Horn of Agam also calls himself a great warrior. The ally says he only knew one legendary mercenary with that title. Kadime freezes and responds with a huh? He is in total shock from what he heard. Kadime stands up suddenly, glaring at the guy. The ally jumps and lets out a gasp. The tension is real now. The ally throws himself on the ground, terrified. He screams that he committed a mortal sin with that useless question. Kadime says nothing, just stares down at the guy with that heavy look. Kadime explains that the title of Great Warrior isn't just a nickname for those who fight well. Only one person among all the Atalas can be called that way. It's much deeper than that. The title is sacred. Only those who hunt demons for the god of battle receive it. There are no two great warriors, but with that name you can wipe out one elite demon for good. Kadime sees he has only two options. He's a fool who knows nothing, or there's something much worse going on. Gardam thinks Atala forgot about him and chose the other. He clenches his fist with hatred. The guy is furious. Gotti tells him to get up and warns that it's not his fault. They set off for Molden at dawn. The ally is startled and agrees. Instantly Kadim steps firmly and begins to march. He's not going to waste time and already puts his foot on the road. Kadim wonders if the other is just an imposter, or if Atala has abandoned him for good. He stays focused while the ally just watches, not understanding anything. Kadim's eyes are filled with rage. He speaks the truth, it doesn't matter who it is. He will crush the guy as soon as they meet. They arrive at the castle in Molden. The place is sinister. The sky is completely overcast. Two spear guards watch the entrance. The guys are on alert, just keeping an eye out. The guards watch the high ground and the view is breathtaking. A massive camp with tents as far as the eye can see. Their army is heavy. The guards have unfriendly faces. The sky is heavy and the atmosphere between them is pure tension. These guys are not joking around. Kadim and the ally hide in the bushes. They keep low, spying on the entrance. The ally asks if there are really hundreds of soldiers there. He looks around and says there's no way in. Kadim tells the merchant to find a safe place to hide. He warns that he will invade the castle alone. The ally panics and asks if he's going to face hundreds of soldiers alone. Kadim explains that he will use the night to pass through the camp and deal with the sentries. The iron gate slams down. It's locked tight and the way is blocked. Kadim freezes and the ally freaks out. The guy stammers, not understanding why the castle gate closed suddenly. The ally shouts, the gate is opening. He panics and asks if Baron Molden wants to start a full-blown war now. Kadim doesn't know the reason but sees the perfect chance. With no time to think or hesitate, the guy prepares to act. Kadim tells the merchant to hold tight. The guy doesn't understand anything and asks, hold what? Kadim tightens his grip on the sword and stomps firmly, cracking the ground. He releases a red energy and charges into the attack. Kadim grabs the ally and makes an explosive leap. He lets out a scream of effort. He charges forward, enveloped in that sinister red aura. His eyes glowing red, he warns that he will break through everything at once. The guy is focused and will not stop for anything. The soldiers march out of the castle. The sound of boots hitting the ground is heavy. They are pouring out in droves. One of the guards notices something strange and freezes. The guy is completely confused. The guard only feels the wind. Kadim flies past him and the soldier doesn't even see the color of the plate. Kadim leaves a trail of blood. The guy slashes through and the heads of the soldiers fall immediately. He won't stop for anything. Kadim rips the head off a soldier and blood sprays everywhere. The guy has no mercy. A cold, focused gaze, the red energy boils, and he doesn't even blink amidst the slaughter. Kadim becomes a hurricane and slices through everyone. He carries the ally and cuts the soldiers like paper. Blood is all over the place. The guy does not stop. The soldiers freeze. He looks into nothing, unable to speak after the massacre. Dima finds it strange that the guys are not reacting. His partners are dying right in front of everyone, and no one moves. How bizarre. He doesn't know why, but there's no time for curiosity. The guy needs to get through while the gate is open and continues to hack through everyone. Kadim stomps hard and shatters the ground. The guy is flying to get through quickly. He stops in front of a soldier who freezes. The guard doesn't react, just stares at Kadim with a blank look. Kadim doesn't waste time and crushes the guy instantly. He hits the soldier with full force and blood flies. A brutal impact. The soldier's head explodes on the ground and nothing remains. It's a total massacre. Kadim releases the air, recovering his breath. The guy is exhausted but stands firm. Kadim announces that it's over and notices that the soldier was in front of the formation. The ally is so terrified he can only whimper in fear. The ground is a sea of blood. There are limbs and soldier bodies scattered everywhere. The massacre was complete and no one was left intact. Kadim stares at the trail of destruction, his red eyes shining. The guy is in a bizarre bloodlust and doesn't seem like he will stop. Now the long-haired guy freezes. He stares at Kadim and asks what he is. The creature is pure blood and holding the ally. The guy tries to respond but his voice fails. He just stammers, I'm the guy from the goatee. He says he only knows Baron Molden around here and asks who the hell Kadim is. The guy is in shock. Kadim stares at him and asks if he is the so-called demon baron. He questions why he is here alone outside the castle. The guy stammers and denies everything. He swears that the talk of being related to a demon is a lie. He claims the situation is complicated. Kadim doesn't want to hear it. He orders the guy to follow him to find out the truth. He says he has questions. The guy panics and asks to wait. The man loses it. He says he can't go back like this. He yells that he came to give his life for Molden right now and will not budge. Kadim loses his patience. He tells the guy to shut up and die. Then his gaze is pure ice. The guy is left speechless. The soldiers freeze. One of them wonders where everything went wrong. The atmosphere is heavy and the men don't know what to do. The soldier stammers, calling the man Baron. The guy is carrying a huge sack and tries to disguise it, laughing and saying he just brought water for the folks. Soldier Delton looks surprised and asks why the Baron is carrying weight if he could send the guards. The Baron ignores him and says the guy's parents would be proud of him as a soldier. The Baron states that bringing water is easy and the soldiers need rest. For him, the tough part is being on high alert for 4 months, not knowing when the enemy will show up to attack. Kareem tells the guy the truth. He says that because of an incompetent and immoral lord, everyone here is suffering a lot. The soldier erupts and defends the chief. He yells that the culprits are the conspirators and that the Baron did nothing wrong. For him, it's an honor to follow the man. The Baron closes his eyes and falls into heavy silence. The guy seems deep in thought. The Baron thanks him for the support, but he states the truth. He doesn't want to see this young man suffering anymore. The guy begins to walk, determined to put an end to this. The others freeze, standing there, not understanding what just happened. The tension rises. Luckily, the lack of firewood is no longer a problem. Baron Molden remains in heavy silence. He stares into the void with a face as if he is carrying something heavy, the world on her shoulders, while the woman observes the background. She doesn't waste time and gets straight to the point. She knows he didn't come just to chat about the weather. She asks what the guy wants there. The Baron asks if she remembers the tulips she planted last year. He even remembers that she ordered bulbs by color from the merchant of the Alliance. He looks at the desert around the castle and praises her good taste. The guy laments it would have been beautiful if those flowers had truly blossomed. The woman cuts to the chase. The castle is starving and tulips are useless now. She saw the children digging in the ground to eat the bulbs. Even scared, the little ones stuffed everything in their mouths. Total desperation. The woman glares at the Baron and asks if he scolded them. She wants to know the truth. The Baron closes his eyes, defeated. He thinks there's no point in scolding since the blame for everyone's suffering is all on him. The Baron states the reality. 4 months surrounded and without food. The people have traded their hoes for swords. If it continues like this, Molden is done for. He warns his wife that he will end it all today and die with honor. If he kicks the bucket, the Viscount loses the reason to continue the attack. The woman freaks out. She shouts that this is not the reason, and that he has nothing to do with any demon. The Baron retorts dryly, the truth doesn't matter, only profit and excuses. If they wanted the truth, they would have called the Sacred Knights long ago. The Baron states the truth. Silva hides. Not even with him dead will it stop. It's to inform the Emperor. If the king ignores the filth, the only option is to switch sides to the Alliance and ask for help. He hands her the future of Molden. The guy knows it's going to be crazy, but he hopes she can lead everything wisely. The Baron decides, the war ends today. He will die as the Demon Baron and save the people. That's it. He was going to sacrifice himself for Molden this way, but the plan has changed completely. The soldier panics and asks if the Baron is okay. The guy doesn't even respond, frozen, while a bloodied hand rests on him. Everyone wonders who this barbarian is. The guy looks sinister, covered in blood, with a red gaze that strikes fear into anyone. The soldier goes into total shock. He stammers and points at what he sees right ahead. He screams desperately that Elena's soldiers have appeared. The situation is serious. The soldiers growl and twist. The atmosphere has become heavy. The guy snaps. His eyes are red and he's shouting. He has lost complete control. Kadim remains quiet, silent entirely. The guy has a bizarre red look and a heavy aura, shocking the Baron and the soldiers. Right behind, the guy panics and shouts to close the castle gates. Now he orders everyone to run as fast as possible. The heavy iron gate descends, shutting everything. The twin soldier of pain, Kadim, rushes through the gate. That red aura, everyone loses it and starts screaming. The guys have completely lost their minds. The mustached guy warns that something is wrong with them. The other guy stays silent, sensing that the atmosphere has turned heavy. A red hand grips the weapon tightly and the guy gets startled. Kadim stares at everyone and demands the spear. Now the Baron and the soldiers freeze immediately, not understanding what the guy wants. He grips the weapon with all his might. The creature's arm swells, veins bulge, and its strength seems ready to explode. Kadim, giant with a sinister red aura, hurls the spear towards the army. The strike descends like lightning towards the guys. The spear pierces the soldier's chest mercilessly. The guy only lets out a groan of pain as blood sprays everywhere. Everyone around is frozen in fear. Blood flies everywhere. The soldiers moan in pain, while the guy in front is petrified with fear. Everyone is in shock. The mustached guy asks who this sinister barbarian is, while the soldier next to him remains silent in terror. Poor thing, looking sinister and covered in blood. He glares at everyone and dryly says, next. A rain of spears. The guys don't waste time and launch a counterattack against him. Spears pierce through soldiers mercilessly. It's blood everywhere as they fall one by one. Amid this total chaos, the guy is in shock, saying that the enemies are getting even crazier. He warns that they won't stop and orders to close the gate as fast as possible. The gate slams shut and starts to tremble. The mustache guy freaks out and stutters, not understanding anything. The soldier behind screams in desperation. He asks why the gate stopped descending out of nowhere. The crank won't turn. The soldier yells that it's jammed and won't move at all, no matter what they do. The mustache guy goes into shock and utters a desperate, "My God." Kadeem is there, tongue out, looking at the bright red with zero patience. The mustache guy shouts orders. He gathers everyone at the gate. Rhoda searches for the engineer. Zeroni takes the strong ones to the winch. Kadeem steps firmly and advances. The guy has a red aura and won't stop for anything. The soldier stutters and tells Baroun to look. The mustache guy freezes and doesn't understand anything. Kadeem grips the bars tightly. He squeezes the metal with sinister brute force. Everyone goes into shock. They ask what he is doing. They wonder if the crazy guy will really try to pull the giant gate alone, with his arms. Kadeem exerts fierce strength and groans from the effort. The guy pulls the giant gate with his arms. The metal creaks loudly. The gate begins to give way, forced by Kadeem's strength. The gate moves and everyone can't believe it. Without the pulleys, not even 10 strong men could move that. But Kadeem relies on sheer brute force. The problem is that the enemies are already in front of the goal. Baroun shouts for them to provide cover and slow the enemies down. He orders them to throw spears, stones, and anything they have in hand to delay the enemy advance. The soldiers hold the spears tightly. They prepare for the counterattack. Now hell breaks loose and blood flies. The guys are hit directly. It's a total massacre. Where? He yells for everyone to step back. The guy exerts absurd strength with that red aura. The gate crashes down with force. It smashes the ground. A giant roar and dust everywhere. Kadeem glares at me. On the other side, the guys groan in pain. The beast is fierce. Kadeem lets out a dry grunt. He stares at the horizon, completely focused. This should be enough, right? Now close the main gate. Kadeem speaks the truth, all bloodied and with that sinister red aura. Baroun freezes and can't believe the guy's strength. Everyone around flips out and wonders if he's really human or some kind of monster. Kadeem glares at Baroun, blood in his eyes. He asks if they can have a calm conversation now. The guy has a sinister vibe with that red aura. The table is set with soup, bread, and meat for dinner. The Baron tells everyone to eat as much as they want. One of the guys is stuffing himself, happy to eat something decent. Kadeem just observes, serious. The guy cleans his bowl and asks for more, all messy. The Baron laughs and tells him to slow down. Kadeem speaks up and asks how there's so much food since they are surrounded. The mustached guy is startled and freezes. The Baron says not to worry. He mentions that his family could starve. He'd even cut meat from his own leg before letting the guests go hungry. Kadeem asks if it was for honor that the Baron tried to kill himself. The mustached guy confirms that it was indeed so. Kadeem wants the whole story. He asks what happened and why the Baron would jump alone into the middle of enemies to die. The Baron agrees to share and says he will go back in time. He tells it straight. Before, it was just dry and dangerous land, with hardly anyone living there. In his youth, he became the Lord of Moldum by order of the Emperor. The guy was focused on turning that place into a nice place to live, no matter the cost. The Baron gave his all for 10 years to make Moldum prosperous and peaceful. Since it was far from everything, he thought the peace would last forever. But greed and envy from one guy ruined everything. The trader's name is Visconde Adeline. The guy shows up looking for trouble. The Baron says Adeline was the wealthy neighbor, but Moldum grew. The Viscount became bitter with envy. The guy started spreading a lot of lies. The rumor was heavy. They said that the Baron of Moldum was a demon baron and had made a pact with the devil. The Baron says the trader made up that they received help from demons. At first no one paid attention because it was just gossip, with no proof. But things changed quickly. The fourth prince was hanging out at the border and fell for the Viscount's second daughter. Then things got serious. Having a connection to the imperial family made Visconde Adeline the most influential guy in the area. At that moment, his lies weren't silly anymore. With the Emperor's okay, the hunt for the demon baron truly began. The Baron reveals everything. 400 soldiers surrounded everything for 4 months with that lie. He couldn't stand seeing the people suffer. He was going to kill himself to stop the suffering once and for all. Poor guy. They suspect the Baron is in a bad situation. How can the enemy keep so many people for months without profiting? The guy feels something is very wrong with this story. The Baron becomes thoughtful. He wonders if the imperial family is secretly helping these guys. He's worried. Poor guy. He stays quiet, just analyzing. The guy's gaze is sharp to grasp the truth. The Baron opens up and now wants the truth. He asks who the guy is and what he did. He invaded Adeline's camp just to get here. Kadeem says he came to pick something up in Molden. He asks if there is a fist-shaped stone right in the center of the castle. The Baron is shocked and asks how the guy knows that. He confirms that the stone does indeed exist in the castle's basement. Kadeem tells the Baron to take him there now. The guy warns that once he finishes what he came to do, he will leave without causing more trouble. The Baron stammers and says it's impossible because the basement entrance is forbidden. The guy is all stiff at the request. Kadeem stares at the Baron with a cold look and asks what the reason for the prohibition is. He wants to know the real reason. The Baron won't speak to a stranger. Kadeem dryly says, "What a pity." Kadeem glares at the guy with a heavy look. He's annoyed with this delay. The guy feels a tense atmosphere. He can't believe the Baron, who used to be so friendly, has suddenly become so firm and serious. Kadeem glares at the Baron with a heavy look. The Baron swallows hard, feeling the pressure from the guy. The atmosphere is too tense between them. The Baron shuts down and insists the basement is forbidden. Kadeem gets angry because the guy won't even state the reason. Radin sighs heavily. He already knew things were too easy to be true. Kadim loses his patience. The guy's look turns sinister as he grips the hilt of his dagger, ready to resolve things by force. The Baron freezes immediately. The guy is in total shock at Kadim's aggression and can't even open his mouth, just frozen in fear. Kadim slams the table hard. The guy almost jumps from the noise. The Baron freezes and begins to sweat cold. The guy is terrified. Kadim asks if there are about 100 soldiers in the castle. He drives the knife into a beast. He warns that tomorrow, everyone will end up dead just like this. The guy speaks plainly. No one escapes because the enemy has surrounded everything. He says that if they hide well, they might last a bit longer, but it won't change anything. Kadin crushes a beast on the table. He warns that the soldiers will die just the same, without even knowing why. The Baron just stands there, silent and sweating cold, facing a heavy threat from the guy. Kadin says the Baron doesn't need to explain why he is blocking the entrance, but he tells the truth. He will give the guy a choice right now. The Baron is completely lost with the proposal. Kadin issues the ultimatum. Either the guy takes him to the basement now, or he will paint Molden with everyone's blood. His look reveals that the beating will stop soon. The Baron freezes and thinks that, coming from this guy, the threat is serious. He knows this beast will do what he said. If he doesn't obey, the Baron knows he messed up. He regrets letting a stranger in without knowing what the guy really wanted. The Baron gives in. He says he understands and warns that he will take Kadin to the basement right now. But the Baron freezes everything. He warns that it won't be now and that he has a condition. Kadin is surprised and asks what condition that is, already losing his patience. The Baron asks if Kadin wants him to defend the castle after the surrender. The guy confirms and warns that the so-called Viscount Adlon can come with everything. Desperate, the Baron promises to send the steward to take Kadin to the basement if he drives out the invaders. The guy listens seriously, focused on the mission. Kadin finds it ridiculous. He stares at the Baron and asks if dying like this is really absurd. The Baron freezes. Kadin lets loose, staring. Not being able to hold on and leaving the loot to a stranger is bizarre. Kadin tells the guy the truth. He asks if leaving everything behind and dying while fleeing is what he calls honorable death. The look on our hero is pure contempt. The Baron just grumbles and lowers his head, feeling the weight of what he heard. Kadin tears into the Baron. He says that suicide isn't honor. It's just cowardice to pass the trouble onto others and die for nothing. The guy shows no mercy. Kadin clenches his fist tightly. He stares at the Baron and warns that the Atalan way to resolve this situation is very different. The beast is focused. Kadim says that even with broken bones and guts spilling out, his people do not stop. Firm steps on the beast. He warns that they fight to the end, even without a chance of winning. Kadim stares firmly. He lays it out. For an Atala, dying with honor is only like this. The Baron goes silent, frozen in fear. He only looks at the beast being crushed on the table. Kadim makes a different proposal to the Baron. He faces the man and asks if he wants to hear what he has to say. Kadim hints at some bizarre things. The Baron is startled and freezes immediately. Kadim demands an answer. The Baron hesitates and stays there, sweating to decide what to say. The Baron says he understands and asks for some time to think. He tells Kadim to wait in the guest room. Inside the castle, the atmosphere is heavy. The butler guides Kadim and the backpack guy down the hallway. He points the way and asks them to wait there. The group proceeds in silence. Kadim enters the room with the backpack guy trailing behind. The butler just follows their steps. Kadim tells the merchant to rest on the bed. The man is shocked and stutters, unable to believe that the tough guy is being nice to him. Kadim grabs the sword. The man is huge and doesn't back down. The ally can't stay still. The guy holds onto the bag, trembling with fear. The terrified ally sits on the bed, shaking everywhere. He asks if the Baron will really accept the proposal. The guy is in major doubt. Kadim crosses his arms, calm. He lays it out. The Baron won't come out losing. To be honest, the guy doesn't even have another choice. The terrified ally reveals he thought everything would go wrong. He can't understand how the Baron, who was so meek, suddenly became tough. The guy feels puzzled because the Baron stubbornly blocked the basement. There must be a very strong reason for him to refuse the request. Kadim goes silent, just staring with that heavy look. Kadim states the obvious. The reason is clear. The terrified ally freezes and asks what he means. The door bursts open with a bang. Someone is entering the room. Kadim is sitting there, arms crossed, with a serious face. The ally is startled and just watches the giant, who doesn't even blink. The Baron enters the room with a very stern expression. The guy is all pompous, but the atmosphere between them remains tense. Where are you? Speak the truth. The Baron returned faster than he expected. He looks at the nobleman and immediately asks if he has made a decision. The Baron nods, sealing the deal. The guy is serious, but he accepted the arrangement. All right then, prepare yourself. Send in Kadim. At night, he falls under the bright full moon in the sky. The Castellan is there, standing still in the dark. Everything is peaceful for now. 2 guards are on watch. They are just waiting for time to pass. One guard hears a noise and freezes. He looks to the side, scared. Who goes there? Identify yourselves, shout the guards. They point their spears while Kadim and his ally advance fearlessly. It's me. Delta speaks softly, sending the Baron. The guard is startled and stutters the name of his boss, confused. The guard looks puzzled. He asks what the Baron is doing out so late and finds that outfit quite odd. The Baron scolds Delta to compose himself and act like the officer he is. The guard stutters, all rigid, and says he got the message. What's this nonsense with the weapons? Asks the guard. But Kadim tells him to shut up. The plan now is to tie the rope to the pillars and secure everything tightly. The Baron speaks frankly. Whatever happens, no one can step outside the castle. The guard goes silent, understanding that things are serious. The guards begin to tie the rope tightly to the structure. Kadim watches closely to ensure the job is done right. The guy grabs the rope tightly and kicks off to gain momentum. Kadim descends the castle wall, hanging from the rope. He is focused and prepares to land. The guards are taken aback. One of them can't believe that Kadim jumped and is so agile, despite being a strong giant. The other remains silent, shocked, tightening his grip on the rope. He holds on tight to avoid falling. The guard keeps the rope tense and warns the Baron to be careful not to end up in trouble. The Baron looks firmly and immediately calls out names: Esquiln and Odik. The Baron calls everyone: Kren, Benim, Sherad, Dunapin, and Delton. The guards respond firmly, confirming the boss's order. The guy is serious. He is delivering a treasure worth more than his life. He asks with all seriousness to take good care of Molden. The guard is startled and freezes instantly. The guy is shocked by the boss's order. Cadinho remains quiet, silent. Meanwhile, the guard quickly slides down the rope to follow the plan. Cadinho looks back, dry. He has already finished his goodbyes. He asks the guy wanting to speed up his side. The guard closes his eyes, focused. He replies that he is ready for whatever comes. Cadinho draws his sword and talks straight. Okay, let's go. He wants to finish up with this Adlin, or whatever the creature's name is. The bearded guy is in shock and asks what Kadim just said. He does not believe what he heard. Kadim says that as soon as the sun sets, they will invade the camp. He states that a sword and a spear are enough. The bearded guy looks incredulous and asks if the plan is to invade the enemy camp with just 2 people. To him, this is basically asking to die. Cadinho is unfazed and speaks the truth, asking if it wouldn't end up this way anyway. The creature is focused and doesn't care about the danger. The bearded guy is completely shocked and freezes at what he heard. Cadinho states the truth. If the demon baron dies, the army loses its purpose. He says it doesn't matter how the guy dies. That has always been the final goal. The mustache guy speaks plainly. If they try to invade and get caught, Viscount Adlin will destroy Molden completely. He is terrified of retaliation. Cadinho tells him to relax and speaks plainly. They will end the guy's life in tonight's invasion. The creature is determined. The mustache guy falls silent, just staring at Cadinho. He is processing everything. Cadinho speaks frankly. If they fail to kill the creature today, he will help defend Molden, as the guy requested. The mustache guy thinks the reply was too arrogant, as if Cadinho didn't care about dying. But he admits he only thinks this way because he saw what the creature does. Cadinho states the obvious. The guy was going to die anyway. Now he has the chance to eliminate the root of the problem. This deal cannot be bad for the ally. The order is to keep crushing the enemy until the last breath. Meanwhile, the guards are watching the camp. Behind the stakes, a sword flies through the air with everything it has. The sword slices through the guard's neck. Blood sprays everywhere. The guy didn't even see where the strike came from. The guard screams and falls dead. His partner next to him is startled and doesn't understand anything. The bearded guard is dumbfounded, frozen by what he just witnessed. The little hero steps firmly and moves forward, focused on taking everyone out. Cadinho arrives and plunges his blade into the chest of the hat-wearing guy. Blood splatters everywhere. The creature didn't have time to react to the blow. The hat man is completely floored. As the blood drips, he feels the impact and realizes the game is up for him. The tough guy is all covered in blood with an enemy's head on the ground. The other guard just stands there with his spear, showing no reaction. He had sensed something strange before, but now he confirms it. They don't react even when their partner dies beside them. He finds this incredibly bizarre. Kadim is startled and his eyes widen immediately. The little hero sees that the guys have battered faces and are way too thin. They are just skin and bones. Our boy realizes that the hunger of these guys is old, not something from just one day. He finds it strange that everyone is in this state, and no one has left the army yet. The little hero keeps an eye on everything while moving around the place. Kadim stares at the camp with a heavy gaze, trying to figure out what's going on in this bizarre place. The mustachioed guard is floating in confusion, not grasping what is happening. Kadim turns his face with a serious expression. The mustachioed guy warns that it's time to go. Cadinho is all covered in blood, staring intently, ready to move on. The group goes deeper into the camp, advancing cautiously across the ground. Kadim and the mustachioed guy follow closely behind several soldiers. The guys look worn out and don't notice anything. The ally is stunned. How are these soldiers not sleeping at this hour? The strange thing is that everyone is walking around the barracks in armor. Kadim keeps to himself. The soldier's face looks bizarre and completely beaten. The guy looks like a zombie, he's so thin. The soldier with the helmet slowly opens his eye. His gaze is all messed up and bizarre. Everyone starts to groan in a strange way. Kadim and the ally stand in the middle, surrounded by figures that look like the undead. Kadim tells the Baron to stay there and kill as many soldiers as he can. He warns that he will go deeper into the camp to find the guy. The Baron is confused. He asks who Kadim is looking for. He wants to know what Kadim meant by that. Kadim tells the truth and says he is after Viscount Adlin. He adds that the partner is asking the obvious. The little guy explains that being the commander means the guy's evil must be the strongest. The ally is stunned and asks how he knows that. Kadim tells him to loosen up and fight with everything until the last breath. He questions if these are not the guys who destroyed the partner's precious treasure. Kadim is covered in blood and focused. The mustache guy stands there, silent. He grips his spear tightly, ready to start chaos. The little guy charges forward, and some sparks appear on his body. He slashes one's throat and pierces another's mouth. The Baron and Kadim grip their weapons tightly, the sword on one side and the axe on the other, ready to create havoc. Kadim, all covered in blood, focuses on the objective while the enemies around him are torn apart. He is unstoppable and keeps his eye on what matters. The little guy states the truth, saying these guys are nothing but mere puppets. He is all dirty, looking very serious. The mustached guy remains silent. The soldier's eyes widen as the strike comes. The guy takes a precise cut and blood splatters everywhere. The soldier has a bizarre, wrecked look, resembling the undead. He lets out a strange scream as the blade flies by. Kadim hits him hard. The guy screams in pain and the little guy just says, "Hiem," flatly. Kadim stands there, all covered in blood, with an unfriendly look. He holds the bloodied sword, staring at what's left of the guy with a cold gaze. Kadim realizes that the deeper he goes, the crazier the soldiers become and the fight intensifies. He thinks that evil is gathering in specific guys. This is just to try to stop him for good. The little one, all covered in blood, realizes that this can only mean one thing. Kadim figures out he is in the right place and walks straight to the tent. The little one bursts into the tent, ready to see who will fall next. Kadim enters the tent and is confronted by a big guy sitting on a throne. The guy has an eye patch and glares at the little one, who is all marked from fighting. The soldiers around him have a bizarre purple aura coming from their bodies. They seem a bit out of it, looking like they are being controlled. The guy on the throne also has a bizarre purple aura. He looks at Kadim with a hostile expression. The atmosphere becomes heavy. The soldiers around can't take it anymore and collapse on the ground. Everyone falls at once as the bizarre energy takes over everything. The guard looks at his shield while the chaos unfolds. He has a confused expression, like he doesn't understand anything. The bearded man closes his eyes, with a red aura behind him. Suddenly he opens his eye and the pupil is glowing in a sinister red. The bearded man with the red eye says that the guy did well to get this far, but then he insults the little one, calling him a worthless mutt. The little one just gives a smug grin, unfazed by what he heard. The bearded man finds it all very interesting. Kadim remembers that he only managed to slice one of these guys a few times, the first time he played. It's a type of possession. The little one realizes he has encountered a pretty rare creature. The bearded man asks what's so funny, while the little one stares at him with the axe. The creature says that the little one thinks too highly of himself, but to him he is just an insect. He delivers the message straight. He wants the mold and his prey left in peace. The bearded man says he has taken care of this place for years, and the fruit is ripe. He asks if a mutt like Kadim really thinks he can disrupt his harvest now. The guy stands firm on the ground, ready to face whatever comes next. Kadim, all covered in blood, speaks the truth and says that the guy just loves to talk a lot. The bearded man asks if he isn't going to back down and delivers the message. It seems the little one has chosen to die. The bearded man releases a sinister red energy and a giant creature-shaped aura appears behind him. The atmosphere becomes heavy. Kadim is startled. He stays alert with what he sees. The bearded man tells Kadim to say goodbye to his ego. He calls the guy a mutt, warning that things have changed. The villain yells that now Protinia's body belongs to him. While facing the guy amidst that red energy, Kadim watches the creature, all dirty with blood, but he doesn't shake. The red energy is swirling around him. Protinia opens his eyes wide, deeply focused. He knows things have gotten serious. The villain starts talking, throwing all his demonic malice at Kadim. If the guy falters for even a second, the creature will invade his mind and take control of everything. Out of nowhere, the creature lets out a hum, looking confused. Kadim is calm, but suddenly a giant face with glasses appears behind him. The villain looks at it, puzzled by what's happening. The bearded man screams and starts to struggle. The red energy is punishing him and he can't take it. The bearded man holds his head, suffering terribly. He groans in pain, unable to believe what's happening. He says it's impossible. The creature gets furious because its malice is being rejected. It asks who Protinia is and why it can't possess him, even using all its power. Kadim lets out a rum and tells the creature to back off, even though he's all messed up and covered in blood. Oh, Protinia, say the truth. The place is already occupied by that face with glasses behind him. He gives a little smile, knowing the creature is in trouble. The bearded man goes completely silent, unsure of what to say as he faces the situation. The creature claims that the only time its possession failed was against a demon much stronger than it. The creature admits it thought for a moment that an elite demon was in Kadim's body, but upon closer inspection, it realizes Protinia is just a big human. The villain is stunned, just thinking that he was defeated by a simple human. He can't believe he lost to our Protinia. The creature tells Kadim not to get cocky. It warns that since it can't steal his body, it will have to solve things another way. The creature's eyes shine, and it seems things have gotten very serious now. The bearded man begins to transform, and his body, install it completely. It has shiny bumps and a face ready to go wild. Kadim is still there, facing the beast head-on, surrounded by that red energy. Protinia is completely focused and doesn't seem intimidated at all. The beast grows giant and warns that it will just crush Kadim until he turns into pate. The monster stares at our Protinia, and the atmosphere becomes heavy. Kadim wastes no time and tightly grips the weapon's handle to react. He is ready for a counterattack. Protinia holds his ground, eyes focused. He is alert to what's coming. A giant mass covered in spines comes crashing in, wrapped in red energy. Kadim defends against the giant mass with the sword. The impact is heavy, but he holds his ground without flinching. The monster looks closely at Cadinho, all deformed and bizarre. Protinha doesn't back down, continuing to face the beast head-on. The bloody axe hits hard, making a loud cutting noise. Cadinho gets startled and gasps, clearly uneasy about the situation. The bearded one lets out a bizarre roar and swings the mass wildly. The beast is massive and full of rage. The guy firmly plants his feet on the ground to gain momentum and charge forward. The giant creature attacks fiercely, creating a loud impact noise. Kadim remains back, gripping the weapon tightly and ready to confront the beast. A bizarre crack echoes nearby, like something breaking or tearing. Things are getting ugly. The giant beast stares at Cadinho, holding that heavy mass. Protinha stands firm, ready to face the monster. As the atmosphere thickens, the monster berates Cadinho, saying he was all confident but now only knows how to flee. The beast calls him pathetic and a shameless mutt. Cadinho just watches quietly. He realizes that this person-sized mass was meant to be used in its giant form from the start. He understands that a common weapon won't hold up if it clashes with this beast. It will break instantly. Cadinho ponders while the bizarre monster remains lurking behind. Protinha knows that any slip-up now could be costly. The scene shifts to a stone castellão, surrounded by various camping tents. It seems like the gang's headquarters is right there. The creature stomps heavily and lets out a bizarre laugh. It asks if the guy is looking for a place to escape. The monster's foot is gigantic, and the atmosphere becomes heavy. Caden is all battered and covered in blood, surrounded by a bunch of armed soldiers. He is exhausted, but still stands tall, staring everyone down. The creature claims that Caden has killed several, but warns that there are still over 300 bodies to use. The monster has a bizarre army at its command, and the tension rises. One of the soldiers glares with a sinister and lifeless look. The guy stands firm, ready to charge. Amid the chaos, the helmeted soldier rushes forward, gripping the spear tightly. The guy has a sinister look and attacks without mercy. The spear tip grazes Caden's face. Protinha reacts quickly, using his sword to deflect the blow, keeping his full focus on the fight. An axe comes crashing down, slicing through the air with a rapid and heavy strike. Caden doesn't waste time and delivers a brutal blow right to the enemy's head. Blood sprays everywhere from the impact. Caden lands a sinister strike and decapitates the soldier. Blood flies all over. A giant mace full of spikes comes crashing down to crush everyone. Things are intense. The giant mace grazes past Caden. Protinha stays alert, focused on the attack while the creature tries to hit him from all angles. The monster slams the ground with the mace, sending debris flying. Kadame watches from a distance, observing the damage the creature caused with that brutal blow. The creature belittles Kadame, saying there's nowhere to run, you mutt. Protinha is covered in blood, but stares at the creature, refusing to back down. In front of the castle, the impact is bizarre, causing everything to explode. Caden is thrown far away as the creature's mace crushes the ground with absurd force. Protinha lands on his feet and slides along the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. He quickly regains his footing, ready for the next round. With no time to rest, the creature stomps hard, mocking that the guy is good at running away. It says that Rat would be a much better name for Caden. Protinha just listens quietly, his face smeared with blood. He stares at the creature with a serious expression right in front of the castle. The creature asks why the guy can't stop looking at the castle. He gets straight to the point. Does he really think he will survive by running there? It's a waste of time. The little guy rushes up the stairs, panting heavily. You can hear his exhaustion as he tries to reach the top anyway. The creature insults Kadim. He says Kadim should know his place before ruining someone else's feast. He adds that a human body will never stand up to a demon. The monster stares hard and says that if the guy wanted to kill him, he should have at least brought Elga's dogs. The creature thinks highly of himself. Kadim admits to me that, in his current state, it would be really tough to break that muscular doll of the creature. The guy realizes the situation is complicated. The demon bursts out laughing and asks if the little guy finally got it. He insults Kadim again, saying he is very dumb for only realizing this now. Kadim stares at the creature and gets real, asking what happened to his real body. The monster freezes and doesn't understand anything, only managing to say, "What?" The guy stomps down hard and sends dust flying. A terrified man appears, shouting for Mr. Kadim. He looks like he's seen the creature attack. Kadim tells the truth. If that is the creature's real body, even a merchant who can't handle a goblin would manage it. The little guy finishes by saying it would be way too easy to end him. He asks if the creature doesn't agree. The monster just stares back with mortal hatred. The creature freezes and wonders if it's real. He is shocked by what the little guy just said. Blood drips from the creature, forming a pool on the ground. Things went bad, really bad. A sword is embedded right in the middle of that bizarre mass of flesh, full of eyes. Blood is flowing, and the creature seems seriously messed up. The creature goes insane with anger and screams, You bastard!" He is fuming with rage at what Kadim did. Kadim, all covered in blood, lets out a mocking grin. He faces the creature directly, showing that he has total control of the situation. Kadim tells me, "It's real. What the Baron hides in the basement is a demon." The mustache guy freezes and stutters, unable to believe what he just heard. The creature confesses that he was sure the Baron forbade entry to the basement just to hide some treasure. He feels very frustrated by this bizarre discovery. Kadim believes that by the Baron's demeanor, he would have willingly given the treasure out of gratitude. If an honorable man refuses help to a guest, there must be hidden trouble there. The ally stammers and says that this must be the door to the basement. They both stare at the locked wooden gate. while the torch illuminates the place. The ally realizes why the Baron gave the location so easily. There had to be a giant padlock locking everything up, right? Kadim orders him to stop talking and begins to forcefully break down the door. The other guy can only utter a scared "oh." The padlock and chains explode and crash to the ground. The way is clear. Kadim tells the merchant to go down to the basement. When the moon passes its peak, he says to find a strange piece of meat and stab the dagger into it. The guy asks if he himself will face the demon and is terrified. Kadim tells him to relax, saying it will be easier than twisting a child's wrist. The creature will be so focused on the small one that the main body will be undefended. Kadim warns him not to miss the moment. The blood starts to drip from that strange mass of meat onto the floor. The dagger pierces directly through the piece of meat filled with eyes. The creature is bleeding a lot, and it seems the plan is working. That giant muscular hand tries to grasp nothing in the midst of the black smoke. The creature goes into shock because it can't reach. It complains that its malice isn't reaching the main body. The creature lets out a groan of pain and realizes its main body is in trouble. It freezes at the moment it feels the blow. The creature goes wild with rage. It screams at the top of its lungs. You bastard!" It is foaming with rage over what Kadim has done. Kadim sends a send the good to the merchant. The guy is all dirty but happy that the plan worked. The creature is going crazy and only wants to kill. It screams that it will give the small one the most painful death of all. The creature is extremely furious and screams that it will rip every muscle from Kadim, take out his insides, and shove everything down his throat. The atmosphere has turned heavy for our small one. Everyone freezes, and someone shouts that the creature has grown even more. They don't even know what monster this is. Kadim lays it out. Even with the dead body, the evil doesn't easily vanish. To get rid of the beast for good, you must destroy the flesh where the evil is trapped. The monster screams and charges aggressively. Using a hammer, the beast swings down and breaks the entire ground. It's in total fury, trying to hit the little hero any way possible. The giant hammer flies through the air with bizarre force. The impact of the blow is too heavy. It makes everything tremble around. Kadim swings his arm down hard. A burst of purple energy erupts. The impact is heavy and shards fly in every direction. The beast laughs and calls the little hero a fool. It asks if Kadim really thinks a puny weapon like that will even scratch him. Kadim screams that not in a million years, and swings the sword down with all his might. The beast is shocked as it takes this heavy blow. The little hero lands firmly on the ground and prepares for the next move. He stares at the enemy with a look that says he isn't playing around. Kadim remains completely silent, looking at what's left of his weapon. The beast is serious and it seems like the thing is completely broken. The demon declares it will grind everyone until its body falls apart. It warns that Kadim won't live to see anything because he will die right there. Now Kadim lets out a shout for the traveling merchant. The beast is left confused, freezing in place. With that shout, the merchant responds back, "Yes, sir." He is up high in the castle, ready to answer Kadim's call. The guy announces that he brought the item the little hero asked for and throws a mighty axe down. He says it's right there in hand. The merchant shouts for Kadim to catch it and throws the item with all his might. The axe shoots up into the air like a light asteroid. The giant axe spins in the air, soaring over everyone in the courtyard. It's heavy and heads straight for the little hero. The merchant panics. He thinks it went wrong because the barbarian ordered it to be thrown without fear. But, with his strength, the axe will never reach Kadim. Kadim tells the merchant to relax. He says if that axe was truly made by a master dwarf, things will be different. The axe spins wildly in the air and Kadim makes it clear. The beast will show its own worth alone. The beast keeps flying and ripping the sky shines bright. The trail of light shows that the creature is coming at a bizarre speed. Cadinho grips the weapon's handle tightly. In mid-air, the beast fits perfectly in his hand. Protinia holds the giant axe that glows with blue energy. He stares down the enemy with a heavy gaze, ready to strike. The merchant is taken aback. He thinks the beast accelerated on its own in the air. It crossed over 60,000 in the blink of an eye. The great demon is agitated and wonders if this is what he's thinking. Cadinho believes the Baron is truly exceptional. He thinks the guy should have kept the demon well hidden. Protinia can't believe the guy would let this masterpiece rot with the beast. The great demon, agitated, recognizes that the axe is the work of the dwarves from the north. He asks how Kadim knew about the weapon. Did he come to Molden just for this? From the beginning, Kadim grips the axe handle with all his strength. The impact is bizarre. The creature releases a heavy energy that makes everything tremble. Cadinho faces the creature, feeling a possession overcome him. He says, "It's too much." Protinia exclaims, "Now we're talking," and charges forward with the axe. He swings down the axe and screams that he will shut the creature's mouth now. The beast roars that it doesn't care if the weapon is dwarven or whatnot. The great demon bellows that it only needs to crush everything into pieces with that giant mass. He comes charging at Protinia. The clash is bizarre. The weapons collide with absurd force, unleashing a wave of heavy energy across the field. The axe comes down hard and the great demon is left in total shock. The creature freaks out and shouts, "This is madness. It makes no sense at all." He is utterly lost about what's happening. The creature cannot believe that its steel mass was shattered. Kadim's axe pulverized everything, all into 1,000 pieces with one blow. The demon releases guttural cries of pain as blood flies everywhere. The damage is severe, and the creature feels the jolt. Protinia is ecstatic and declares he finally found a real weapon. He is all dirty but thrilled with the axe. The merchant is startled and lets out a wow. He is speechless at what he is witnessing. The The creature collapses, and Protinia faces him directly, holding the sword firm. Out of nowhere, black smoke explodes from the monster. The creature is doomed. Cadinho notices that the evil is fading. He thinks that if the main body were alive, killing these hosts wouldn't matter. But since the monster was thoroughly possessed, it can only be killed. Now the little one can only think that all he has left to do is sneak up behind. While the merchant is distracted looking at the remains of the monster, he gets startled when he sees the little one there. He lets out a stuttered scream calling for the Lord. The little one steps firmly and unsheathes his blade. In a flash, a guard rushes in to attack, but Cadinho just watches the blow pass calmly. His face is smeared with blood, and he stares at everyone with a serious look. The man with the mustache and helmet smirks confidently. Cadinho stomps hard on the ground. The little one glares at everyone seriously, while someone shouts for Barão. The armored man is turned away, surrounded by sinister red smoke. The atmosphere is heavy. The creature turns with red eyes and speaks the truth. Thought it was over, shameful mutt? The little one glares back at the man angrily, and the tension thickens. He's dirty with dirt and blood, but focused, and he won't back down after the provocation. The man with red eyes smirks and asks if Cadinho thinks it's already over. The creature stares closely and calls the little one a shameful mutt. Cadinho understands everything. He says he expected the monster to have infected Barão with that evil long ago. The creature mocks, saying Barão was foolish to think sacrificing himself would save the place. He wants Cadinho to see everyone getting massacred and wake up alone amid the destruction. The possessed creature complains it was on the brink of getting what it wanted, but Cadinho showed up and ruined everything. Cadinho gets real and says that the monster infected Badon just to stay alive until the end and see all that disaster up close. The creature mocks and asks what Cadinho will do. He wants to know if the little one will tear this guy apart like he did with Visconde Adelin, doubting that he can actually do it. Cadinho closes his eyes and says the monster is very mistaken about one thing. The monster doesn't understand and remains unaware. What's up with that guy? Kadim tells it like it is. He's not there for Molden. He just made a deal with the Baron. He brought the guy precisely to resolve the situation. If it came to that point, the guy laughs and says Kadim figured everything out, but he warns that the soldiers are watching. If Protinia kills the Baron there, he will end up being hunted by everyone. Kadim lays it out and asks if it wouldn't be the same if the guy survived after stealing the Baron's body. Protinia warns that if the Molden people turn against him and attack, he'll just have to wipe them all out. The red-eyed guy says Kadim is ready to massacre Molden alone, if necessary. He adds that from what he's seen he knows it's not a bluff. The guy gives that bizarre smile and tells it straight. If that's the case, the Baron has to die by Cadinho's hands. The guy confesses he's just a leftover piece of evil. He says even if he doesn't destroy Molden, he'll still love seeing the Baron suffer. The monster screams that the Baron will lose his mind in agony watching his own soldiers die by Cadinho's hands. Kadim says nothing. He just stands in silence, staring at the guy with a heavy gaze. Suddenly the guy goes for it and drives the sword into the possessed Baron's chest. Blood sprays, and the blow is precise. Someone stomps heavily, and a soldier emerges from that red smoke. Kadim jumps in shock, staring at what he sees. The soldier writhes in pain in the red smoke and holds his head. The guy grips the sword's hilt tightly, but his hand won't stop shaking. The soldier groans in pain and struggles to hold the sword with both hands. The guy stares with blood in his eyes and speaks directly. The demon won't lay a finger if they want Molden. The soldier curses the Baron, calling him a wretch, and stands there baffled, trying to understand how all this is possible. Protinia is in doubt and just calls out for the Baron. Cadinho has a grim expression and only watches what's happening. The guy raises the sword and shouts that Kadim is going to hell with him, calling him a demon. The swords clash hard and sparks fly. The impact is brutal and shards go flying everywhere. The guy grits his teeth and muscles through, squeezing the sword's hilt with all his strength to not give in. The blade pierces the guy's chest and blood sprays everywhere. He lets out a groan of pain. Blood spills out and starts forming a dark puddle on the ground. Gerald, up high in the castle, gets startled. He doesn't understand what's happening. The soldiers scream for the Baron, desperate. They're in shock, asking why on earth the guy stabbed himself like that. The Baron lets out a heavy sigh and collapses, all messed up, with the blade stuck through him. He can't believe this crazy guy stabbed himself. He's dumbfounded, thinking about how the guy managed to do it while being possessed. The Baron doesn't say a word. He just sits there, in silence, staring at the ground. The guy is on his knees with the sword in his chest. Cadinho only watches the wreck up close. The soldier nervously asks Cadinho if the guy is dead for good. Cadinho closes his eyes and tells the truth. No, the guy isn't dead yet. Cadinho is amazed by the strength of the guy. He wonders how he pierced that thick armor. Meanwhile, the soldier is just hoping for the best, all messed up. The guy tells it straight, saying it would be impossible to do that without the power of the demon. He's coughing up blood and laments that, even this time, history repeated itself. He's stunned because it all happened again. Cadinho just watches the wreck in complete silence. He stares at the fallen guy and doesn't say anything at all. He just stays there, keeping to himself. The guy grips the sword tightly, and the bearded man gets startled, taken aback. One hand holds the blade, and a bizarre red smoke begins to rise. The Baron notices and feels that his body has become much lighter out of nowhere, even being all messed up and bleeding. Bocadinho realizes that the vampirism of the weapon works even on others, but for the Baron that will only delay the end by a few minutes since the cut is fatal. Kadima explains that ordinary people freeze in fear against demons, but the Baron was brave. He didn't give up and chose to destroy himself along with the creature, just to expel all that evil. Radim tells the Baron to stop blaming himself since having that control isn't for everyone. He says the blood he gave the guy is like a reward for having that iron will. The mustached guy remains completely silent, just staring at Cadinho with a shocked expression. He thinks he used to believe that Cadinho saw everyone just as talking meat, but he is shocked to see that he respects someone this way. Kadim gets real. He can't save the guy with his power, but he can at least hear what the Baron has to say until the last breath. He told the Baron that if he has any last words to share, he should speak now, without any regrets. The Baron just laughs and says it's an honor to have a brave warrior like Cadinho by his side. Right at the end about those last words, the guy gets real and says he only has complaints and a lot of regrets to carry from this life. The Baron laments that he should have dealt with that demon as soon as he found him. He is all messed up on the ground while Kadim and the other guy just watch. The bizarre creature asks the Baron if he doesn't want to turn that place into the largest territory in the region. The monster has a grin like he's up to no good. The guy remembers that strange mass he found in the basement. The demon whispered that the price was simple, to care for the people as if they were his children and to dedicate himself entirely to that land. He found the condition strange, coming from a demon, but thought it over and accepted. The problem is he didn't even realize it was the biggest trap of all. The demon fulfilled its deal and the town prospered. The guy also did his part, and over time what started as pretense turned into genuine love for the people and the place. But the more he loved the land, the heavier the guilt weighed on him. The creature felt bad because he knew that none of it was his merit. It was all thanks to the demon's power. The guy lived in fear of losing everything at any moment, just on a whim. He spent his days anxious, always with a clenched fist. The day came. Because of the Viscount of Adlin, the guy is in bad shape, spitting blood, struggling for air. What the demon really wanted was to enjoy the pain and despair of the guy when he lost everything. Cadinho just stands there listening to the outpouring. The Baron is in rough shape, almost out of breath, and admits that saving the city was not his merit. He confesses that he depended on the strength of others until the last second. Cadinho gets real and asks if it wasn't the guy's own will that kicked the demon's malice out. In the end, the Baron lets out a chuckle and agrees that at least he achieved that. He asks if he finally put an end to everything, using his own strength. Kadim lowers his head and listens to the guy's outpouring. The Baron says Alpina's name. He asks Kadim to deliver a message to her. The guy calls for Tulip. He admits he couldn't protect anyone. He asks to let everyone know he is very sorry for everything. Kadim and the ally look at the Baron. He collapses to the ground. The mood turns heavy. The Baron dies right there. The blade is stuck in his chest, covered in blood. Kadim says nothing. He stands in complete silence. After everything that happened, the castle bells ring continuously. Everyone gathers outside. The atmosphere is heavy for this farewell. The Baron lies in the coffin, being carried by the guards. He's really gone. Now it's just a final goodbye. The Baron rests in the coffin. He looks like someone finally at peace. The bell tolls loudly in the background as everyone bids farewell to him. A woman cries non-stop while the castle bell keeps ringing. The mood is too heavy for everyone present. The guards look downcast, faces full of defeat. The bell keeps ringing while they stand there sorrowfully. A black flag flutters high. The city is in mourning, and the mood is grim. People in the streets are devastated, praying. The bell rings as the crowd says goodbye to him. Kadim watches everything from a distance. A guy looks at Pertinho with a very sad expression. Kadim stands there, very sad, eyes closed, feeling the weight of the atmosphere. The bell rings without stopping as he bids farewell to the Baron. In the castle, the giant creature stands before the guard covered in blood. In the background, people see the aftermath of the fight. The guard remains silent, wearing a serious expression. After everything that happened, the soldier informs Captain Delton that everyone has gone to the cemetery. Now they just need to burn the remains that the merchant delivered and the monster's body. The captain simply replies that he understood. The guards are left confused. One of them asks what happened and can't believe the monster the barbarian faced was Viscount Adlin. And what about Adlin's soldiers who died suddenly? It was a miracle they were still moving, given how battered they were. They could hardly be called human anymore. The guard ponders why the Baron took his own life. What if all this craziness is really the fault of a demon? He knows that only the barbarian knows the truth, but the guy stays silent and reveals nothing. The guard just watches, with a serious face. He observes everything that is happening. Cadinho arrives looking worn out, carrying a body. The guards immediately surround the guy. They ask what madness occurred and demand that he tells the truth right away. The guy steps firmly on the stones and leaves the spot. Cadinho lays it out. The Baron fought against the enemy until the end. He warns that this is the only truth everyone needs to know, period. The guards remain in shock, saying nothing. The atmosphere is heavy. Cadinho orders them to open the gates quickly. The guy wants to leave as soon as possible. Cadinho states the truth. The Baron was a man who deserves to rest peacefully, along with the treasure he loved most. The guard simply closes his eyes and keeps to himself, respecting what the little protector said. The mood of the scene is reflective. The purpose of the scene is to show the guard processing Cadinho's words. In the main reaction, the guard remembers what Atala said, that the Baron fought until the end and was the one who loved Molden the most in the whole world. The tone of the scene is determined. The purpose of the scene is to reveal the new objective of the guards. In the main reaction, the guy decides that from now on everyone will follow the Baron's wishes and protect Molden with everything. The guard repeats what he heard about the Baron's treasure. The guy has a very serious look on his face. He closes his eyes and keeps to himself, feeling the weight of everything that little protector said. The captain orders everyone to run and clean up the mess. He says that Salvador's farewell cannot be disrespected, especially since it's the Baronesa's first task as the new lord. The soldiers respond immediately. Yes, Captain. The woman looks at the little protector and the other guy near the gate. The Baronesa speaks the truth. They owe a lot to the little protector, even though they do not know each other. The guy helped Molden and faced the enemies. The Baronesa bows and thanks the little protector in the name of her late husband. She says she is grateful from the bottom of her heart for everything. Bacadinho looks at her and tells her the truth. There is no need to keep thanking him. He has already received his payment directly from the Baron. The Baronesa stays silent, feeling a void, saying nothing. Looking very thoughtful, the Baroness says that just talking is not enough. She orders gold and food to be brought. She says it's little for what the guy did, but she asks him to accept it with an open heart. Pratina says it's all good and tells them to put it away. He wants to talk about something more important. Pratina informs that there's a valley to the west. It used to be a bandit base. He says there's a lot of food there. He only took what he could carry, leaving the rest for them. The guy tells them to gather everything for the people. He has already dealt with the bandits himself. The Baroness is left stunned, unsure of what to say. The Baroness bows and says she already owed him a lot. Now the debt has only increased. She tells him the truth. She warns that no one there will forget this huge favor he did. She informs him that Pratino's friends and enemies are now Molden's as well. The girl ends by asking him to come back when he has a chance. The Baroness says this: when the guy returns, everyone will welcome him with the greatest respect in the world. Kadim tells the truth. He can't promise he will come back. But who knows, right? The guy walks away easily. He stops in his tracks suddenly. Pratina remembers something and asks if the girl's name is Delpina. The girl is taken aback and asks how Pratina knows her name. The guy tells her the truth and says the Baron left a message for her. Kadim delivers the Baron's message. Tulipa, I couldn't protect you. I'm sorry. The girl freezes instantly and is in total shock. A memory of the Baron appears, happy, taking care of some tulip sprouts. The guy is sweating but has a big smile on his face while he works the soil. The girl breaks down and starts to cry. A tear rolls down as she feels the weight of the message. Kadim tells the truth. The guy died with honor. He was brave enough to defeat a demon. He didn't leave as a monster but as a real lord of Molden. Pratina tells the truth. You can be proud of him. The guy walks away. The guy with the backpack won't shut up, excitedly talking about a bizarre chill he felt. He compares it to the goblin cave, but Pratina just stays silent, in shock. The guy keeps talking about the strong demon they saw. He says he sneaked up and saw something disgusting, but Kadim loses his patience and tells him to stop. Kadim stares at the guy with a heavy look and repeats, I already said enough. The guy lowers his head and only responds, yes sir. He looked really deflated. The Kadim asks me if he brought what I asked for. The guy hands over a leather bag, stuttering, that's in his hand. The Protinia opens the vial and realizes it's demon possession blood that was evolving. He thinks that the item should provide some immunity buffs against mental attacks and debuffs. But the guy knows that the blood does nothing against the worst debuff of all, madness. The guy thinks that as soon as he finds Melissa in the wizard's tower, he'll have to figure out how to deal with this madness issue. At least now he got a weapon that's not just good, it's absurd. With it, the Protinia won't have to rely so much on demon blood. The Protinia holds the axe and realizes he has never seen a weapon of this caliber. He remembers that the map referred to it as an ancient treasure. It was made in the era of myths, when everyone fought over the continent. The guy thinks that if the axe really came from the ancient dwarven kingdom, it must be at least of unique level. A fierce dwarf warrior appears, fully equipped in his armor. The Protinia doesn't understand why such a fierce treasure was hidden in some random place. The guy stutters and says that even with the torch, he only saw a faded white symbol on the chest. It was completely dark and he couldn't see anything. The garden realizes that this symbol is a troubling clue, but he can't go back to Moldum just to check this detail now. Besides, the guy left a long trail of blood to get here. The guy thinks that if someone is on his tail, they'll find him soon. He realizes that the ones coming after him must be the Holy Knights of Elga. The Protina knows that low-rank paladins are easy pickings with demon blood. Even the higher ranks aren't much trouble. The real problem is the high-rank Holy Knights of the Order. The air shifts as a paladin appears. The guy is up there, all imposing in his armor and a giant red cape holding a sword. The Kadim is totally rattled, grinding his teeth in anger. You can see that everyone behind him is also messed up and lying on the ground. The guy adjusts his teeth, clearly bothered by something. OVO Kadim says this brings back some pretty bitter memories. The ally there in the back just watches, sensing that the atmosphere has turned heavy. The guy in the red cloak grumbles that these fanatics are the damned ones. He complains that Eden is too slow. He asks how long they will have to keep waiting. The knight arrives panting and apologizes to Lady Relha. She doesn't care and just calls him pathetic straight to his face. The girl remains silent, staring at the path with a focused gaze. She takes a deep breath. Then they are almost arriving in Molden. They shout to Mr. Kadim that he can't go that way. The guy freezes, confused. The guy with the backpack comes in, dead tired, saying that Protinia disappeared ahead. He warns that that path leads directly to the guard post at the border. Sorel advises that they should turn back and take the path nearby. Kadim is startled by the suggestion. he realizes he has been walking faster without meaning to. He feels tense with the sacred knights behind him and the bad memories flooding back. He becomes impatient. Kadim simply says, "I understand," and keeps walking firmly, with the guy in the backpack right behind him. Serio is feeling down, and Kadim remembers the soldier with the helmet and what happened. The guy with the backpack awkwardly calls out to Kadim. Protinia is completely lost. Kadim turns with a heavy gaze, startling the guy. The guy with the backpack stutters nervously, saying it's nothing and asking to drop it. Gadin remains silent and lets out a grunt while gripping the handle of his axe tightly. Protinia thinks the guy is quite boring and keeps walking with a frown. Cirilo says nothing and stays there, all deflated. A knight comes galloping fast, coming from that giant castle in the distance. The horse stomps hard on the ground, kicking up dust while running at full speed. The knight shouts for the horse to stop, and the beast rears up completely. The guy closes his eyes and lets out a sigh, looking quite tired. The knight keeps rushing, moving steadily as the horse stomps hard. The guy tries to calm the exhausted and puffing creature, telling it to stop. The blonde complains that they aren't getting anywhere and asks if Eden can't go a little faster. Eden replies that on a normal horse they can't run any faster than this. He gets frustrated because it's easy for her to say riding on a radiant horse. That divine horse is meant only for the paladin, and he runs all day without getting tired. If the owner is angry, Eden thinks Helia is not that great, but he says it's impossible to keep up with that beast on a common horse. Eden asks if they aren't going to pass through Moldham to try to find the monster. He also wants to take the opportunity to see if the rumors about the Baron are true. The girl explains that the imperial family sent the order not to meddle in that place. For her, the focus now is only one thing: to find and eliminate the monster that killed Linton Pelopos. She stares at the guy and tells Eden to forget what his duty is. The guy thinks this mission talk is ridiculous. He wonders if destroying relics and killing innocents is really the duty of a sacred knight. The blonde clicks her tongue and lays it straight. This way it won't work. Helia realizes that the beast is heading to the Alliance. She warns that she will go ahead so it doesn't escape. Eden is startled. She tells him to follow, checking that there are no traces left. The girl screams and flies off on her horse. Eden is desperate. He tries to warn that Lady Relhia can't just leave him there and go off alone. Eden is shocked, seeing the trail that Relhia left. He stutters, stunned by the speed of that radiant horse disappearing on the horizon. The girl disappears quickly, and the trail fades away. Eden is left alone in the middle of the road, not understanding anything. Eden is furious and lets out a shout, cursing the girl, not believing she really left him behind like that. He is exhausted, breathing heavily to regain his breath. Eden lets out a sigh and says he got so worked up that he accidentally cursed. He places his hand on his chest and begs Elga to forgive him. But then he starts complaining, asking why Elga is so unfair. He doesn't understand how someone so flawed gains so much power instead of a true faithful. Eden takes a deep breath and blames himself for having bad thoughts again. But he tries to convince himself that everything is Elga's will, putting his foot firmly in the stirrup to mount his horse and not fall behind. Eden continues his journey. He thinks that God's will is deeper than an abyss. To him, a human is nothing and shouldn't even try to understand divine plans. Out of nowhere, he is startled and becomes alert to something. Edan crouches down and spots some huge footprints on the ground. He speaks plainly. This track is definitely from the creature they are hunting. But the direction changed out of nowhere. The guy finds it odd. The creature always erased its tracks so no one could follow. Now, it made this careless mistake. Edan stays crouched on the path, eyes focused on the ground. The horse waits just behind him. The guy notices some branches and vines spread unnaturally over the ground. He realizes the cuts on the branches are very neat and sharp. He comprehends the precision involved. Edan falls silent and swallows hard. He feels that this situation is more serious than he thought. He ties the horse to a trunk to proceed on foot. The guy grips his shield tightly and prepares for a fight. He draws his sword from the sheath, ready for any trouble that may arise. Edan follows the trail, fully equipped, with a shield in hand and eyes on everything around. The helmeted soldier stares intently, his expression serious beneath the armor. Strange noises emerge from the underbrush, breaking the total silence. Edan continues advancing through the woods, equipped with shield and sword. The sound of his armor makes a loud clatter as he walks carefully. The guy realizes he has gone too deep into the forest. Instead of ending, the foliage grows denser. He finds the size of the area strange and wonders if this will lead to the border. The helmeted soldier gets frustrated and curses the creature. He cannot understand how that bastard knew about such an alternate path. Someone yells, calling for the Lord, and warns that the path is over there. The guy jumps at the sound and is in shock. The helmeted soldier realizes the bush has grown and blocked everything because hardly anyone passes through here. He decides to take this path since the trails converge ahead. Kadime appears, all muscular, and begins to tell them to go but stops mid-sentence. The helmeted soldier shouts, announcing he has finally found the guy. The soldier realizes Kadime looks just like what the relic showed. The muscle-bound guy has red eyes and a bizarre appearance. The soldier understands he is the Barbarian. The guy is there, all buff and looking very serious. The helmeted soldier swallows hard. He stares at the guy and senses the tension in the air. The helmeted soldier remembers the relic. It only breaks if it reflects a great demon. He freezes and wonders if he can face this creature alone. The guy decides he has done his part just by finding the monster. He thinks that crazy paladin, desperate for success, can deal with the rest. The helmeted soldier celebrates that this boring game of hide-and-seek is finally over. Now he just wants to escape. He wants to find Lady Helia and tell her everything he saw. Out of nowhere, a huge hand grabs the back of the guy's head and squeezes hard. The helmet even starts to crumple under the brute force of the creature. Cadinho twitches his ear upon hearing a noise. The creature knows someone is nearby. The soldier curses for stepping on a twig. He doubts the creature heard that noise from so far away, thinking it's impossible. Cardim spins his axe with all his might, straining hard. The creature is focused and swings down with full force. The helmeted soldier just observes from the side, feeling a chill from the pressure the guy is under. The axe comes crashing down, slicing through the air with a heavy and powerful strike. The helmeted soldier lets out a groan of pain and tries to brace himself with his shield. The axe hits the shield with a loud clang of metal. The soldier groans again, his feet scraping across the ground from the force of the impact. The helmeted soldier shakes with the impact. The creature is sweating cold and releasing smoke, struggling to hold back Cardim's axe, which nearly penetrates the shield. The guy is in total shock. He can't believe his blessed weapon got ruined with just one blow. The soldier freezes and becomes desperate from the creature's strength. The helmeted soldier doesn't understand anything with the axe stuck in the shield. Kadim leaps towards the guy, letting out a loud scream. The creature comes charging in. Kadim has a crazed look, gritting his teeth and with a sinister gaze. The creature is pure rage and seems ready to explode. The soldier is shaken and curses the guy as a damned fanatic. He is in shock from the creature's madness. Kadim faces the helmeted soldier head-on. The creature is shirtless and ready to dive in as the guard prepares with his shield and sword. The rookie is focused. He charges full force at the guy, gripping his sword tightly to finish the job. The helmeted soldier sees the sword coming at his face and freezes at that moment. Kadim warns that he will aim at the helmet party. He hits the guy, who only groans in pain. Kadim lets out a grunt and prepares to strike. The beast is focused and comes at him full force. The rookie kicks the guy's shield. The soldier only lets out a hug with the jolt. The helmeted soldier falls hard to the ground and lets out a loud scream. He scored a hit on the beast. The guy groans and realizes that his consecration has vanished. Now the shield is extremely heavy and he can't even lift it. Kadim prepares the final blow while the soldier takes one, not knowing what to do. The guy clicks his tongue in anger and tries to react quickly, shoving his hand to defend himself. Kadim has a serious face and grips the weapon tightly. The beast is focused and ready to lay down the law. The rookie delivers a brutal strike that even makes the ground shake. The helmeted soldier can't handle the pressure and is thrown back hard. The soldier is in total shock. He can't believe the bizarre strength of the beast and wonders what crazy weapon that guy is using. The soldier sees the cracked shield and realizes that if he hadn't dropped everything to dodge in time, he would be finished. Now the rookie gets real and says that this path is not for a holy knight. He stares at the guy and asks if he was followed to that point. The helmeted soldier says nothing and just stands there staring at Kadim. Kadim says the guy is alone and pulls the axe from the already cracked shield. The rookie warns that it will be easy to silence him. The soldier looks at Kadim with a heavy glare. The helmeted soldier freezes and is in shock. The beast even feels a shiver. The guy doesn't waste time and bolts from there. You can only hear his feet hitting the ground. The guy grips his sword tightly. Pakadin is startled and is completely confused. The beast is in total shock. The helmeted soldier raises his gleaming sword and sends up a fierce prayer. He asks for strength from the mare to face the nasty beast in front of him. An axe comes spinning swiftly through the air, releasing a blue shine and flying fast to hit its target. The axe strikes the soldier directly, and he only lets out a groan of pain. The impact explodes everything and throws the soldier away with bizarre force. Kadim warns that he won't let the guy cast magic easily. He tells the merchant to grab his axe, and the guy is in shock, asking if it's really him. The soldier in the helmet gets furious because he didn't get the blessing. He complains that the little guy cut off his prayer before he finished. Thus, everything went wrong. The guy stomps hard on the ground, and the soldier in the helmet gets the biggest scare. Cadinho flies towards the soldier, who just looks and freezes in fear. The soldier in the helmet realizes that the guy has already arrived. He is in total shock. The swords clash and sparks fly. Kadim comes down hard and the soldier tries to hold the pressure. The soldier in the helmet is shocked by the guy's bizarre strength. He thinks that if the blow had hit directly on the helmet, he would have passed out instantly. Kadim swings another heavy blow, and the soldier tries to hold on stubbornly. Kadim stares with blood in his eyes and prepares the next strike with the sword. The guy is too focused. The soldier tries to stay steady, but the armor groans under the pressure of the attack. The situation is tough for him. The soldier in the helmet jumps at the impact. The guy didn't even see where the blow came from. The soldier realizes that Cadinho broke his stance and aimed for the gap in the armor. He's going crazy because the little guy isn't just strong. He knows a lot about fighting. Cadinho charges at him with everything, delivering a flurry of frenzied strikes that shine in the air. The guy has blood in his eyes. The soldier struggles to hold the pressure. He feels his wrists almost breaking and goes wild because he can't predict where all those crazy blows are coming from. The soldier in the helmet is bothered and thinks it feels like he's fighting a monster disguised as a human. The guy is feeling the pressure. The swords clash violently and sparks fly. The impact is heavy. Kadim attacks and the soldier in the helmet gets startled. The guy is in shock. Kadim grabs the guy's weapon. The soldier freezes and utters a "huh?" without understanding anything. Kadim is totally focused and quickly pulls out the sword to attack. The sword pierces the soldier and blood splatters. The guy lets out a scream of pain from being hit directly. Kadim swings the sword with all his might. The guy is focused and doesn't stop for a second. The blade goes through the armor and blood sprays. The guy hit perfectly. The soldier in the helmet groans with a red eye. The beast is suffering badly. The rookie slashes the guy and blood sprays everywhere. The beast screams. The soldier's sword falls and blood splatters on the ground. It all went wrong. The helmeted soldier is panting, holding back the pain. The beast is in bad shape. The rookie tells it like it is. He says the guy isn't cut out to be a paladin archer. He digs in, saying the beast is worse than the kid with the spear he saw on the first day. The helmeted soldier gets angry and clicks his tongue. He admits it's frustrating, but since he lost his right arm, he can't fight anymore. Kadim says, in that case, he picks up the sword that was lying on the ground right next to the pool of blood. He throws the sword with all his might into the soldier's chest. The impact is dry and creates a flash in the armor. Dime jumps, startled and on high alert. The beast didn't see that coming. The soldier arrives, exhausted, saying he brought the axe, but he stops, shocked. He doesn't understand and asks if the guy really fled. The guy grips the weapon firmly, and the noise is sharp. He locked it all in just then. Cadinho stands firm, bigger than a lime, and the guy with the backpack behind is in total disbelief. No one says anything. You can hear the heavy breathing in the bushes. The beast is panting, letting out some grunts. Cadinho grips his helmet tightly, taking deep breaths. The guy is exhausted. He throws the helmet far away with force. The beast flies through the air quickly, cutting through the wind. Pieces of armor fall and bounce on the ground. It makes a loud noise of clashing metal and everything is scattered around. The guy is in a rush, thinking that if he gets to the horse quickly, he can warn that paladin woman. He's too tired, letting out a sigh of pure exhaustion. The beast hears a noise and gets startled. Its eyes widen and it's in total shock. The guy lets out an ah and mutters, damn, seeing it's gone wrong. A dark trail comes down hard on him. In the middle of the bushes, the blow lands directly, and blood sprays everywhere. Among the trees, the beast is caught off guard. The soldier is there, dropped at the foot of the tree, completely wrecked. On the ground, there's a bloody axe, and you can hear someone approaching. The guy grips the weapon firmly and warns that this time, it's good for the creature to answer his questions correctly. Kadime stares at the guy. He asks if there are any more sacred knights with him. The soldier is there, all battered, at the foot of the tree. The soldier says he has nothing to say to a monster. The creature is sweating cold and covered in blood. Yet he won't utter a word. He begs, kill me already. Kadime only stares at the creature with that cold gaze. He holds the axe and delivers the final blow. He finishes the soldier right there, without mercy. But the blow isn't fatal yet. The soldier is weak, sweating cold, and letting out a groan of pain. He is suffering greatly. Kadime stares at the creature and asks why he should kill the guy. Meanwhile, the soldier is still down there, just suffering, groaning in pain. Kadime says leaving the guy alive will be much more painful for him. Protinia has a serious look. The axe comes down and blood flies. The creature screams in pain from the precise strike. The soldier is there, moaning in agony. Kadime keeps staring at the creature, all battered, while he asks again if there are more sacred knights around. The ally becomes tense, thinking that the guys from Elga are on their tail. He believes Protinia is going too far. The guy is all sweaty and covered in blood, in total silence. He's in bad shape. The creature's eyes widen, red with blood, and it lets out some screams of pain. Hrehaeireha. The suffering is too heavy for him. Cadinho jumps in shock and becomes alert. The guy noticed something and changed his expression. The creature spits blood and a piece of its tongue on the ground, close to the guy's foot. Serio shouts for everyone to dodge and is confronted with the scene. He stutters, not understanding anything, because the creature simply bit its own tongue. The soldier is in bad shape and makes some bizarre noises. Cardime only watches the creature suffer. With wide, white eyes, Cardime extends his hand and says, this fight of the Sacred Knight is pointless. It's a total waste of time. Protinia grabs the creature and warns that as long as he blinks, the interrogation continues. He instructs the guy to blink twice for yes and once long for no. Poor Thing warns that if the guy doesn't open his mouth, the axe will go straight into his shoulder. The creature is in bad shape. It only lets out a whimper of pain. Protinia tells the creature to think carefully about what to do. If it wants the suffering to end soon, it must face the guy with a serious look. The soldier is suffering a lot. He's sweating cold sweat and making sounds of pain. Kadim asks if there are more holy knights with it, but the creature remains completely silent. The guy twists, and Kadim asks again if there are more holy knights with it. The creature stays quiet, but Protinia insists and asks if the knight is an arch-paladin. Kadim realizes that if there's an arch-paladin around, the order came from above, perhaps from the archbishop. He asks if the kid with the spear is related to the big shot. The creature finally starts to speak. The axe comes down hard and the blood splatters everywhere. Protinia went all out with the strike. The guy was done for, lying there against the tree, with the axe buried deep. Kadim finishes the creature without mercy. The soldier is all beaten up, blood running down his entire face. The creature seems to have finally stopped suffering after that blow. Kadim sees that the guy died with a peaceful expression. He wonders if it's relief from not feeling pain anymore, or faith that he will meet his god now. At least the guy managed to give some valuable information. The knight he took out was related to the archbishop, and now there's an arch-paladin hunting everyone down. That's why Protinia warns that they can't lose a single second. He walks away, leaving the soldier's body there all bloodied. Cyril is confused. He stutters, calling for Pertinia. Cyril asks why the hurry all of a sudden and wants to know if the other holy knights are coming. Cyril is all tense and asks if torturing the guy like that wasn't too heavy-handed. Pertinia stops. His feet are all muddy with blood as he steps firmly on the ground. Cyril says the guy didn't really want to hunt him down and hadn't done anything so serious as to die like that. Pertinia gets real and asks the merchant if he has ever had his tongue nearly ripped out from the root in his life. Cyril is baffled and asks what the guy said, not understanding anything. Pertinia asks if he has ever been burned until his skin peeled off like a snake or if he has ever been left lying with his bones and joints all broken, waiting for death with his eyes open. He is speechless with Kadim's heavy story. Pertinia tells that, when he and his buddies ran into the Arca Paladino in the past, it was exactly the same terror that happened to them. Pertinia reports that a crazy Arca Paladino hunted them down because of a stupid misunderstanding. The whole group almost fell apart at the hands of just one guy before they discovered the truth. He warns that there's another Arca Paladino on their tail now. If he hadn't tortured the creature, he wouldn't even know, and the tragedy would repeat. Cyril stays quiet, just processing the weight of Kadim's story. Pertinia, all covered in blood, stares at him and tells him to listen closely. Kadim gets real. He won't leave loose ends. He won't feel sorry for anyone. He says that morality is a luxury for those who don't risk being stabbed while sleeping on the street. The guy warns that in a world full of evil, he won't think twice before doing something harsh to get what he wants. He is way too focused on his goal. Kadim says that it has always been like this and will continue this way in the future. The guy's face is all dirty, but his gaze is firm. Cyril starts stuttering, all locked up, and asks what Pertinia means by that. His legs keep trembling from fear. Cyril feels bad and wonders if he could end up like that any moment. Cyrilo stammers and asks if Kadim will kill him mercilessly if he is no longer useful. He pleads not to be left to the monsters, nor to die being tortured. Cyrilo begs for an answer and asks what he needs to do for Kadim to stop treating him like just a piece of meat. The creature is desperate. He wants to know what to do to be like Barao Molden and earn enough respect from Pertinia, even to share his own blood with him. Kadim stares at Cyril with a heavy gaze, and the creature freezes up. Pertinia gets real. If the guy doesn't want to die, he better stay sharp. Kadim says he will have to prove his own value in life, and walks away through the woods, all covered in blood. The sun goes silent, just processing the weight of what Kadim just said. Cyril has the look of someone who just got splashed with cold water, all thoughtful after hearing Kadim's straight talk. The guy puts his backpack on and starts to walk, following Kadima, who is ahead, all injured and covered in blood. Night falls in the middle of the woods. The atmosphere becomes very still. A girl in armor and a red cape appears. Her expression is very serious, just watching everything. The girl with blonde hair stands with her back turned, keeping an eye on the horses standing on the trail. As her armor clinks, her face becomes visible now. Her expression is very stern. She seems very focused on what she has to do. Next to the creature, the blonde in armor freezes on the trail, scared. She stands there, looking very serious. The girl stares intently with her green eyes. Her face is tight, focused on what she saw. The girl grips the handle of her sword and draws the blade. An orange glow envelops everything, and the atmosphere becomes heavy. She stares with a very serious and focused look. The blonde is determined and will not let her guard down for anyone. Cadinho stands in the bushes, all muscular, staring firmly. Cyril is right behind, watching the guy with great fear. Kadim calls the guy a traveling merchant, and the conversation seems straightforward. The merchant looks shocked and begins to stammer, agreeing with everything Kadim says. The guy is frozen in fear. Kadim asks if they are on the right path. They have been walking through this forest for almost 2 days, and still no way out. Protina senses something strange happening and becomes very alert. The merchant stammers, completely frozen, unable to speak. The guy is terrified. The merchant confesses that they took the wrong path long ago, but was afraid to admit it after yesterday's workshop incident. He even asks if they needed to torture the guy like that. The guy is worried he could end up the same way at any moment. He wonders what he has to do to be like Baron Molden and gain some respect. Cyrilo shouts, asking what he needs to do to earn Kadim's respect and even share blood with him. He immediately regrets this and thinks he should just be grateful to be alive. The guy questions why on earth he opened his mouth to say that. Cyrilo apologizes and admits he got lost. He thought they would be at the border by now, but things went wrong. Kadim just listens silently, wearing that unfriendly look. Kadim tells the merchant to open the map. He wants to know if there is a forest this big near where they passed. Already suspicious that something is very wrong, Cyril stutters. He says the nearest forest is the Artabarum. The only one that would take 2 days to escape is the elves, but it is very far away. They messed up the location. The little guy asks if they can trust the map. Cyril panics and says he paid 2,000 Ludo for it. Even the big guilds use this map. The guy is terrified. Cyril explains that the map is new, only 3 years old. There's no way such a large forest could have sprung up out of nowhere. The little guy keeps to himself. The guy realizes they haven't crossed any trail they had opened before. This means they are not just walking in circles. The little guy feels uneasy, wondering if it could be what he thinks. He quickly cuts off the thought and says they need to check the area before night falls completely. Kadim calls the traveling merchant, and the guy nearly jumps in fright. He responds all stiff and nervous, confirming everything right away. Kadim tells Cyril to climb the tallest tree to see if he finds anything. The guy is scared out of his mind and lets out a scream while trying to climb. Cyril wonders what he will be able to see from up high, but he gets startled immediately. He spots something strange on the horizon. Cyril stutters, that is, he sees smoke rising from the middle of the woods. Cyril yells from above that he sees smoke and that someone has lit a campfire. Kadim down below just asks if that's really it. Kadim tells them to head that way, but he is cut off by a giant snaketail that appears out of nowhere and comes for them. The creature opens its bizarre mouth and lunges for the guy full force. It's a giant snake ready to swallow the little guy. Kadim grabs the snake by the neck with one hand. The creature opens its mouth wide and lets out a bizarre growl, but the guy doesn't even blink. The snake emits a high-pitched scream, but Kadim remains silent, staring the creature down. He grips the creature's body with both hands without mercy. Kadim squeezes the snake's neck until it cracks completely. Blood sprays, and the little guy finishes the snake without even flinching. Kadim holds the giant snake by the neck as the creature lets out a bizarre scream. The guy isn't fazed by the creature's mouth right in front of him. The little guy let out a scream and threw the dead snake to the ground. Without a care, the snake's head rolled across the floor, mouth wide open. The creature was done for. Blood gushed from the severed neck, but the snake's head still emitted some strange hissing sounds. The little guy looked back, confused, sensing something odd in the air. The snake's head lay there, releasing one last bizarre hiss, while the blood continued to flow. The snake was on the ground, but the creature started moving strangely and began to crawl again. Cody was stunned. He noticed the creature was smaller, but it had completely regenerated. And worst of all, now the snake had two tails. Cirilo climbed down from the tree, exhausted, and let out a groan. Kadim stood silent, holding the creature, as the regenerated snake was right in front of him. Cirilo asked what went wrong and got the biggest fright. He saw the piece of the snake in Kadim's hand and stammered, asking what bizarre creature that was. The little guy realized that piece of the snake wasn't regenerating at all, even after some time. Kadim decided to head towards the smoke and warned everyone to keep an eye out for more snakes on the way. Ciro was stunned and stammered, asking if that creature was also a snake, since its head was too bizarre. Kadim thought about the creature's strange regeneration while Cyril, terrified, begged the guy to take him along. Kadim was puzzled and thought, is it really impossible? The guy stared intently, with a very serious look. The campfire was there, burning and casting light in front of him. Someone stepped firmly, getting closer to the fire. The sound of footsteps revealed the arrival. Kadim and Cirilo reached the campfire and came face to face with a mysterious hooded figure. Kadim stared at the hooded man, serious. The guy was shirtless, showing off his muscles, and had a large axe at his waist. As the campfire illuminated everything, the hooded figure finally opened his mouth and introduced himself. I am Nazran. Kadim was confused and merely signaled uncertainty. The hooded guy revealed his bizarre face and repeated, my name is Nazran. Nazran asked what the duo's names were, and Kadim just stood there, staring at the guy with a hostile look. The Danka introduces himself. He says that Kadim is a mercenary, while he is just a traveling merchant. He takes the opportunity to ask what Nazran is doing there alone, in the middle of nowhere. Nazran laughs and asks if it's not obvious. He says he is a leper, a hunchback, and without fingers, wandering through deserted places, and that's how he ended up there. Danka is disturbed by the leprosy. He thinks that lighting a fire there is too dangerous. He finds it strange that someone in that condition is alone in the forest. After all, it's not like they are a fearless barbarian. Nazran says the forest is great, because there, no one throws stones, curses, or spits on him. Kadim just watches, while Cyril is down there feeling uncomfortable with the conversation. The guy adds, saying it's a shame no one throws salt on him, since salt is hard to find. His face is all bizarre and covered in sores from the disease. Nazran tells the guy he doesn't seem afraid of lepers. He asks if it's because he's a barbarian. He says he heard that the priestesses of the desert know how to cure diseases. The creature gives a little smile and says they really did, but he's not sure if that's still the case today. Cyril is all confused. He thinks the guy seems to know nothing about the wasteland. He used to think the creature was just somewhat clueless about how the world works. Kadim gets straight to the point. He asks if the guy knows anything about that forest. After all, the place didn't even appear on his map. Nazran realizes that the group is lost and wants to know about the forest. He lets out a strange laugh and says he can talk, but the creature gets closer. With that ugly face, he gives the cold hard truth for free. Danka stutters and asks what the guy wants. He says if it's money or food they can share a little, even though they have hardly anything. Nazran laughs and says he has food. Money is worth nothing. The creature suggests trading stories. He says he wants to ask something. If he saw a barbarian, Nazran, with that bizarre face, he says he heard barbarian women are good in bed. He asks if that's true. The creature replies that because of his body, he has never been with anyone. But if he could, he would want a young barbarian. He thinks that for the right price they would even accept a leper. Cyril is upset by the filth the guy is talking about, without even knowing who he is messing with. He thinks that sick or not, the creature could get an axe to the head at any moment. According to Cadinho, he tells it like it is. The guy said the fingers fell off, but he wants to know why the cloth on the creature's feet is so swollen. Nazran explains that he stuffed the cloth with straw. He says that since what was there fell out, a bad emptiness was left. Then he lets out a bizarre chuckle. Kadime doesn't waste time. He grabs the creature's bandaged hand tightly. He looks at the guy with a heavy stare, testing if it's really straw. Nazren asks if the guy wants to check and warns him he'll regret it if he does. The bandages burst and fly everywhere. The cloth suddenly releases with a thud. Danka is startled and freezes at what he sees. The guy stammers, confused, and asks what that is. He is shocked by the bizarre mass of fingers coming out of the creature's foot. The axe cuts through the air in a quick, sharp motion and slices through the entire bizarre hand, full of extra fingers and grotesque lumps sticking out everywhere. Kadime stares down at the creature while Nazren tries to escape, badly injured. His hand is covered in blood with a bunch of extra fingers sticking out. Nazren goes silent while everyone sees that his body is all strange and filled with wounds. The creature lets out a chuckle and thanks them. It says straight up that it really wanted someone to cut that mess off for it. Kadime gazes seriously at the creature while the other guy holds the sword, completely shocked by the scene. Nazren threatens, saying, "I warned you." The creature's hand is a horror, gushing blood with all those bizarre extra fingers. The creature's hand is a nightmare, spraying blood everywhere. Nazren lets out a bizarre smile as he says, "Didn't I tell you that you would regret it?" The guy is completely covered in sores, with his hand dirty from blood.